What's going on, people? What's up? How'd I do a long stream today? Okay, we gotta do a lot today. Alright. Activate the Facebook chat, which apparently I was at lunch with my grandma today and she told me she liked my Facebook profile picture, so apparently she knows about that. And then she said my aunt wanted to know what non-fun meant. So, you know, maybe I have two. Maybe it's not worthless streaming on Facebook. Okay, I guess we have two non-fun fans on Facebook. That has happened to be my family members. Let's see if Twitter chat still works. The program I'm using, they said, what's up, Bert Stein? Welcome back. They said that Twitter chat didn't work, and for a while it didn't, but it seems to be working now, which is good. They had said like they gave up on it because apparently it's too hard to get it to work. Which makes sense because Twitter is the worst platform ever made. Anyway, oh no, sorry. TikTok is the worst platform ever made for live streaming. Twitter, probably second. Gotta get my caffeine loaded up. And I gotta join my stream VC so people can yell at me if they want to. Facebook streaming's better than X? Yes. The Facebook chat works consistently. You don't have to pay $8 a month just to stream there. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Well, okay, better. How I obviously get more like exposure on Twitter. Nobody like ever uses like Facebook, like yeah. The Twitter, I realized I'm dumb. I was making the shorts for I was making like shorts for like TikTok and Instagram Reels, and just in posting them on Twitter as like a secondary thing. Like, why not? I realize I'm dumb. What I'm really doing, and will continue to do, is making shorts for Twitter that I then post to Instagram Reels and TikTok as like a secondary thing. Because the style like Reels I do, which are usually like, I think all of them have been economic stuff, is usually like semi like dense but still like ADHD brained like explanations of things. That does not do that well on TikTok and Instagram Reels because people's brains are so broken and then it's like not that interesting in that. Like it's not interesting enough for people, but it actually does pretty well on Twitter. Also because the Twitter algorithm incentivizes people to just repost shit. So, you know, like that's like I did this with my land value tax video. I made a land value tax video and I posted it to YouTube and it got reposted to Twitter. So I realized I should just make a new land value tax video and post it to Twitter and then like mention the people who reposted it before. And that blew up. It got like 4,000 views on Twitter. Or I think it got 4,000 impressions and then it got like 1,000 something views. Yeah, 4,000. Only 414 engagements. you know, whatever. Okay, you know, that's fine. 57 likes. Okay. Point is, Twitter works. September moment, Bert Stein in here. Thank you for the resub.
September
I appreciate it a lot.
Texas man.
It is September. Thank you very much, Bert Stein. It does really help. I appreciate it. But the Twitter content strategy does work, I figured out. I just realized if I have my webcam a little more zoomed out, and it well, the sub thing takes a little, that is like a really bad hotspot. Give me a second. Oh, but then like it's all purple and I don't get any blue. Where's a little blue? It's fine. Okay. Vatican City to Kosovo. Oops. Well, Italy. And then would the fastest way be there be Slovenia? How do you spell Slovenia? And then do I need Serbia or do I need Albania? Serbia is probably, yeah. Oh, what's up, Billy? Joe Billy, welcome. Slovenia, yeah, I already did it, but I appreciate it. I honestly don't know what countries here. Hungary? Or Austria? Austria, maybe? Nope. Is it I think Hungary will technically get me it, but it won't be the fastest. I don't know what countries they are. Hungary? What? Italy, Austria, Hungary, Serbia, Kosovo. Wait, did it say? Oh, I did Slovenia. I did Sydney and Austria. Okay. Croatia probably has to work. Croatia would have worked, yeah. I should have known Croatia was there. I know where Croatia is. Okay, there's a new weekly challenge. This is not new. This is the one I can't do because I don't know what the world looked like in 1880. Why the fuck would I know what the world looked like in 1880? What a dumbass challenge. All right. We got some shit I gotta react to. That way I can eventually get back to reading. I have not been super great about streaming long enough and reacting to enough things, and I'm a little bit behind. Okay. A reaction time, I know. We gotta farm some shit. Oh, I didn't choose a game to play in the background.
One and all.
This is 3 hours. The Trump. Okay, wait. Hold on, I just want to add up. This is 3 hours, 30 minutes. Does anyone ever steal the air from your nostrils? No. That doesn't really make sense. 3 hours, 30 minutes. This is an hour. These two are both 1 hour. So that's 6 hours, and then this is at least 2 hours here. That's fine. You know, we might do a little 12-hour stream. Okay, we might end up doing that. Well, that's fine. That's chill. That's awesome. Window capture. That. Why is it not showing up on the shorts thing? There we go. 24 hours for your reaction stream. That was the meta back in the day, dude. I remember that. I remember when everyone was doing that. I wasn't a streamer back then, but all right, let's go back to my awesome city. City Skylines 1, so less laggy, but mad graphics. I like City Skylines 2 like better. I play City Skylines 2 now at this point. off stream, but on stream it's just too laggy to do OBS and City Skylines 2 and have a video playing at the same time. I remember PragerU blamed coin clipping on the Romans. I don't. Okay. Can I? Does my stream deck work? We will see. Let's go. Let's go. It does hit that like and sub button. Let's go. All right. This debate, from what I've seen, I watched the very I forgot I fucking flooded my city and ruined it. I watched the very tail end of it. Oh yeah, I saw that, Bertstein, that they rendered their fucking individual teeth for citizens. Yeah. This debate seemed a little wacky, cuckoo, crazy from the clips I've seen of it. So we will
yet another episode of WIC
we will
TV,
see.
a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. We got a show for you today, gang. It should be a banger. It should be fun. I'm excited. I'm going to start this one off a little differently than I normally do. Destiny, recently I DM'd you and talked to you a little bit about
what's up?
Court packing. I asked your opinion on it, and you told me that you were okay with court packing if Republicans refused to pass an amendment or a bill that limited or changed how.
By the way, I'm coming in this neutral, okay? I don't really have an opinion on court packing. I think it is kind of wild the way the Republicans played the two. God, I forget all the specifics. Hopefully, I think they talk about it in the debate. The one court pick that Obama was supposed to have, and then the Republicans just never held a hearing, and then later on they did nominate someone in Trump's final year, which they refused to do for Obama. That was kind of crazy, but I'm coming into this neutral. Okay, we'll see.
Supreme Court picks and nominees were handled. Can you start us off by just elaborating on what you mean by that?
So why is he quiet?
Yeah, we should codify that. I bet it would be a bill. I don't even think you need to amend the Constitution. You should codify that it's a requirement that a president in office has a right to have their nomination at least heard in the Senate. That should be a thing. There should be rules that are made or whatever that within 7 days of a nomination or whatever, the Senate has to do
Obama's
the
third
hearing,
time.
or 30 days or whatever is reasonable.
Sure, and if they don't do that, to be clear, if Republicans do not pass that bill, pass that amendment, whatever it's needed, then you
and Dems should add as many Supreme Court justices that they need to the court to make that a reality. Whatever they need to do there. So 2, 5, 20, whatever the fuck, they should just do that.
Fair enough. And with that, let's get into it. I'm going to pass the mic to Lactoid. Tell us what you think, and then we'll just kind of go talk about it. Introduce yourself as well. Tell people who you are, why you're qualified to talk about this. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm Lactoid. I'm a streamer. You can find me at Lactoid TV, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm also a lawyer. And I'm heavily against court packing. I think it's absolutely a nuclear option by any definition of the term. My position is that court packing essentially obliterates the third branch of government as a functioning entity, and therefore is a threat to our republic, and it simply should not be on the table. I'm not necessarily opposed to...
Why the fuck did that happen? I feel like there are negatives to court packing. I feel like he's being a little extreme, though. Like, we haven't always... I'm pretty sure we've done court packing historically, right? There's that, like, because I know there's no rule that there actually has to be 9 justices on the Supreme Court. We've had more than 9 justices before. You can have as many or as little as you want. I'm pretty sure historically, if we look at it, presidents have packed the court to some extent, and it's not been that big of a deal.
That proposed amendment, I think it's not a terrible idea.
Check, though.
But this idea that, well, if we don't get our way on that, we're going to destroy the third branch of government, I think is just unworkable.
FDR's court packing plan after winning the 1936 presidential election, a landslide, FDR proposed a bill to expand members of the Supreme Court. The law would have added 1 justice to the court for each justice over the age of 70, with a maximum of 6 additional justices. This is a plan and never...
The fact that the number isn't capped for Supreme Court justices, I think, is a critical defect in the Constitution. That needs to be corrected.
Steven says
without that correction, I'm concerned that the court might just turn into a rubber stamp for the president and Congress.
Yeah, here we go.
to essentially, they can get done anything they want to, and really, again, obliterate, I think, the purpose of the Constitution. And on top of that, we have a candidate for president right now, Kamala Harris, who has made references in the past to being open to court packing, which I think, unfortunately, makes her a threat to our republic too.
Okay.
Can I really, really, really quick? Can I run and use the restroom real quick? Is that okay?
No. Be where you stand. No, go ahead. You don't have to ask permission. Go.
Well, I mean, if everybody just talks, I'm not here to hear it. Like,
Okay,
one second.
well, I'll entertain the audience while you're gone. Okay, it's no longer people watching on Destiny's end. This is no longer Destiny stream. It's a Wix stream. So be prepared. Hold on to your britches, gang. We're gonna get spicy in here. We're gonna go. So rather than have everyone else just give their opinion while Destiny doesn't listen, I'm going to filibuster a little bit until he gets back. So that's what we're gonna do.
Okay. Oh my God.
In a hood.
Is MA Schizo tier 5.
What is it to it? We filibustered long enough. Okay, so we heard Lactoid's thoughts. Let's give the mic to Zetsue and see what he has to say. Go ahead.
What is court packing? I'm a Brit. So in the U.S. we have the Supreme Court. You probably also have some whatever. I don't know if it's called the Supreme Court. You probably also have a high court. It's the highest court in the U.S. It gets to be the ultimate decision maker when it comes to like deciding how to interpret the Constitution. Right now, there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. The way the justices get there is that they are appointed by a president and then confirmed by the Senate. So although the court is technically supposed to be nonpartisan, obviously Republicans are going to nominate and confirm a more conservative-leaning judge than the Democrats. Right now, our court has a really big 6-3 conservative majority. Packing the court would mean Biden or a Democratic president basically nominating more liberal judges and then them being confirmed, obviously, and being added to the court. The reason a lot of people are opposed to this is because courts are supposed to be nonpartisan. So packing the court just because you don't agree with the ideology of the judges there is probably not a great thing to do for like rule of law or whatever. Or I shouldn't say rule of law. It's just like a norm thing. Like you don't normally do this. And it's not good for like partisanship either. Yeah, usually we don't want to be doing that, but they'll get into that, I'm sure.
I am a Schizo tier 5.
Oh, then also once you break that norm, you open up the possibility of like every time that there's a change in a presidency, they just nominate a bunch of court justices that agree with them. So like every election, we end up having a bigger and bigger Supreme Court to try to get them to be ideologically the same ideology as the president. Yeah.
5 DGGer and also an attorney, but that's less impressive. I actually agree with Destiny that, at least on the position of saying that rule should be in place. I would actually say that it was unconstitutional for them not to hold the hearing. The implication of it being you have to get the advice and consent of the Senate, but they can just withhold it internally, I don't think was ever in the original meaning of the Constitution. But in terms of court packing, I don't think that's a nuclear option that I think exceeds like what you should really do if you don't get the amendment or if you don't get an action from Congress. And only that, if you have the power to pack the courts, you probably have the power to also just get that through. So I'm not certain like where you get the power to do one but not the other.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. We'll see how it goes. Ryan Mullally, is that how you say your last name?
Mullally, yeah.
Mullally.
So I'm Ryan. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a streamer, but I'm on X, so you can follow me. I occasionally say interesting things. One of the interesting things about this conversation is that Destiny's proposal is like flatly more reasonable than the Biden-Harris proposals, which is like an interesting state of affairs to be in, where the streamer has the more reasonable take. But in any event, strongly opposed to court packing, and it's an empty threat. If you look at when FDR threatened court packing, and that had a real impact, he had 72 senators. So the court did take notice when he threatened court packing, and that did have an impact. It's not a realistic threat to.
I'm curious to see how he defends that. I think Biden's proposal was he wanted a constitutional amendment to basically reverse the criminal immunity decision, and he wanted term limits on the Supreme Court. I think there's something else. Oh, binding code of ethics. Yeah. Binding code of ethics seems totally reasonable. Term limits seems probably good. I think the constitutional amendment, I guess if you like the way the court ruling went, then I understand why you have an issue with this. But I think that's definitely a good thing. But
today, I don't think, and if it is a realistic threat, it's going to be because of a continual erosion of Senate rules, where we used to have a 60 seats filibuster for every judicial nomination, including Supreme Court nominations. And we used to have a lot of other protections that would prevent things. I assume that what Destiny's talking is referring to as the Garland nomination process, that were a check against things like that. And I feel like a constitutional amendment is like using a blowtorch on a mosquito. And what we really need to do is try to fight our way out of this era of political reprisals back to the point where soft rules were able to control the decorum of these important issues so that we're not backing ourselves into corners with unintended consequences.
Okay.
Damn, if only the Republicans listen to the soft rules.
Yeah, so I guess as not a lawyer, but I have my background in political science and religion. I can't speak to all the legalese, but what I can speak to is, this seems idiotic, really. I don't know Destiny's specific opinion on court reform, but to me, I think court reform is bad in general. I mean, I heard there are people here today, there's a lot of lawyers that like definition debate, so I went and pulled one for y'all today from Merriam-Webster. It's moron. A stupid person, a person of having low intelligence or intellectual disability. Here, so let me use that in a sentence.
Fire opening.
You have to be either a moron or a product of the needs of participation trophy generation to believe that court packing is a good idea, or any sort of court reform pushed by the Democrats is a remotely good idea. The Supreme Court is working as intended. According to many political scientists, the 3 distinct branches of the United States government established by the U.S. Constitution is designed to be purposely slow but effective when needed. I'd argue that the Supreme Court is working as intended. This is clearly an attempt by the Democrats who've been outmaneuvered fairly in regards to the Supreme Court to take their proverbial ball and go home. They can't get to get their radical left agenda past the staunch bulwark of based or originalism that is
the radical left agenda is when you interpret the 14th Amendment in the obviously correct way and don't write a bullshit exception for Trump in a I don't want to say fraudulent 9-0 decision. I'll say in a 9-0 decision, obviously in a attempt to avoid political division, to put it nicely. The 14 minutes part of the radical left agenda.
And so what they want to do is flip the rules, flip the table, screech, and then sulk, and then change the rules to a game they're guaranteed to win. It's honestly pathetic. So let me show y'all something. This is what it sounds like when we talk about court reform to the average person. This is the world's smallest violin playing My Heart Cries for You, and that's what's happening right now.
And with that, let's open it up to discussion. So again, Biden has recently put forth a proposal that would do
God, this shit is going to flood again. I'm not good at this game, chat.
Make sure that presidents are not immune to being prosecuted for crimes done while in office, to propose term limits, and there was a third thing that I had written down, but I
binding code of ethics.
A code of ethics. Thank you. Destiny, do you support that?
I think broadly speaking, all 3 things I would broadly support. I don't know the specifics of any suggestion, though, so there could be in the weeds. We would miss things, but the idea of anybody in the United States enjoying criminal immunity is obviously absurd. I don't know what Roberts and the rest of the supposedly conservative court were smoking when they came out with that decision. I think that the idea of an ethics restraint or constraint on the Supreme Court is obviously important. The whole reason why they have lifetime appointments is so that they aren't politically influenced, and if they can take bribes and gifts, that kind of defeats the entire purpose of that. And I feel like term limiting Supreme Court justices would probably be fair because it's
technically there is a that you can't impeach Supreme Court justices. It's just that the Constitution, I'm pretty sure the word the Constitution actually uses is bad behavior, which is not very well defined.
It seems kind of weird that we have like a Supreme Court lottery right now where you could get lucky and have 2 or 3 picks, and you could get unlucky and have no picks.
Limits are unconstitutional. You would need an amendment to have it happen. There's no chance of an amendment, so who cares? The same ditto with the immunity decision. If you want to get into that, I can talk about why it's a fine decision. But if you want a constitutional amendment to fix it, good luck. There's a 0% chance of that happening. The ethics code is the closest. They have one now, but it's not enforceable. And the reason it's not enforceable is who's going to enforce it. And if you were going to create a situation where you have Supreme Court justices essentially ratting on each other, I think that's going to make it even more partisan and more horrible than it's really become, where we've had unprecedented levels of nastiness and opinions. And it seems like there's some real tension in the court. So I don't see how that makes things better, though maybe there's some clever proposal. And of course, ultimately, the way that you enforce the code of ethics on the Supreme Court is impeachment. But again, there is not a clear political majority with the power to do something like that. So this is all kind of, I don't know. It sounds like pie in the sky theater to me at best.
I also want to add with the term limits, I think one concern that was brought to my attention somewhat recently, actually, that I didn't consider, is that if we implement term limits, I think there is a heightened concern for corruption, right? Because there could be certain justices, for example, where their term is running out, and perhaps they have there's going to be certain parties in front of them that they may have an interest in being affiliated with after their term is over. So a lifetime appointment, I think, at least minimizes this risk, which I think is a good thing. So I'm against that. I think a lifetime appointment is fine. In terms of code of ethics, I think it entirely depends on what the code of ethics is. I agree that it needs to be an amendment, but I mean, there could be a reasonable code of ethics that I could agree to, but it entirely depends what it's made of, what it is and what it's made out of.
How it's enforced.
We talked about,
I'm not sure how you do that.
Sure. We talked a little bit about court packing being a threat. Given that, as Ryan here
What's
said,
good?
a
New
lot
to
of
the
these
stream.
proposed changes don't seem to be starters politically. How serious of a threat do we think court packing is?
Sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, welcome to the stream. I'm from Serbia. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're just reacting to reacting to some shit I got to react to today about court reform in the U.S. I don't know if you know much about
Kamala's
it.
threatening it. Do you think she'll actually do it or be able to do it? I don't know.
I don't think it'll actually happen, but Republicans play this very clever game of saying that if Democrats do a thing, it'll destroy an institution when that institution is already like basically destroyed. I think right now the issue that we have is that there is absolutely no reason in the United States of America that you should expect that a Republican-led Senate will ever allow a Democrat to appoint a Supreme Court justice ever again. There's just no reason to think that. So if that is the case, then Democrats should go nuclear and say, we are going to enforce a rule that makes it so the Senate can't do this, or else we're just going to pack the court. And the counter of, well, you're going to destroy the institution of the Supreme Court has already been effectively destroyed if Republicans aren't willing to allow Democrat presidents to appoint Supreme Court justices. That is a direct violation of what the Constitution explicitly spells out for the President of the United States, for the Supreme Court, and for the Senate.
Hold on. They appointed one, right?
Well, Barack Obama wasn't allowed to appoint one in the last.
But it wasn't
Biden.
It wasn't confirmed.
Justice Jackson.
Oh, sure, but I mean, maybe because they got their Garland pick, or maybe because they had 3 other ones that were already appointed. But like, we have no guarantee right now that another.
So you're complaining that they're just not skilled enough. This is a skill issue, is what you're saying. They're just not good enough at like following their own rules.
Also, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on, wait. I'm so sorry. That was a Democratic Senate, also. Sorry, my bad.
Well, did they all vote no against? They're saying they all vote no.
What I'm saying that if Republicans if there's a majority-led Senate by the Republicans, like it wasn't McConnell, when McConnell said he wasn't going to let Obama do anything, there's no reason to assume that
sleep, but I feel bad. I'm your only viewer. You're not my only viewer, bro. Maybe you are on YouTube, but
why do you say skill issue? There's no way you can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called, make compromise, make agreements, backroom dealing. Politics isn't Jim.
There is no politics here. It's an explicit power to the president that you should be allowed to, with the advice of the Senate, appoint a Supreme Court justice. There is no wheeling and dealing here.
He is right. I mean, the thing is that there's nowhere in there that says that you just can ignore it. And has that ever happened? Does anyone have a history of, oh yeah, no, there's plenty of times where the Senate just ignores their job and we're just okay with it. I'm not aware of it. Like, that's one thing I can't find.
No, this has happened a few times in the past, just so we're clear, right? Like, it's not, I don't disagree that it's a problem, and I am against it. I would like to see an amendment codify some kind of process specifically that, within a certain amount of time a justice is heard. I'm fine with that. But there has been multiple instances in the past where they've essentially refused to hear a specific nominee. So it has happened in the past. I don't know. If we can agree on that amendment, but I guess the question is, so sure, that's fine. Why court pack? Why threaten to, I think, obliterate our third branch of government? Because
it's already obliterated.
No, it's not already obliterated. For multiple reasons. First of all, you guys the Democrats do have a.
I don't even. Again, he's using such hard language. Back on vertical stream based. Welcome, Vert Gang based for life. Anyway, he keeps using such extreme language. I understand the concern there with court packing, but yeah, one Destiny's point is that right now, we don't have any good reason to believe that Republicans would ever let a Democratic president appoint a Supreme Court justice, so it's already effectively been destroyed. But also, like, historically, I don't think court packing has been that big of a deal. I skimmed through some of this. Like, it seems like we've done okay with it before.
Justice that they were able to get through Biden. And on top of that, there's a not all justices are created equal here, right? There are justices that I think are, come from the originalist rule of law point of view, and then you have justices that really don't believe in the rule of law. And so, while I agree that we should be, making sure things are fair going forward, I think we have one of the best Supreme Courts that we've ever had currently.
You should play Terraria. I'm not really that into Terraria, but it is yeah. Not anymore. I used to be when I was like 11 years old.
First of all, I don't even know what that when we say originalist, I don't know what that means in regards to this court. This court is far from originalist. And then secondly, it doesn't matter if you got one pick. The fact is that a Democratic president with a Republican-led Senate was deprived of pick by a Republican Senate that explicitly said, we're not going to let this guy do anything. Why would we ever assume that it wouldn't be the same going forward? Like, what guarantee would a Democratic president have?
You think that's going to happen if it was like the first week of a presidency as opposed to like the last year or the last month or two?
Last year, sure, why not?
Well, I'm asking what you're saying, because you're saying ever.
Yeah, could. Yeah. Okay,
so you think like week 2, Harris has to fill a vacancy. You don't think that she's even going to get a hearing?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Nobody
would have thought that Obama would have, like, I can't tell you for sure 100% because it hasn't happened yet, but nobody would have thought that Obama would have lost out on a whole year of the presidency for having Merrick Garland was the longest Supreme Court vacancy where the Senate refused to hear a person ever.
Okay, so the Democrats have majority in the Senate right now. Yep. So why don't they just make a Senate procedural rule that says, in the event of a Supreme Court vacancy,
can it be filibustered? I would imagine.
Whatever it's called, that runs that process will promptly and in no more than 30 days
on streaming.
give their recommendation and hold a vote.
Well, if it's a simple Senate rule, couldn't the Republican Senate just repeal the rule?
Of course, but I mean, if the goal
there's
here,
that as
and I
well.
hope this is the goal here, is to return to a point where we're not testing all the guardrails constantly, and we're trying to actually create systems that function and work. You know, they could do that tomorrow if they wanted to. It wouldn't be a good electoral issue to run on, and it wouldn't be like a sexy issue, but they could do it. And then if the Republicans dismantle it later, that you would have a great point about, you know, we can never trust them again. But I mean, it seems like there's a fix on the table for them right now.
I don't understand what it should be a law. It shouldn't be something that should be easy to get rid of. And it should be. I don't even think you need an amendment to do this. It would just be, this is in the Constitution.
No, you wouldn't need an amendment for that. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think you don't even need a law. Like this could easily be a procedural rule. I mean,
yeah, but I wouldn't want a procedure that could easily be rescinded with a 51 vote majority, because then there's no point in having it. At that point, it's just.
Well,
okay, anything less than an amendment you wouldn't accept?
No, I think you can probably have a law for this, because I'm pretty sure this is constitutional. Like, this is just, it's spelled out in the Constitution that the president ought to have this power. It's not like you're doing anything like that would require a constitutional change, I don't think.
So I guess what I'm getting at is that there are kind of like these guardrails that were built into Senate procedure that were intended to force it to be a chamber that kind of that works together and is in some way collegial. The 60-seat filibuster was a version of this, right? Where it's like, well, you kind of have to compromise, because even if you have a slim majority, you can't just slam things through. And a lot of Senate rules work like that. I think we're finding to our displeasure that it works better when the Senate does work that way. And to me, the only way that you're going to fix that is for the party in power voluntarily take a step that lessens their power. Because
yeah, that's never going to happen with conservatives, and the Democrats shouldn't do it anymore. It's absolutely absurd to expect a Democrat anything to do it when Republicans have constantly abused their power. They are constantly only in power because of the way that land is allowed to vote, the structure of the Electoral College. They enjoy very broad systemic power built into the Constitution. So no, I don't think a Democrat should step back.
The DEI in the Constitution.
Justice, and now we've had these ridiculously insane Supreme Court rulings as a result of the 6-3 or 5.5, 3.5 court. Like, no, that's absurd. No, Democrats shouldn't be the one to step back. We should make a new rule in the Senate that should be passed by law, not something you just rescind with a simple 51 vote majority, and anybody that opposes it, fuck them. And if it's Republicans that oppose it, then just back to court, because the court's already passed anyway.
But that's the sour grapes right there, right? Because that's the problem. You say like, oh, well, we have to do it right now, and it has to be this way, and they're making these ridiculous rulings. Then it just sounds like, wow, we don't like how it's going, so we're going to knock over the board and make new rules. You know,
that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly
true.
If you don't have the power and then you want to kick the board over, it just seems like you're losing.
Well, we have the power right now, right? The Democrats do.
Yeah, but you don't want to do what I suggested. You don't want to voluntarily step back on power. That's what you just said.
Wait, what do you mean step? How is this no, I'm just saying that I don't know how any sane human being could say it's a bad idea to make a law that says that the Senate has to hear a Supreme Court nomination within, 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. How could you ever oppose that? That's not even favoring one side. That's just.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, I don't think. Hold on, just to be clear, I don't think anyone. Maybe Gibbs, but most of us don't oppose
if only
that,
the founders
right?
were that smart.
What the issue at hand is, if for whatever reason this doesn't go through, then we are okay with court packing and other quote unquote nuclear options in order to make sure that it is our way or the highway.
Did you see, by the way, the fucking I had to go get my passport today, so him and Sampa were arguing as well. In my server, the conversation we had,
from my understanding, is what most people here view.
He kept just saying it would have been legal for Pence to unilaterally not certify the election, and like the thing I kept like sending him, I was like, can you just like read that? Can you just like read why Pence didn't do it? Pence didn't do it. Well, Pence didn't do it for a few different reasons, but one of the reasons he didn't do it was because his own legal counsel said, hey, this isn't legal, and they explained all the reasons it wasn't legal. And I was like, can you just like read like what Pence's own legal counsel was telling him, which goes through all the different reasons why it was not legal for him to unilaterally overturn the election. He just kept saying, nah, would have been legal, nah.
As the actual issue at hand.
It's the reaction to it, not because I think everyone here would support that. And so then if they try and say no on it, you can use it as a political tool to try and gain the power to actually pass the law. That'd all be fine. But when you're saying like, I'm going to pack the court if you don't, or because what you're saying, you think it's already obliterated. You're saying that because of Garland, you think
if you're the kind of person to say no on this, right? Like imagine if we were imagine if we were husband and we were making a rule in our house, and I said, hey, I just want to propose a rule, by the way, let's vote on this. It says we're not allowed to poison our partner's food, and you vote no on that. I'm killing you that night. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you ever vote no on something like that? If the Republicans are like, actually, no, we're not going to guarantee this. Okay, well, my assumption is going to be because you want to use this as political leverage somehow in the future. I don't think we should play that game. I don't think it's right that you can deprive a constitutionally allotted power to the president for political reasons. That's insane. That should be a very easy law that every single person in Congress should support.
I agree, and so should have all the other ones regarding like interracial marriage should have been passed as a law. All the other substantive due process things, those should have been easy things that you could have passed, and yet those.
Well, that substantive due process. This is much more complicated than a very simple Article 2 power that is very simply allotted to the president. The president is allowed, with the advice and consent of the Senate, to appoint people to the Supreme Court. It's very, very simple, very constitutional, very easy.
I agree. I think it's unconstitutional that they didn't. In contracts, there's a thing called the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. That there's that when a rule says like you will give me your advice and consent, the idea isn't haha, I tricked you. As long as I never give it to you, you lose. There's an implied there that you will actually consider and give an answer. And so the thing is, I would say that yes, it was unconstitutional for them to just refuse to hold the hearing. In fact, it's worse than that, because even their statement of saying like the whole Thurman rule, they're like, oh, well, let's let the people vote. If Hillary had won, they would have just like immediately put Garland on the court. They said under a lane like for fear they go, oh, she might put up someone more liberal. They were like, so it wasn't even they were opposed to Garland. They were literally just, it was purely a power play, like bold face. And so like you're pissed. I think that's reasonable. I'm just saying like you seem to be going nuclear. I'm just saying I don't think the nuke is the right response. In the same sense, if someone said that they won't vote on poisoning you, we're married, and I say no, I'm not going to vote to poison you. You stab me. I don't think that was the right response. Leaving would be a good response, or not eating any food I made. But stabbing the person
leave, and we can't not participate in government. Like why would we? If you were a Democrat, why would you ever assume that a Republican is going to let you have another Supreme Court pick ever?
Why isn't the threat like for like? Why isn't the threat, well, unless we pass this amendment, if we're in a similar position, we're going to deny you guys a pick too?
They almost were.
As opposed to a situation of we're going to implement a system where we're going to pack the court, where we're going to completely obliterate the legitimacy entirely, right? Because you just put 20 people, like you said before, 20 people that will rubber stamp anything that you put forward, anything that you put forward, and then you're going to have the next administration do that, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and now we have Congress and the president. That's what we have now. We don't have a court anymore, right? At least now we have a court.
And barely, maybe, but some people would argue maybe we don't. Yeah, some people would argue that some of the decisions that have come out might have been different if Obama would have been allowed to have his Supreme Court pick. Right, we're sitting on a 6-3 conservative.
Yeah, they would have been more politically motivated as opposed to like actually constitutionally
more politically motivated,
like Thomas or Roberts who aren't politically motivated at all, or Kavanaugh who's not politically motivated at all.
So
what does that even mean?
The concept about originalism is you're trying to minimize like political hackery, right? The point is that you're interpreting the law as it was written, and that's what these justices profess to do, and they've been doing, I think, a relatively good job. Right? I mean, the Dobbs decision, which was, I mean, people have been shitting on Roe versus Wade for how.
Justice Thomas can't he can't just say that like he like wrote his concurring opinion, writing about why special counsels are illegal. When that issue is not before the court, he can't. I guess maybe he's purporting that has something to do with originalism, but I think it's more likely that when he's doing that, he's probably just is signaling support for Trump. That's probably what he's doing. I feel kind of like the U.S. is like 10 years ahead of every other country, both economically and socially. Economically, we're crushing these other countries, okay? All the Euro countries that did their stupid ass austerity in 2008 and never recovered, and then during COVID didn't do as big of bailouts. Some of them did, but yeah. But we're beating the fuck out of them. Hell yeah.
Constitutionally suspect for having no basis, and then this is the court that actually has like the gall to do the right thing.
Socially, we're doing pretty good
and overturn it, right? This is, I think, one of the most principled courts we've ever had. One of the
God, get fucked. Get fucked.
Done with the most politically charged Republican issue in the history of the.
This is the funniest. Dude, our recovery from 2008 was not even fast, and like compared to Europe and Japan, it's absolutely. Oh man!
Fucking last like 70 years, the United States was abortion. Interesting. Wow, what an originalist court that they took that brave decision and overturned it. How would you defend something like the immunity ruling? That is
oh, sorry. What
politically charged?
Did I mention?
One of the most principled courts we've ever had. One of the most principled courts we've ever had.
Things that they could have done was the most politically charged Republican issue in the history of the fucking last like 70 years. The United States was abortion. Interesting. Wow, what an originalist court that they took that brave decision and overturned it. How would you defend something like the immunity ruling? That is
Bernie Sanders was even fucking shitting on Roe versus Wade. We have people who Justice Ginsburg, you have people who support abortion that were like admitting, yeah, this case is terrible, because the case is terrible. This concept of like the same people who ratified, the 14th Amendment, then went on to like ban abortion, that somehow they intended the penumbra of privacy within the 14th Amendment to apply to abortion. It completely pulled out of the ass. And this was one of the more principled courts to actually overrule that. Like I think that's a testament to how principled this court is. And the immunity decision is not as I know that you don't like it, and yes, because it's Roberts wrote it as opposed to Alito. There's some issues with it. Sure, I wish that I would have done it differently, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. There actually is a basis here in the separation of powers to have presidential immunity, right? There is a basis there. It's not completely ridiculous.
It is completely ridiculous.
No, just like you can't have the judiciary go after the president outside of the realm of the Constitution, and you can't have the president go after Congress outside of the realm of the Constitution. Like there are certain constitutional powers granted to the president that you don't get to touch using congressional action, right? It makes sense.
I mean, look,
Nobody. Okay, here's a couple things. First of all, what you said about the 14th Amendment and the intention of the 14th Amendment is not really relevant. The idea that because the 14th Amendment happens, and that 100 years later you get Roe v. Wade, that doesn't matter, right? Like, are we going to say that Brown v. Board was a bad decision because the people who passed the 14th Amendment wouldn't have thought that 90 years later all of a sudden we're going to desegregate schools? Like that's not how constitutional law works. You don't look at like, well, what were all of the potential like unforeseeable things that could have? You read the letter of the law, you look at the history of when it was implemented, and then you try to figure out like what it meant, and then you go from there. You don't have to like if a law isn't passed immediately after an amendment, you don't have to say 90 years later, oh well, the original framing of this amendment wouldn't have mattered. As long as it's clear.
When you said like you try to figure out what it meant, what do you mean by that?
As in I don't know how to make that any simpler. As in when the framers passed this law, what was the law supposed to do?
Exactly. What was the intent of it, right? Yes, that is originalism. Yes.
What is the intent of what? Yeah, but what does that have to do with what you just said? That like how could the 14th Amendment ever have allowed for Roe v. Wade?
Right, because the drafters of the 14th Amendment, or immediately after the Civil War, went on, like you look at the timeline of abortion being legalized in the United States, it was the same, government, the same people that passed the 14th Amendment that were also banning abortion in the States. And then we have Roe versus Wade, 100 years later, and they're saying, well, actually, the 14th Amendment protects the right to it, like the penumbra of privacy. 14th Amendment being a big part of that.
It's an implied right.
Protects the right of abortion.
So then would you argue
which makes no fucking sense. It also doesn't make sense that like estrogen and progesterone are somehow like, and Thomas was the only one brave enough to even challenge this, that estrogen and progesterone are somehow also covered by privacy, but fentanyl and cocaine are not. That doesn't make any sense.
Would you argue that Brown then was poorly decided, that should be overturned because how like the 14th Amendment people didn't have anything to say about desegregation at the time?
I think there's issues with Brown versus Board of Education. I would support a law. I would absolutely support a law, but constitutionally speaking, I think it's suspect. Not nearly as much as Roe versus Wade, but yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I mean, definitely, I think more broadly speaking, like there's two dominant schools of constitutional theory, right? There's originalism and there's living constitutionalists. You can break it down into a million subdivisions, but there are two versions of this. And I think that if we're getting to the point where we're going to say that the other side isn't just wrong, but unreasonable for having that school of interpretation, I don't know how we move forward in a kind of rule of law based society. Like there are different schools of thought on this. It's not like people just made.
I feel like the 14th Amendment case clearly shows a stray from originalism, even because it seems like from my understanding of it that just by reading the law, oh god, it only giving Congress the power to remove the disqualification from the 14th Amendment, right? You can be disqualified for insurrection, Section 3. Only giving Congress the power to remove the disqualification, and importantly, by 2/3 majority. That seems like it implies that it's self-executing, especially because if it takes a 2/3 majority to remove the disqualification, but it's not self-executing, that would mean it takes a simple majority to actually add the it would take a simple majority to actually add the disqualification, and therefore it would also take a simple majority to remove the disqualification. That seems like that decision seems to fly in the face of any constitutional originalism there.
Ended up last Tuesday. There's like boatloads of law review articles and constitutional theory. Like this is one of the most written about things in all of American jurisprudence, right? So like, I don't know that we can get to the point where we're saying, well, just because people are originalists, they're crazy and unreasonable and they're making terrible decisions. That those are kind of the two buckets, right?
Well, no, people say this, but the dichotomy is far blurrier than people give it credit for. For instance, like the originalism argument that the conservatives on this court are somehow originalists. Any originalist argument is completely lacking in like the immunity ruling. There's no foundation in historical.
Thank you. Okay, good. He's gonna say what? No, he mentioned the immunity ruling, which I feel like is also probably strays from originalism. But yeah.
Or anything relating to support that. That's like a brand new, like Roberts crafted everything brand new. This idea of presumptive immunity, of criminal immunity, all of that was just fabricated in that ruling. There's no historical basis for any of it.
How do you figure that? How do you figure that?
How do I figure it? Well, the fact that there is no, how do I figure a negative? There is no historical basis for.
What are they debating? They're going over Supreme Court reform stuff right now. That's what they're talking about.
Criminal prosecution.
Whether or not to like pack the court or add term limits.
Let me just ask a question. How does generally the Supreme Court determine like what is case law? Like they look at cases prior, right? Correct? Like, so you're sitting there saying there's no legal basis for them at all in any previous rulings, not in the Constitution, to come to this conclusion at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is
the whole case was a historical analysis, right? They're absolutely.
You read any stuff yet? Not really.
To be clear, no, it wasn't. That's why the only case they can cite had to do with civil immunity, which was the Fitzgerald case.
I was going to say they only cited the Nixon v. Fitzgerald, and that only had to do with That was civil cases brought against the president.
Over and over and over and over again. And it's why even the justices of the world in the Fitzgerald case said that obviously this would apply to criminal immunity. And Roberts doesn't cite any type of historical precedents at all because we're American.
Never happened before.
Yeah, the president of the United States would never be criminal law. Why would you even assume that as an American? That's just like, on its face, it's absurd, obviously.
Well, I mean, if we're going to do this, maybe do this as easily as possible. The president has total sole and exclusive power over the pardon. It's his. It's not Congress's, it's his. So Congress can't pass a law that says the president can't issue pardons on Wednesdays because it's not their power. They don't have that power. Similarly, they can't pass a law that says the government will do no business on Wednesdays, and if you do business on Wednesdays, it's illegal. And then if the president issues a pardon on Wednesday, prosecute him for doing a pardon on Wednesday. There must be immunity, at least in these core areas, because Congress
and also another thing, ignoring what he's saying for a second, the Nixon v. Fitzgerald case, I'm pretty sure there was a balancing act test to it. In terms of like, I think Nixon cited like some level. No, wait, maybe this was fuck. I have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure there was a ruling, whether it was Nixon v. Fitzgerald or a different ruling, where basically the president was arguing, I have like executive privilege, so I don't like have to hand over these documents. And the balancing test was, well, you have to weigh the public interest between like the president handing over documents and the president's authority. The immunity test is not between the public interest and for the presumptive immunity, it's not between public interest and the president's authority. It's between if intruding or it's even just looking into investigating the potential crime that happened, if that poses any threat to the president's executive vigorous and executive functioning or whatever the fuck they phrased it, then oh shit, I need to shoot sewage. Then he can't do it. Then it's absolutely immune.
No power to criminalize it.
The only thing that would make this work, the only thing that would make this work is if Congress were to pass a law saying it's illegal for the president to do some job. We're not even talking about passing a law that criminalizes the behavior of the president. We're talking about the courts being able to review a crime that the president committed, not the direct exit. No one's talking about banning presidential powers.
They can review it.
But this, I'm walking you through the logic of why there was.
And I'm explaining why it's illogical. You've never needed immunity for any of this.
Constitution that they were looking at.
No part of the president's job.
There must be areas where the president cannot be criminally prosecuted.
Florida 1989 to ban the practice of hiring little people to throw them. Do you have an opinion on this? Yes, that is absolutely unconstitutional and a violation of my First Amendment right and my Second Amendment right.
Seeks to criminalize behavior over which they have no power.
What the fuck is more unconstitutional? Yeah, welcome to this party.
No power. And that's
constitutional power of
Congress, right?
In her concurrence, she was saying it's really an as-applied challenge. What you're looking at is the president did something. And then
I just put a bunch of buzzwords here, so hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
Would we be legislating something where Congress has no?
Not buzzwords, keywords. Supreme Court case that addressed executive privilege in the balancing. United States v. Nixon. Executive privilege not absolute. The court rejected Nixon claims of an absolute unqualified privilege. There's a presumptive privilege to presidents for communication rooted in the executive powers. The privilege is qualifying can be overcome by showing a sufficient showing a need. Yeah. This case, the president here. I think this was also for civil stuff or whatever. It was about like what documents that Nixon had to hand over to shit. But it was I guess it says sufficient showing a need. The test for overcoming presumptive immunity is whether it poses any threat to the executive functioning.
Power. If yes, he's immune. And I think that is like fairly straightforward analysis of the structure of the Constitution and the separation of powers.
Yeah, but none of the president's powers that he executes have ever called into question whether or not he's committing a crime while executing them. This is a constitutional protection that didn't need to be granted by the Supreme Court because it's always been there. Nobody's talked about arresting the president or saying the president's committed a crime when he's carrying out his duties.
It's always been there. So wait, there is a historical basis for this then. So you're basically you're
like immunity covered as official. That's very straightforward. I don't know why anyone's confused. Localist, do you think that okay, first of all, not only it doesn't even just apply to the president now. You understand Jeffrey Clark, who I would say pretty blatantly engaged in conspiracy to defraud the United States. Jeffrey Clark can't even be prosecuted now because it's unreviewable. His actions are unreviewable because they took place within the context of the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president, right? I would say there's obviously a public interest in not having the president be able to commit crimes, okay? It should be a balancing act between a public interest and the president not committing crimes and the president's functioning. We didn't even get that. And also we didn't even get you have to. Trump's lawyers were arguing that you had to impeach the president before you could criminally prosecute him. They went further than that and just said it's unreviewable forever. No court can ever review this. You just got owned by localist Deuterino? Yeah, official.
No historical basis. Now you're saying
anything within the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president is now absolutely immune forever in perpetuity. Cannot be reviewed.
Well, there was this other case, but I don't like that
horrible.
case, so let's ignore that. Oh, it's always been
official
implied,
acts are done pursuant to the Constitution, but you understand it doesn't even matter whether the act is legal or not. It just has to be within the conclusive and preclusive authority. You understand, if Trump talks to his DOJ official and says assassinate Nancy Pelosi, you understand he can't be charged with that, right? The Supreme Court already ruled any conversation Trump has with his DOJ falls within the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president. He can't be that can't even be reviewed. They can't even look at it.
Okay. So you're just basically like, which is it? Is it never been there historically, or has it always been there historically? Like,
there's never been a historical criminal immunity granted to any member of the U.S. government.
Okay.
There's also never before now been a prosecution of a former president for a criminal act that was allegedly part of his rule of time power.
No sane person believes that Donald Trump was functioning in his powers of the president, except for Roberts, who was on crack when he wrote that decision. That there's no part of what Donald Trump was doing that was his official role as president that the courts are now trying to review. That's just not true.
If I may,
this is actually interesting. He's going to have an argument about this for a long time, but I don't want to get into this.
Just real quick, right? I don't mean to interrupt the back.
Well, Trump will become a dictator.
Interesting, right?
Trump should have a military take out Nancy for yeah, good one.
You mentioned earlier that you think that that SCOTUS as an institution is rather destroyed. Are you being hyperbolic about that? Do you think that the SCOTUS as it exists today, the makeup of it as today, do you think it's just kind of a rubber stamp for Trump at this point, or Republicans?
I wouldn't call it. I don't think it's a rubber stamp for Trump, but I think that the fact that we're going to have a conservative court for so long now, as a result of the Republicans abusing their power and acting unconstitutionally in the Senate by depriving a Democrat of his rightful constitutionally allotted Supreme Court pick, that is challenging to the constitutionality of or to the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Absolutely, it is.
Thoughts?
I agree. Like the thing is, I think that behavior I think was awful. The thing is that it justifies so much stupid shit. But like everything he's saying is like, it's just like you can always kind of just, well, then why didn't they hear Garland's? They could said no.
But I know these conservative constitutional centers are going to vote for the guy who literally said, "I know, yeah." Just like localists. I don't know if localists are voting for Trump, but he defends Trump, even though Trump does not like the Constitution.
The thought was just, and people for some reason swallowed it, and then not only that, you go, no one action to stop it, and I think that does justify a level of piss. It would have been if Kavanaugh hadn't been actually gotten in before the election, and then they had blocked that seat for 2 years, I think that'd have been a good tip to go like, no, pass the law or we'll block it for 6 years. You had no reason for 1 year. We'll do it until you pass the law. But that I could see.
This discussion sounds insane to anyone who's not American, I think. Yeah.
But when you're saying no, nuke everything if you don't get a procedural.
Dude, sometimes it sounds insane to me just because like sometimes during Obama's term, like I was even more of a child. I was literally like 13, so like I obviously was not following a lot of this when I was 13 years old. So sometimes when they hark back to stuff from Obama's time, I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about.
Thing that I agree with, but it's just, yeah, it feels like you're using a very large hammer for a very...
Yeah, but then the problem is that people like you are going to make the same argument if it happens again, right? We're going to be in the last year and a half of Kamala's presidency. It's going to be a Republican-led Senate, and there's going to be another Supreme Court pick that gets passed. And now I'm looking at you, and you're like, well, it's pretty shameful, and it's really horrible that, the Republicans don't. And then the next year comes like, well, but would you really nuke everything? Like, how far does this go? Like, it's already insane that the Supreme Court pick was deprived of a Democrat, right? And now we have a 6-3 conservative court for who knows how long. Like, that already happened. That's insane. And now it's like, well, let's just see what happens in the future. Until when? Do we lose another one? And then let's say
Kamala is a million times more of an American than Trump will ever
hypothetically,
be.
that what I just said happens
Absolutely.
Again. And now we're in 2029 or whatever. And now we're having this exact same debate. And Republicans have deprived 2 different Supreme Court picks to a Democrat. Now do you agree with them? And I'm like, okay, well, they should just pack the court if they won't pass this law? Or do you make the exact same argument?
How would you have the power to pack the court but not to fix it? Like, how are you having, like, you're going, I have so much power to do, I can't get a 1, but I can get a 10 through. Like, if you think you can pack the court, the thing is, do you think Republicans should just pack the court then as well? Because, like, I mean, if you're saying it's obliterated and it's already over, why wouldn't they start now?
Republicans don't need to pack the court. They've already gotten their...
I'll also say, like, this is something that I think we've got principle on, which is that let's say it doesn't happen the way you described. Let's say the next let's say 2 more times or 2 times in the future, the Democrats do the reverse of the Republicans essentially and block 2 picks. None of us here are going to be advocating for packing the court if that happens, despite the fact that, hey, the Dems got 1 up on the Republicans. But nobody here is going to say, well, the response to that's going to, hey, we better pass an amendment, otherwise we're going to pack the court. No, it's packing the court's not on the table.
Yeah, even if you end up with like a 9-0 liberal court due to specifically that, let's just say every single time, every single justice now gets hit with that, and the Democrats win every single time. Turnabout's fair play. They use the rule that Republicans started.
First of all, but carry on. Yeah.
I mean, the whole country's doomed if we have a 9-0, so it doesn't really matter at that point.
Well, let me ask you a question. I want to know what's going to prevent this. This is the situation I see playing out. So here's what happened. We had basically the Senate follow the rules. It's within the rules that were set at the time. There was not enough tools for the Dems to stop them from like doing this under Obama, right? And so now they're worried it's going to happen again, or they're complaining. So basically, they want to change the rules, right? So what happens if they get what they want and they still don't win? Right? Like, let's say they still lose, they still don't get the Supreme Court, or somehow they're held up and the Republicans outgame them again.
How about term limits? Yeah, they talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm assuming they'll get back to it later.
It's just going to keep changing the rules till they win. At what point does this stop? That's what I want to know. When does it stop? Is it only stop whenever they get what they want, or does it stop whenever they realize they're just bad gaming the system?
The rule that I'm suggesting
is the school shooting in Georgia? No. Welcome back, Poland.
A biased rule. Everybody should agree to this rule. Like, and if we pass this rule or this law or whatever, and then for whatever reason the Democrats lose the election and there's another Supreme Court pick from a Republican president, then that just is what it is. But that has no impact on this law.
Yeah, I agree. If you could actually get public support over that, the thing is, I don't think anyone's going to care enough, so it's not going to be. But if you could make a national issue that says, here's what we want like, within 90 days, you have to hear the hearing, like whatever, and you get the answer from every senator and every single person in Congress. It's not going to change, even though like we would all agree with you. The problem is you'd have to get the public to care, and if they did, then yes, people would take that position and pass that law. But
okay, number one, I'm pretty sure if we look up like trust in trust in SCOTUS, I'm pretty sure most Americans at this point are not big fans of SCOTUS, trust in the Supreme Court. Yeah, it's like below half now. So like I would assume there's a decent amount of the people in public who would support this. I mean, Biden wrote his whole op-ed about Supreme Court reform. But secondly, what a like dumb point to like bring up in the debate. Well, I agree with you, but I don't think you'd get public support for that. That's not really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what he was trying to talk about, but like, I don't. That would never be something I would want to talk about in a debate. I would just I'd just be like, well, I'm just here to like talk to you about like what you and I think. I don't know.
The problem is, I don't think people are going to care enough to get that kind of support over it.
Well, this is the problem. There's a theater aspect to this. This is what I was saying at the beginning. Like, you could fix this with a Senate procedural fix, and if you have the concerns Destiny articulated, you could hide you could mask the procedural fix with a filibuster, so that you have to get to 60 votes to change that particular procedural rule, and then the Mitch McConnell maneuver with the Judiciary Committee is dead. Now, I think what this is raising is the kind of the larger question here, which is like, if there was no Judiciary Committee and there was just an up-down vote on Garland, and the Republicans voted no because they had enough seats to vote no, I don't know that that's going to make Destiny any more happy than he is today. I don't think it's going to.
Well, at the very least, they're voting, right? Like that was the whole issue. Even when people point back to because Republicans because Republicans won't take accountability for literally anything. They'll go, oh well, Harry Reid, he suggested the nuclear option, and this is where this all started. Yeah, but the reason why he suggested is because Republicans wouldn't vote on anything. I think it was like there had been 20 filibusters for federal judicial nominations in like the past like 2 decades.
I have no clue who this guy is. Harry Reid.
And in the first couple years of Obama's presidency, there were like 30. It was unreal. It's not that they were voting them down. They just wouldn't even have the vote. And McConnell explicitly said, we don't have to guess, McConnell said that my goal is to make Obama a one-term president. He wasn't going to let anything through the Senate. This can't happen.
So if the issue is the procedural rule, why not fix the procedural rule? Change the way the Judiciary Committee is structured and say that you can't change it again without breaking through a 60.
November 21st, 2016, Donna Reed, Senator's Majority Leader, Democratic Majority Senate voted 52-48 to eliminate a 60-vote requirement to end a filibuster. Against all executive branch nominees and additional nominations, a 3/5 supermajority were still required to end filibusters unrelated to those nominees, such as for legislation and Supreme Court nominees. The Democrats stated motivation for the nuclear option was expansion of filibustering by Republicans during the Obama administration, in particular blocking 3 nominations to the United States Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia Circuit. So he's right. Yeah, they won't even do anything.
I mean, you can do that. That's okay, but I don't know if you can get. Isn't the cloture like the ending of debate? Isn't that always 51 votes? I don't know if you can change that with just another rule, or that has to be a law. I'm not sure.
If you can just get people to care about it. The problem is like if people politicians will respond what the public care about. And the thing is, if they cared about this, then yes, you could get it to a vote. The problem is and the idea of going into court packing, I'm not certain how you're gonna get the power for that. Because again, if you have so much power that you're just like, I'm just gonna overwhelm an entire branch of government, you're like, but you can't pass a procedural rule. Like your limits are.
A question for you, Zetzway, then.
Sure.
I do have a question for you, but I have a question for Destiny as well from the audience, which I thought was well articulated. So I'll ask that and pass that on. If Kamala is running on a system where she does say, hey, I'm open to packing the courts, which she did in 2019, right? She did say she's open to that idea. And the public knowing this, or at least being made aware of this by advertisements.
I don't trust anything Kamala said from 2019. She obviously has moderated their positions on like everything since then.
Like vote her in. Is that not the public being okay with this? Right?
Maybe, but also like packing the court is a nuclear. That's a really bad thing. Nobody wants
a really bad thing.
Yeah, what the Republicans did was also a really, really, really bad thing. So the Republicans have no accountability.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Let's say Republicans oppose the amendment that you're proposing. They just reject it right out of hand. Would you be in favor then of Kamala Harris just simply ignoring the Supreme Court as opposed to packing it? Because in your words, they're obliterated anyway. They don't really have any legitimacy anyway. Would you be in favor of just Kamala Harris? The Supreme Court says, no, don't do that. And she says, no, fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway.
No, I think that packing the court is more within the bounds of the law than just ignoring it.
What's the difference in effect?
Well, one, it's not about what's in effect. It's about what's the law, right? There's nothing technically blocking you from putting more Supreme Court justices in. Ignoring the Supreme Court, would be a betrayal of the three branches of government, right? It just doesn't work at that point. You've destroyed your judiciary. Kind of like what Republicans have done now with the immunity ruling and the president.
No. I think you're right. You would destroy the judiciary. But I think when the effect is the same, right? We're talking about the same effect. That's why we're saying packing the court is destroying the judiciary, right? That's why we're saying it leads to that, because the effect is the same. You just put 20 sycophants on there that are going to do whatever you say, and then, or rule however you want. And then you've essentially done the same thing, just ignoring the Supreme Court.
Would you agree that it would destroy the court if a political party said we're never going to hear President Supreme Court pick again if it's from a different party?
I don't think it would destroy it. I'm against it, but I don't think it would destroy it. Because
why not?
Because you could very easily have the other political party do the exact.
I feel like that would destroy it more than packing it. Really?
Like we're also never going to hear your picks, and so you have a situation in which, like now, the circumstances. Yes, we have a Supreme Court.
That's the same thing with the packing the court thing, though. Is that both sides could just say that they're going to pack the court every time.
Court packing won't destroy it because the other party can just pack the court when they get in.
Yeah, I understand, but like this is what destroys it, right? Because now the Supreme Court is full of sycophants for every.
See Malvin and Peter Thiel suing Honduras for a third of their GDP. No, I didn't. What is that about?
Yeah, but people would argue that that's already happened. No, it's a 6-3 court.
No, instead the back and forth is going to happen. Like, yes, over a long period of time, you're going to have a situation where you can only really get a Supreme Court pick in if you control, the Congress and the president. But that's going to apply to both parties, and you're still going to have like a slowly changing Supreme Court that's not going to be able to rubber stamp every single agenda that the incoming president has. But if you pack the court and both parties want to do that, you're going to have a rubber stamp that's going to say yes to anything that goes through. Why would they not?
We already have a 6-3 court for like the next generation. Like this has already been a huge problem, but like you guys are just like brushing over that, like, oh yeah, this is kind of bad, but like court packing would be horrible. Like something horrible has already happened.
Well, I also don't see what it has to do with what I said either.
It would have happened with one more liberal on the court, guaranteed.
This is a little bit of a pivot, right? Because we were talking specifically why won't they just ignore the Supreme Court? Oh, because that'd be destructive of the whole process. But like, and then in effect, court packing is the exact same.
You're betraying the government.
Hold on. This is how it's different than court packing, right? Yes, I know you're saying it's 6-3, but it's not 25-3, right? Obviously, there's a difference there. And also, these six are ruling against each other a lot, by the way.
Substantively, there's a difference between like nominating a corrupt judge to a courthouse and ignoring everything from a courthouse. Like there might be both bad even, but they're different things in substance. These are two different things. Ignoring the entire judiciary is different than packing the court, which you could argue, hurts the legitimacy of the judiciary. But these are two different things.
No, it doesn't just.
It's easier to trick people if you do it.
Like,
why would it obliterate it?
Again, because you get a president that gets elected, and let's say they have congressional control, and the established norm is here you just pack the court. Well, I'm going to find 25 sycophants that just do whatever I say, and I'm going to put them in the court, and I'm going to get everything that I want passed, guaranteed. Because I'm going to find the people who have my exact agenda. Who have my exact agenda, I'm going to put them on the court. Currently, we have 6 justices that are, quote unquote conservative. They're incredibly principled, and they disagree with each other very often. Gorsuch ruled in favor of giving Native American tribes half of Oklahoma, and ruled that you can't fire people for being trans.
Courts don't pass laws. You can't pass a law with a court. So saying that the Supreme Court will give you everything you want doesn't even make sense, because you still have to get it through Congress. Okay, number one. Number two, if you wanted to pack the court, you'd still have to have the Senate approve every single court pick that you have. So you're getting at the very least your entire party to go along with it, assuming you've got a majority. So even what you said isn't true. No,
you're missing the point. You're missing the point. What I mean by that is that yes, you're gonna have control of the Congress and the president, but then the Constitution is no longer a barrier, because you're gonna have every single president's gonna have enough justices on the court to say whatever they do is constitutional. Oh, you want to do something crazy that you just have enough, like burning the flag, for example. Let's say you have a Trump-like figure who gets elected, and then he's super in favor of criminalizing burning the flag, and then he packs the court with 25 justices that all agree. Yeah,
he said Trump-like figure, not just Trump.
Now the Constitution is been destroyed essentially. Sure, but any single proposal is going to be destroyed.
He got that. You got a president that commits crimes.
It is not like that. It is not like that.
The Supreme Court now that said that you can commit crimes. That's okay. You're immune. That's this scenario literally verbatim has already happened.
We had that prior as well.
This situation has not happened.
The thing is, you're talking exactly the dissent of this in the civil immunity case. Like what you're saying is exactly what they said then too. Like, and I asked you before, has that happened? Has there been massive amounts of civil damages done by presidents to people? Have they actually done the thing you're saying they're doing? Like, because
I feel like especially the fact that Clarence Thomas like wrote his concurring opinion on special counsels. He like his concurring opinion, I think, was like literally just like, hey, you know, I agree, and also, hey, by the way, I think special counsels are unconstitutional. And then, literally, like a few days after that, the Mar-a-Lago court, got thrown out, or it's not complete. It's in a like higher appeal court now, because the judge said that she thinks special counsels are unconstitutional too.
The dissent in that opinion did the exact same thing you did. We just gave the president the power to just do massive civil damages to anyone and be fully immune, and said like this is insane, and like. They said the exact same thing, and so it just didn't. But it doesn't happen. And the same thing here is you go. Remember, it has to be a core power. Like I'm just not certain what you think is going to happen that didn't. Like it hasn't already.
Yeah, literally one paragraph of like, oh, the court opinion. I write separately, highlight another way in which prosecution may violate our constitutional structure. Like, oh, okay, dude. Okay, sick, dude. Awesome, man. Sick, dude. Cool. You
First
really
of all,
need to do that one.
Civil damages that the president could do. We're talking of a totally different kind of thing than criminal activity.
Which means he'd be more inclined to do it. Which why haven't they? There's even less. I think it's criminal. Why didn't Trump use it? Why didn't Trump use it civil damages to like violate?
He committed crime. Oh, why?
No, why didn't he use civil? Why wouldn't he use it to make money? You could just basically buy things and then just not pay them and goes, I have civil immunity. Screw you. Why?
You mean like having like a Supreme Court or having his like Secret Service people like stay at his resorts every time he goes out golfing or whatever? What do you mean?
No, I mean like you could make a contract and then just not honor it and just go, you can't sue me for civil damages. Or even just what happened to Nixon. Just say, I'm going to pass laws that screw over people that make them lose money and just say you can't get me civilly, even though I even announce intentionally that I'm doing it.
No, for civil litigation, don't you have to have a particularized person? You can't even. I don't even know if you can even point to like an entire law like that passed, right? Isn't that part of like civil litigation? Is particularized injuries that are done to individuals in order to have standing to bring case?
I know we're going down. Fitzgerald.
Locally, I don't have strong opinions on gun control. That is such a dumb fucking point. Every time a bunch of kids die, Democrats want to stop that.
The idea that like the president could abuse this particular thing, there's a reason why a president might be super motivated to commit crimes, and we don't have to imagine that. We can just look at the last president. But in terms of like the president conducting himself in a way where he's like incentivized to commit like civil crimes, I don't think it maps on as cleanly at all. And also, is the implication from Fitzgerald that like you wouldn't be able to is there an implication that if Nixon had a private business and let's say Nixon sold hot dogs and he scammed or he sold some poisonous hot dog to some person, would Fitzgerald have protected Nixon from being sued as a private citizen if he did that while he was president?
So the majority doesn't. The same thing here, where you're saying that the dissent in this one says that SEAL Team 6. The majority doesn't say that.
The majority does sign off on that, and the majority does say,
says, you're saying in there it says SEAL Team 6 can kill anyone you want. God giving powers, go.
Correct. And the majority explicitly protects Donald Trump asking the DOJ to send out lies from the DOJ to every state. That's not a core power of the president.
Destiny, if you think that this
wait, think about that. Don't let him escape from that. To be clear, you do recall that, right? Roberts told Trump that he is now allowed to do this thing. That's not a core power of the president, right? To tell the DOJ to lie to states.
To talk to your attorney general. If I said that you can, if Congress said, actually, the president can talk to the attorney general, but only if we say but it has to be approved by Congress first. Otherwise, it's a crime. It's a criminal act for the president.
No, hold on. It's only a crime when you do a crime.
I know, they make it a crime. You're saying that Congress can pass a law making it a crime for the president to talk to the attorney general without it. Why not?
Because the Supreme Court would strike it down as unconstitutional. What do you mean?
Saying it isn't. I'm saying you don't think it is, right? It's not unconstitutional.
It's constitutionally protected to commit crimes.
I know, so they can make a crime for the president to talk to his DOJ, and you'd say that's okay.
No, it's not, because it would be unconstitutional.
How? It's a crime. You said the president has no immunity from crimes. Congress can pass any law they want. They can make it a crime for him to basically be the president.
If the president has in the Constitution the ability to appoint officers and to communicate with his officers, how could you criminalize that behavior?
Exactly.
There is immunity.
That's what we're saying. That's the official act that you can't criminalize.
There we go. There's immunity.
He's not being charged with picking his heads of his departments. That's not the crime that he's being charged with.
Fraud is the crime he's being charged with, and fraud is innocent.
Under what he's being charged with, you're telling me that if the president goes up to the head of the DOJ and says, I want you to go and cut like 15 people's throats, else I'm going to fire you, your argument, Robert's argument, is that would be immune from criminal prosecution because he's allowed to.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be.
It would be.
How would it not be?
You're absolutely wrong. It would be, and you're absolutely wrong. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why Roberts doesn't touch the SEAL Team 6 thing, despite the fact that it came up in oral arguments, and despite the fact that it comes up. What?
You said he agreed with SEAL Team 6. What do you mean he didn't address
it? He doesn't touch it. He's strangely silent on it. Yeah, because he literally explicitly protects behavior.
Not silent. Which is it? Did he agree or was he silent? Those are two different things.
He agrees with it in principle by the fact that he buckets some behavior where he says this is an absolutely immune thing. And I'm sorry. Where in the Constitution does it say that the president is allowed to tell his DOJ to lie to states? Is that a constitutionally protected power?
Nope.
Okay, but it is true that Robert said that that's beyond criminal prosecution,
he has the power
right?
to talk to his DOJ.
About anything, he can say anything he wants.
Nope.
Well, then why is this protected?
Well, that's kind of what the court ruled.
This would be because talking to his DOJ about election things is what they said would be the core power. But the thing is,
It's
when
not.
you say
What
like
core
slit your
power
nine
is that?
throats,
Investigating and prosecuting crimes, Destiny. That's the core power.
I'm sorry, the elections for the states are not in the purview of the federal government, okay? Generally speaking, number one, there could be some exception to that, number one. And number two, he wasn't asking them to investigate. He was telling them to lie about an investigation.
That is the category of immunity that the court articulated. It was the police power. Investigating and prosecuting crimes and talking to your subordinates about the investigation and prosecution of potential crimes. Now, you and I might agree that
it wasn't even the Jeffrey Clark letter wasn't even I guess technically it said I think Jeffrey Clark letter. I think technically it said the DOJ was investigating and making headway on election fraud cases, but I don't think it wasn't even about. I don't even know if I consider
him being
saying it was about like investigating crimes.
Investigating and prosecuting crimes.
It's not about him being wrong. It's about him committing a crime. It's about him engaging in criminal behavior that is now beyond.
And this is why why the court made that rule. You understand that if you have immunity unless you committed a crime, there is no immunity.
Correct.
Right? That's
shouldn't
like
be
a
immunity.
total circle. Like, it just,
No, it's not a circle.
the president can illegally president.
The president shouldn't have immunity from committing crimes. Presidents have never thought that. Nobody has ever thought that. Why did Nixon accept Ford's pardon? Why did Ford even pardon Nixon? Like, why would he do it?
That's a great question. I actually think Ford pardoned Nixon to avoid a situation exactly like this, where we were forced to confront the question that is better off without an answer. I think we all were better off in a world where we weren't getting into this kind of tit-for-tat reprisals. And
kids don't do that anymore. Gen Z is the lowest crime between generation. Yeah, I know Gen Z is like the lowest. It's just we've been on this downward trend. Like Gen Z has like the lowest like smoking rates, like alcohol rates, like crime rates. Yeah, like
in office, it is a president that is committing crimes.
Pretty goddamn bad.
It's because of the iPhone.com. We also have like probably have like the highest rates of depression, like the highest like rate of people not in romantic relationships and such.
The internment camps
Hold on. I can't hear. Ryan, you said something. I'm curious what you just said. I didn't hear it. Repeat that, please.
These crimes were pretty goddamn bad. I mean,
that's employment. I feel like I saw a graph that was like Gen Z smoking less, drinking less, and also like going out to dates less.
Why that pardon issued is because this sort of constitutional crisis is really rough on everybody.
Bill party we
raises serious constitutional questions, and I would posit that we were better off before the immunity decision. I think this is the kind of thing that we're better off doing in a soft way, but now we're in an era of tit-for-tat reprisals. And I think we're going to be in it for a while, and if we're going to be in an era of tit-for-tat reprisals, I mean, candidly, do you think if Trump wins, he's not going to find some way to prosecute some Democrat for something? If not Biden, then someone else? I think he would. The immunity decision probably will come in handy.
We do, I actually don't. I'm pretty sure the rates of marijuana use are down too, but we do vape more. Yeah.
If we're going to be in an era where people are going to really be testing the guardrails like this, then the guardrails have to be firm.
Here we go.
The era
tried alcohol, have had sex,
and we got to do things
have a driver's license.
But if we're going to have to articulate rules, we need rules.
You say tit for tat. What was the tit for this tat?
No, it's a potential. So let's say that the immunity ruling went.
Sorry, I got distracted. I missed what they said.
The decision probably will come in handy. If we're going to be in an era where people are going to really be testing the guardrails like this, then the guardrails have to be firm. I preferred the era where we didn't test these guardrails and we got to do things through soft power. But if we're going to have to articulate rules, we need rules.
You say tit for tat. What was the tit for this tat?
No, it's a potential. So let's say that the immunity ruling went your way, and then now he wins, and then he goes right after Biden and throws Biden in prison. Would you support that and just say, well, Trump found a criminal for to commit, he can throw them all in prison? You just support all of it?
No, because that's not how any part of the government works.
Well, no, I'm saying that if they come up with a reason, a law he broke, what was the one he impaired an
agency?
They
come up with a reason.
If somebody is able to present an indictment to a grand jury indicts, a prosecutor takes him to criminal court, and in front of a jury of his peers, he gets convicted of a crime, then sure. Which is exactly how our criminal system is supposed to work.
What's the great quote? I could get an indictment for a ham sandwich.
Democrats pick high emotional incidents against support for broader argument policy. I like Democrats see kids getting shot and are sad about it. Correct. Yes, they do try to play in people's emotions sometimes because it is in fact sad when kids get shot. Whether or not you believe in gun control, should be able to all agree on that. Like, I don't.
No, you said indictment. I was talking about indictment.
No one cares. We're not talking about indictments, though. We're talking about convictions.
Well, you were talking about indictments, so that's what.
No,
that's
Show me the
talking
man,
about
I'll show you the
each
trial.
one.
and I'll
Right,
give you the
yeah.
other quote, but
I definitely
Okay,
did, just to be candid. And I don't think he should have been charged, by the way. So
I have
thought he
a
wasn't.
okay. I have a couple super chats that are.
What did he
useful.
say Biden did?
So that's what.
No,
that's
Show
I'm
me the
talking
man, I'll
about
show you the
each
trial.
one.
and I'll give you the-
Oh, I didn't even realize Destiny is doing piece of tactic again. Common bad faith tactic.
Yeah,
that's what-
I
tactic.
definitely
Okay,
did.
fine.
Can't believe it.
Candid. And I don't think he should have been charged, by the way. So
I have
thought he
a
wasn't.
okay. I have a couple super chats that are useful to read a little bit, so I'll go through them real quick. And Peace goes knocking down my door. So if
bet,
everyone's
yeah.
okay with having him on,
Catching
I'm
shiny
okay with it.
Pokemon that died.
But, if you guys aren't okay with that, just let me know.
Sorry,
$20
that's
from
not-
Honkler to say, so sorry about what happened to your stream yesterday, Wick. Just want to show my support. Solidarity, brother. $10 from Aircraft Sparky. Destiny's pitching a fit over Garland not being confirmed as a result of Joe Biden's precedent set in 1992. Learn some history from other sources in Wikipedia. Okay. $20 from
What's that guy?
from
Sorry.
No Step on Snake to say, just to be clear, and this is a question that I actually am curious what Destiny would say. If Garland had gotten a hearing and been voted down, would everything be okay in that point? Or is Obama entitled to a pick, in your opinion? What's your thoughts?
He's entitled to at least have them heard. If they had been voted down, we'd be having a different type of conversation. I mean, if they're voting down every single one in bad faith, I don't think that's good. But he's entitled to have it heard.
The reason they didn't have the hearings because they would have voted yes.
Okay. And then $20 from Pondering Politics. Justices are appointed by partisan actors and confirmed by partisan actors. Why or how would a greater number of justices appointed by this exact same process destroy court legitimacy? Isn't court legitimacy already under fire from ethics scandals and brutally low polling? The Constitution doesn't give a number of justices. Did Washington destroy court legitimacy by appointing more than the Chief Justice? Did Adams and Jefferson, two founding fathers, when they changed the court size? How did McConnell not destroy court legitimacy when he withheld Garland and crammed through Amy Coney Barrett? Wick, this is a fat wad, so I want answers. It was $20, dude. Calm down. Okay, but that is a question, right? Why is
Gorsuch,
now?
right?
Yeah, Gorsuch was well, no, but Amy Coney Barrett was after
Sure,
Jay.
sure.
But no, but also Kavanaugh was one they were saying like it was right before the election, so they were trying to say like,
Yeah.
I thought we're about to have an election, shouldn't you let people vote? And then suddenly,
Well, let
they
me ask
flipped.
this. Maybe
that-
I'm a little confused constitutionally here, but I was under the impression that it said the Constitution empowered the Senate to advise and consent, but it doesn't require them.
I don't. It's the City Skylines. Yeah, it is City
So
Skylines.
if
I
they're
don't know
already saying
why
we're not
you're
gonna
assuming
approve this
such
person,
bad faith
You know,
localists.
why
but
would
okay.
they even put this person in there? I don't understand why. Like, it doesn't seem to
I
me
don't
like they
even know
broke any
judges, but
rules.
one
Seems
new
like
judge for
they worked
president
as
term, no term
constitutionally
limits.
intended,
Best way
and we're
to
just
do it.
throwing little our toys
I
on
don't know
the
if I have an
ground.
opinion what the best way to do it is, but that's why we're watching
Fine,
this.
because we got outmaneuvered. That's what this is. That's what it is. It's a dim potential.
You think
Like,
the
I-
intention of the Constitution was for them to just say that when they wrote that, said the advice and consent of Senate, the thought was
What would you do if multiple judges died, though? Would we just, I guess, have vacancies on the Supreme Court, or do we just live with
and by that
I guess the big concern there would also be if we had an even number, there could be
I mean,
ties.
don't even hold an election to hold up anyone until you get your guy. Like that wasn't the idea.
Yeah,
Was
it
you
doesn't
would
require-
hold a hearing.
There's nothing necessarily like similar to court packing. There's not it's not necessarily prevented.
Your
but,
city
like,
looked like it was designed by a political commentator who watches Destiny. The city is awesome and perfect. And welcome to this stream, Maida. Welcome back. And by the way, welcome back again, you and me. I don't know if I said it before.
Yes.
The 1992 point though is true. I just looked it up, and I actually wasn't aware of this. But Biden did.
If there's less,
argue
then,
for delaying
there's less,
a
there's less.
nominee until after the election in 1992.
Wasn't like a
Design
federal
a
judge.
agrarian city is disgusting. I don't even think that's an option if we're city skylines. If it's a tie, you keep going over it. Wait, I feel like that can't be the best solution. The city is awesome. Fuck you guys. But ignore the abandoned buildings.
Yeah. So I mean,
But that's
Dude.
not what they were doing.
I don't know why people don't. This is fucking prime residential real estate over here, and people won't move in. Okay, there's so many hospitals,
so
Wait,
they
wait,
even
police,
said-
and
what does that prove?
parks.
the current president argued for doing this prior. The
Did it
thing
not?
the thing that you think is so terrible that I agree with you is bad, but like that you think Republicans, man, they do this, they don't play by the rules. Republicans are awful. I mean, how many times have you said that just this discussion alone? And then like Joe Biden was saying, yeah, we should do this thing that you think is terrible back in 1992, and now he's the president. That's relevant.
How many people were arguing for it?
Biden said it in 1992 and then didn't do it. So clearly, the Democrats and Republicans are on the same playing field. Biden, SCOTUS.
So it looks like it didn't happen. But he, the current president, the current Democrat president, was advocating for it. This thing that
They
you
even
think is
refer to
terrible.
it. They even
That's
refer
right.
to it as the Biden rule.
But also, again, that wasn't even what they were doing. Remember, if Hillary had won, they said they were going to confirm Garland immediately. They weren't going to let Hillary have a pick either.
Said city,
like they said, like, as soon as, like, to make sure
Israel,
because
yeah.
Garland wasn't as liberal as they might worry about. So they weren't like, I know they said that. They were spewing bullshit. Like, that was just something they came up with. They weren't going to confirm. They go, can we come up with something that people will swallow? And that's what they got. And so, but no, that wasn't like, because it never happened. It wasn't. And so the idea that goes, oh no, we hold some principle standpoint. Did they stand with Biden on that? No. Then why are they acting like it's a principle? They didn't care about it then.
We can all say, like, look, whenever the Senate or the president takes an action that makes the court seem like more of a political body than a legal body.
Didn't Trump get a pick in his last year in office though? Trump SCOTUS pick. What's up, Anti-Rego? Welcome to the stream. Do you think the U.S. will stop helping Ukraine if Trump becomes president? I really don't know. I would think it's more likely that happens if Trump becomes president, but I don't know. I don't know if he has the political capital to do it, and then I don't think he's been like super ultra clear on what he wants for Ukraine. So I really don't know.
That is bad for the rule of law. So what McConnell did is bad for the rule of law. What packing the court would be bad for the rule of law. I think when you're doing it for me, I actually draw the line.
Yeah, he got Amy Coney Barrett in 2020. When was Amy Coney Barrett confirmed? October 27, 2020. Damn. Okay.
Really sensitive to this. When you have a nominee in front of you,
do you support Israel Palestine? Listen, this stream isn't about that, buddy. We can't go there. The stream isn't about that.
I think that's bad for the rule of law.
I want to keep the judiciary completely separate from the get alternatively used to most senior member of the tiebreak. Okay, but yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Are smart lawyers who are going to do legal reasoning, and they're going to interpret cases in front of them.
Trump will let Russia have the Donbass in the war. He kind of said that. Yeah, but he's also said like he'll give them a shit ton of aid. I think he said he'll give them. I think it might have been in the context of saying if Putin doesn't give peace for the Donbass, then he'll give Russia everything.
We get pulled away.
Ukraine that. Everything.
That's all bad for the rule of law. So
question for you, Ryan. Question for you, Ryan, on that.
Russia only has the Donbass by the time of the election.
I'll pull him in. If you have an objection, you don't have to raise it publicly. Just DM me, and that's fair if you feel pressure. But if no objection,
I just can I do a quick plug? Pisco and I did like an hour and a half solid on the immunity decision, where he just yelled at me. It was a lot of fun. So I don't know where he archives his content, but if you're interested, go watch it.
Fair enough. But for you, Ryan, the idea that the courts are too politicized now, right? How, in your opinion, do we get away from that? Like, isn't that just the nature of the beast when it comes to people being appointed by political actors, that you are always going to have political appointees?
It is to a certain extent, but I think we have to. I have a streak of West Wing idealism in me. We have to start treating the justices like justices rather than political creatures. If you talk about them as political creatures, and the court is guilty of this too. It's more part
but they behave like political creatures.
Biden could have ended a war in Ukraine. It's sort of his biggest failure. I mean, how could he have ended it?
As much as Destiny disagrees with this,
look at the 2000 case without.
I don't think he could have ended it without giving up Ukrainian sovereignty, basically. Oh shit, they need water.
I'll use that as an example, right? Do you think that those weren't just entirely on political lines? All the Republicans just happened to interpret the Constitution in a way
by nuking Russia in the world, true base.
Right? But all the liberal justices happened to interpret the Constitution in a way that would
could have put this idea in Ukraine's head that they could get back Crimea.
No, I feel like does play into it, but the important.
Did Biden put that idea in their head? I feel like they've probably always been relatively set on getting all or most of their territory back. I don't know.
The thing is that we
why would they want Crimea back? Because it's their territory.
And this is not going to be perfect. It's like this is kind of a weird analogy, but often one of the mistakes people make when they talk about original.
But I think it was easier. I think they thought because the first counteroffensive they did, which didn't succeed, obviously. I think they thought it would have been easier to get Crimea back than it would have been to take back even a parts of the other parts of the Donbass. Right?
As they say, oh well, in this case, you didn't apply originalism. It's like no, we try to find the original purpose when possible. We try to limit political influence to the extent possible. This is the art of what the best we can do. The best we can do isn't going to be perfect, but
because I think they oh no, not this part. Let's see, what's it in 2023? Whatever one was like in the South. See, they wanted to like take back these parts like in the South over here. I don't think they were going.
We need.
What the fuck did you do to river law? Listen, it's fine.
Because if you don't believe that, then to a certain extent, the court's is already non-legitimate.
And also, remember, like most the vast majority of cases are 9-0. We don't like these ones where they go, they pop up
has everyone meant to eat.
let him
We just buy our food.
piss. But yeah,
Yup.
no,
buddy.
go.
We don't. Why the fuck? Oh, Pisco's here. Why the fuck do we need why do we need farms when we have our nice industrial sector and we can produce everything? Buy from where? Other places, my dude. Obviously, buy from China.
Hope every-
Oh no, finish your thought. Finish your thought before you jump
Sorry,
in.
but
I didn't mean to interrupt
yeah,
you.
no,
Go
well,
ahead.
that was basically it. That the majority of cases are 9-0. We don't have like if we were having like if it was 6-3 every single case, I think there would be to go, holy shit, like how is it that there wasn't a single case that anyone can agree on? That creates a problem. But when it goes, we have, I think, are we at record highs for like 9-0 decisions? Like the idea of saying,
Oh, yep, and no, I've seen this. Yep, we're not engaging with this. Nope, we can't engage with it today.
like,
Maybe tomorrow.
because that's the one that gets the news. Most
I'm
people
gonna
don't care
reverse
about those
more.
cases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Well, Pisco has successfully
Yeah.
weaseled his way in. What are your thoughts here?
Thank you so much. First of all, Wake, many thanks for responding to my direct message. Thanks to everyone for being on this very informative panel. I think this
My
is an
direct
incredibly important
message.
issue. And so I'm thankful you guys are talking about it. And again, much love to all the panelists, including but especially the lawyers and
We're
Gibbs
outside
and
of
Destiny as well.
production base.
I would like to start
at
SEAL Team
base
6
moment.
because that was a
I
little
wish I
bit
could
of.
find the site, but there was a website that was
Are you
tracking-
talking while
you're-
I'm talking?
What's going on? Why isn't this guy finishing?
Okay,
Are
come
you-
on.
Ryan,
Oh my god, I bet he has him.
I want to hear the SEAL Team 6 arguments. What is this?
Blocked. Does he?
Ryan, am I blocked? Can you hear me?
Oh no.
You can't hear
Totally
Pisco, can
does.
you?
Newsom kills
I asked if you
reparations
were okay
bill
with
with
this,
last minute
and
amendments.
No one DM'd me. No one at all.
I didn't block
Original
him.
bills go to
Ryan,
state and
can you nod
Z
if you hear
and
me?
and to address
Can't hear you.
slavery and
Can you
hear anybody?
Pisco? Ryan's not talking. Can you not hear me? Oh, he can't hear any of us.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you guys.
Oh,
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Pisco?
No, I can't hear Pisco.
You're gonna
You
need
have
to
muted?
unlock
Character TV maker.
Did you block me?
I'm not a
Here, right
Discord.
click-
user, no one
right
blocked.
click. So find Pisco on the channel and right click him. Do you have him muted or something?
No.
Or you can right click him in the Discord call, like his picture.
Yeah, I am
Unmuted.
not a Discord user. I've not blocked anyone or
Wait,
muted
if you
anyone.
right click Pisco, what does it say under apps, invite to server, remove friend? Underneath remove friend, what does it say?
It says add friend block.
And
It
then
says
if you
add
go,
friend, and then it says block. Oh, and then what is his user volume set to? Is it at
Yes.
100% or is it at 0?
what's he at? Is he?
It's 100%.
And then the mute
Typical
part. There's
boomer
nothing to
moment.
We can all hear you. He-
Okay,
oh,
maybe
for
this
some
was a
reason.
bad idea just from the tech perspective. God damn.
Wait, underneath the
How-
user volume thing, is the mute checkbox? Is that checked to the
No,
right?
It mute's not checked. Mute soundboard's not checked.
Maybe just have him
Not
leave and come
friends,
back.
not
Yeah,
friends,
Mine
you
did
have-
this yesterday. Just have him leave and come back. Mine
Wait
did
a
that
second, minute. So
yesterday.
state militias
both
can't.
of you do that?
I
Try
don't
leaving
care
and
about the
coming
gun
back?
control
Yeah,
stuff
Yeah,
right
just
now.
jump backstage and I'll pull you back on.
Unless he blocked me. I don't know.
Well, because I wouldn't let. I don't. You'd still be able to hear. Okay, I don't know.
This
They're
is
blocking.
beautiful. I
Hey,
love
Ryan,
it.
can you hear me now?
This is why I don't like. Oh my god.
Didn't Kim Jong Un
Okay.
lose weight? I
While
thought he
we
lost weight.
fuck with tech, $20 from DJ to say presidents are entitled to immunity from.
Okay, I just want to hear
Your
these.
basis for, and I suppose the court's.
Okay,
That's
here
all
we
we
go.
need.
It
All
was
right.
the Discord.
I would like to start on SEAL Team 6 because I was a little confused, Ryan. When we finished our
SEAL Team
conversation
6, let's
earlier,
go,
it
let's
seemed that you
go.
had granted that the police power, which is your basis for, and I suppose the court's basis for structuring out or charting the core executive function of the president, includes the authority in certain circumstances to use lethal force. I thought you agreed to that, and you agreed that killing of a normal citizen, we'll get to the prominent citizen, would be covered by absolute immunity, provided the president write some kind of pro forma memo that said all these kinds of conditions were met out. I thought you had granted that would be absolutely immune. So I'm confused now you're not granting Stevens' invocation of that.
Yeah, a ground rule though. I'm not here to relitigate
The
you guys.
math-based New Keynesian.
Sure. We can start fresh. Why is it that you're not
We
granting
maybe
Stevens?
go back
Yeah.
out
Why would he
to
hate it?
First principles, and then
Okay, sure. The police power of the president, to the extent that it includes, ordering of investigations under certain circumstances and ordering of arrests under certain circumstances, would also include ordering lethal force under certain circumstances. Would you agree with that?
Let's back out even further.
Okay.
The presidential police power is primarily prosecuting and investigating crimes. It does not include assassination orders.
Does it
Because that's
include
not a
ordering?
thing
Does it
police
include ordering the use of lethal force under certain
gonna say-
circumstances? Yes or no?
Ordering.
You can absolutely say under certain circumstances, it's okay to use lethal force.
We're going to get really in the weeds on a technical back and forth that we have if we go down this road.
No,
which maybe-
we won't.
That's
It's an easy
why.
question. You can say-
That's why all the Republicans were so upset when it came out that at Mar-a-Lago, technically the FBI was authorized to use lethal force. They said that was Biden trying to assassinate Trump.
No, or you can say yes, and you can explain.
The answer to that question is there is no such thing. The police power does not include an unconditional kill order.
I understand.
The police power can include the use of lethal force in certain situations, which is where we're going to go, the road that we want to go down
Okay,
here.
perfect.
But it does not include is saying you kill this person, flat stop. That's not something the police does.
Would the police power of the president include ordering the use of lethal force to stop an imminent deadly threat against United States citizens?
We're gonna go through this whole line again.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just ask.
Why can't we go down this line?
Because we have 6 people on this panel, and I want to make sure that it's a conversation we can all have and not just 2 people back and forth. Pisco, let me ask you just real quick. Court packing. Destiny says he's in favor of it if they don't pass.
Absolutely, 100% in favor of court packing. It is the most clear and obvious policy position that you can be in favor of. These people have this idle talk about how somehow a statute packing the court is better, more worse than the unilateral withholding of the constitutional prerogative of the Senate to hear a president's nomination. You know, there's a concept in the law known as waiver. And that waiver ought to be, Obama should have, in my opinion, just installed Merrick Garland after the Senate refused to do their constitutional duty.
Can you do that?
And, give advice and consent and give an up or down vote. Here's the problem, right? So at the very minimum, go ahead.
Before we go into Peace's opinion on this, okay? Because I feel like Ryan got off on a technicality. Okay, just a quick thing. So Pisco wanted to challenge you on ordering the president.
I need to do more reading into I guess whether or not constitutionally the Senate should actually have to hear court appointments because I don't have a strong opinion on it right now. I don't know.
President using the policing powers to assassinate an American citizen, and I think Ryan is correct.
I hate how much I miss Obama. You heard that song before? I know that you miss Obama. That guy was so right.
Just be very simply reframed as a military order matter. The president, do we all agree, or Ryan, do you agree that the president has the unilateral ability and authority to assassinate political, or not political enemies, but enemies to the United States?
So this is going to get into a few very technical.
The song's a little this. I don't know how much of this has aged well, considering the world went rogue.
We know it's been pretty fun for me, smoking presidential tree on the White House balcony and on the porch. Crackers always be hating on the color of my skin. I'm in the rose garden outside where weed grows. I put a man on Mars, steal a couple cars, legalize backhanding girls so they know you're in charge.
Yeah, I don't know if it is. Dude, I used to, when I was fucking 8 years old, this shit went hard when this first came out.
Smoked a blunt with Dre, told Korean boy he's gay. I know that you'll miss Obama. Don't lie, you gon' miss the drama. We had fried chicken every night for supper with a side of beans.
Yeah, okay.
Areas pretty quickly. If you're saying SEAL Team 6 does it versus the FBI does it, you're talking about different presidential powers, which would have different perimeters and different articulations of immunity. So
when Donald Trump assassinated, when Donald Trump assassinated Soleimani, did he have to ask Congress for authority on that?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
so just assume no.
So I imagine.
I'm pretty sure he didn't, but I'm pretty sure Congress basically delegated that ability to him. Didn't the oh wait, not the 1973 one. What was the one after 9/11? This one, authorization of the military force. I think this technically delegates.
So what if he wanted to assassinate? So here's a question: do you think that he should be criminally immune then from that assassination?
Do you think he should assassinate? Do you think that the president should be prosecuted for that?
Yes.
Yeah, the authorization given to the president the authority to use all necessary and appropriate force against those whom he deemed planned, authorized, or committed or aided the September 11th attacks. I think technically he didn't have to ask Congress for permission, but Congress had already delegated him that authority, I think.
This is a difficult question, and Pisco and I got into this on the last conversation. The reason why this is hard is that Congress
wrap the House and invest the power in the executive.
So it's very possible that we're not in core immunity; we're in presumptive immunity. So the question then, there's a question about whether it's core or presumptive.
Wait, can I ask a quick? Hold on. Can I ask a quick question? Hold on. You say they've got overlapping powers. My understanding is Congress can't issue direct orders to the military. No. Isn't the only
they can regulate the military.
So, but they can't issue
Congress can regulate the DOJ as well.
Yeah, but in terms of ordering, having the final say, the president is the commander in chief, right?
100%.
The Congress has more power over military and military operations than internal
also
DOJ
make the president
Congress could get rid of the DOJ if it wanted to, correct?
Yes, they of course could get rid of the DOJ, but we're talking about their capacity to regulate internal procedures like
Congress could eliminate all the jurisdiction of the DOJ. Congress could say DOJ.
Would it be easier just have him give you guys a core power? Just say, Ryan, what is a core power of the president, and then go give your example.
No core power with respect to military. That's what he's about to say. Yes or no?
I don't know whether there's a core power.
You don't know whether there's that the chief executive, the commander-in-chief. You're unsure about whether there's any core powers attached to the commander-in-chief role. That is insane.
Do you think yelling makes you more persuasive?
It's just ridiculous where we're at. You're trying to find any way to distinguish Roberts' opinion. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. No, stop. Just stay on topic.
Wait.
There's a law called the Wartime Powers Act. We don't know whether it's constitutional or not because it's never been tested.
There are laws about the DOJ. There are laws that regulate the Department of Justice.
It regulates the extent to which the president can use the military for war. So if that's constitutional, then there's a lot of coextensive power. If that's unconstitutional, it's more likely to be core. But we don't know the answer.
Anything you say about the military is going to be true about the DOJ. Congress has absolutely a coextensive supervisory role over what the DOJ does or what it doesn't do. It absolutely controls the purse strings in so much as it controls the purse strings of the military. So anything you say about the nature of congressional control, about the nature of congressional control over the military is going to be true, if not more so, the Department of Justice.
Okay, no, I want to get back to a question to something that Destiny brought up because I think it's very important, and I'm just curious.
What's up, Turbo?
Do you think that that Congress or the criminal justice system should have the power to prosecute a president for the drone striking of how do you say his name, Soleimani?
The drone! Oh my God, the drone! Did you see that Obama killed an American citizzen?
No,
let's go.
Let's
run through it.
Hang on a second. Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, but the problem is now I see like what's happened. This always happens with every conservative is that they start saying insane shit that because like actually I want to answer Pisco's question now. The DOJ was created by Congress, so why wouldn't the coextensive powers or operation of the DOJ, which is authorized by Congress and the officer that is appointed there,
by Congress,
all of it. So tell me how could that be constitutionally?
Someone redeem
it seems like you walked yourself into the exact trap
now.
that somebody tried to lay for you, where they're saying like, oh well, if the president can talk to his officers in the DOJ is literally made by Congress. How is that a core and exclusive power?
Stephen, can Congress declare war on another country? Yes.
Yes.
Can Congress tell the president who to investigate for crimes? No.
No, but hang on a second. Can Congress tell the president who to drone strike?
Yeah, or even more precisely, hold on. You said Congress can declare war on a country. Can Congress deploy the military to another country? Okay, wait. So then we've identified a core and exclusive conclusive, right?
Well, no. The question then is, and this is going to be what would happen, and Pisco hates it when I start doing this because it's judicial realism, but when it goes back to the court, the question is going to be how do they define the role and how do they police the boundaries of the role? And this is going to be a pretty technical analysis, which we don't have briefing on and we don't have a decision on. We can speculate, but that's what the court would do is they ask,
Technically, also, this did tell the president who to drone strike. It said that he could only do it with people who are responsible for the 9/11 attacks, right? Against whom he determined planned, authorized, committed, or aided the September 11th attacks, or who harbored said person or groups.
In good faith, can we probably imagine a world where the Congress is the one that has to declare war and approve, the use of the military for war, but the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the military, who has offices underneath him for secretary.
Presidency determined, planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorists that occurred on September. Yeah, technically, I know this is seemingly limiting who he can drone strike.
The army that of all these, right? That he's probably the one that's supposed to conduct the war. That's probably true, right?
And I think probably what would happen if in a situation where the president used the military to assassinate a domestic political rival, probably, and I don't want to get into the treason thing because that's a whole other topic, so I'll wrap that, Pisco, but probably the court would say that isn't the type of thing that we want presidents doing. We think this is
This is all realism. This is all realism.
I understand. Let's say I agree with all that. Okay, let's say I agree with all of that. Okay, that's fine.
And then they say
we shouldn't.
I agree on all that. Okay, Soleimani, you agree that the president had the ability to do that beyond criminal review, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's say that you wait to assassinate Soleimani until he's hanging out with Obama. Why would this suddenly be allowed to be reviewable by a court? Wouldn't it be the exact same thing?
Well, so I'm not sure I understand how it goes. Soleimani's hanging out with Obama, and then they drone
former
strike.
President Obama and the president in charge, not really going after Soleimani, but with the intention to kill Obama, has this pretext to have a drone strike to kill Soleimani, but that's the sort of stated rationale, and Obama dies as a result, even though the true intention was to kill Obama.
Wait, also, what if he just argued that Obama was he determined that Obama was responsible for the 9/11 attacks? That wouldn't even be reviewable. If Turbo has been here. I'm not a lawyer, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but technically, the way the opinion is written, it says that suppose that Obama, the way the opinion is written, it says it doesn't matter if the action is actually legal or not. It just has to be within the conclusive and preclusive authority. I don't even think I might be able to help. I don't even think it matters. If the law says the 2001 fucking the 2001 authorization of military force says that the president may do whatever fucking drone strike whoever he determines is responsible for the 9/11 attacks. That's clearly within his conclusive and preclusive authority, right? So let's say he drone strikes Obama. Does he need a good reason to do that, or can he just say? Because I don't think the court could. I don't think it would matter if he had a good reason, because I don't think the court could review it at all. It'd be unreviewable, right? He could just say, well, Barack Obama's middle name is Hussein, and therefore I think he committed the 9/11 attacks. I can just drone strike him. I don't know if the court would be able to review that. Right? Would they be able to review that? I don't know if they'd even be able to review it.
That's the hypothetical.
That's the hypothetical now? Okay. I think that this is probably what's going to end up happening is that
the same way, like they can't review like Jeffrey Clark's letter. Like it doesn't matter that the letter that Jeffrey Clark was going to send out was filled with lies and like was a fraudulent letter, because they can't review it at all. So I don't even know. Yeah, it would be that, because that would be analogous, right? Because yeah, they can't review it at all.
Again, I don't want to go down this road because it's a long one, but there's another treason argument that I can make at the end of this if we're interested. I think what the court's probably going to say is that
he can't raise money.
Gamer boy, you're a little bit. This is the kind of conduct that we're trying to
wait. You have to explain why. You say this is outer perimeter conduct. You just granted that the killing of Soleimani without Obama there would be core and immune.
I think it would be immune. I don't think it would be core.
Why would it not be core?
Because he can't raise money.
Gamer boy, you're a little bitch.
Thank you for the 5 bits again. There are 10 bits now. Why is Kanye West number one bit donator of all time by a wide margin?
Who else could order that strike besides the executive?
I think that Congress could pass a law that says the president is not allowed to do drone strikes of that nature.
No, that's not what was asking you.
No, I'm asking who else could order. You keep trying to say that like a limitation on a thing is the same as directing a thing. It's not, right?
No,
the board can make restrictions on CEO, but the board is not the CEO. What?
Core immunity is when the president has core and exclusive power.
Yes, that's what Stephen's asking you.
Congress could pass a law that says the president's not allowed to do drone strikes. I don't think it's a core and exclusive power.
Could Congress pass a law that says you can't send fake electors? Wait. So could Congress pass a law that says that the president is not allowed to direct his DOJ about fake electors and to send fake letters in his communication with DOJ? Could they do that?
No.
Why not?
Probably not. Because I think prosecuting and investigating crimes is core and exclusive.
Why is that more core and exclusive than the president's role in commander in chief in conducting wars?
Do we pass a law?
Yeah, okay, I don't even know if he's saying. In my mind, if you're saying, well, they can't like legislate the DOJ's ability to send fake letters, and I don't know why they would be able to legislate if you have a good enough reason to drone strike someone. I don't see why at that point, if they can't do anything about the DOJ sending fake letters, I don't know why they would be able to do anything about the DOJ, or sorry, not the DOJ, SEAL Team 6 drone striking a person that Donald Trump suspects is responsible for the 9/11 attacks, whether or not he has a good reason to suspect them or not. Trump would destroy anyone who goes against him, like Pence. True, accurate, true.
Whoa. Oh my God.
I guess what?
The use of chemical weapons. It's a hypo. I don't know.
Well, we signed into an international agreement.
The question is yes, it is.
The use of a chemical weapon and the use of a drone is tightly analogous. If the Congress can outlaw one weapon, they can clearly outlaw the use of another weapon. Dude, calm the F down.
No, because people who defend this ruling, I'm sorry to say, sicken me. It sickens me. It really does. This ruling is absolutely lawless, has no basis in any original foundation.
But I do want to hold on. I do want to bring it. Hold on. Okay, I packed the panel, and that was obviously a decision of all time. Okay, let's get us back a little bit to the subject of court packing, because you made a statement about court packing, and I didn't get to hear any responses.
Wait, can we do this for like 5 more minutes? Because every time we get really close to solving this, the conservatives always dance like crazy.
Are you close to solving this? Do you think we're close?
We're making progress.
It's a really tight, easy question. Right? We all agree that the president is the only one that could order the military assassination.
Right?
What?
No, I'm not conservative, right?
Oh, you vote? Do you support Trump in the upcoming election?
No.
Who cares? People who support this immunity
Yeah,
doesn't
so
matter.
just, you keep saying that all these concerns, but I'm not concerned.
Listen, I got a question, and it relates to both here. So,
wait, if the president is the only one that can do this, okay, and we agree that Congress probably can't order the specific use of the military, then how could you call into question any of the use of the military by the president, by the courts? How could it ever be a criminal investigation?
Destiny is a debate,
The question
Chad.
isn't whether Congress can give the order. The question is whether Congress has regulatory power in the area that's coextensive with the president or not. We don't have regulatory power over the pardon. That's why it's the easiest example.
Okay, wait,
in
they have
areas of
regulatory power.
DOJ.
They have regulatory power with the DOJ.
It's 1 to
They
1.
have regulatory. They do not have regulatory power about who the DOJ is prosecuting.
Wait. Where does that come from? When Congress creates an office, isn't Congress the one who's in charge of figuring out like how the officers are appointed, or who needs the advice and consent of who, or what the president has to, like? Congress could theoretically abolish the entire DOJ.
Also, yeah, that's true. Congress always has. I mean, at the end of the day, they have the power to purge too. They could just defund the DOJ if they really wanted to as well. Like, I like Wickens as a Democrat, but he's not very smart in my opinion. I mean, I've really only seen him host panels. I haven't seen him done too much debating himself. But I don't know. Like, he seems chill. I talked to him once. I called in to a show once. He seemed cool.
Congress creates the law, and the president takes care to enforce the law.
We're not talking about the whole office here created by Congress.
And then I rated him afterwards with 2 viewers.
Congress could eliminate the DOJ. They could eliminate the FBI, but they create the office, and within the office, the president has discretion.
So Congress could eliminate, if it wanted to, the entire prosecutorial power of the president. Agree with that?
I was a Black Wizard panelist guest, but I turned it down. Lame.
It's a practical matter.
By the way, there's more people here now too. I might be on Hippy Dippy soon. That'd be interesting. Not the actual. I might be on a Hippy Dippy recruitment thing, not the actual show. If I do well in the recruitment, then there's a chance I'll be on the actual thing. But yeah, I'm in that. I joined the recruitment server, and the person in charge of recruitment, Danabo, was like, "Oh, hey, I lurk in your chat sometimes." So hopefully that's a good omen. Hopefully.
Probably, yeah.
Yes. Could Congress eliminate? Could Congress eliminate the military power of the commander in chief?
Technically, I mean, in the sense, if you just completely defund the military, so there is no military.
You were on
So it's 1-to-1 no matter what, right? So
Pisco
how can you say,
awesome,
at
dude.
best, right? Like, I would even argue that the role as head of military, that's explicitly laid out, right? Congress
What
could get
were
rid
you
of
arguing?
all federal criminal law. It says, hey, we're not in the business of federal criminal law anymore. I'm not so sure that Congress could eviscerate constitutionally the president's authority to conduct military
Why did they relate? I thought you had to be a fucking streamer to compete. Why do you even what?
affairs, or to if
I don't
there
know
were
how
no
Hippy Dippy
calling
works,
forth
but-
act or militia act, that the president couldn't using
Can you
his
call it Tim Peter
constitutional office,
Ask?
just call forth militias.
Yeah. I should do that, man. I don't know if that'd be. I'm not trying to burn any bridges. I don't have to. Okay.
So again, I am not so certain.
I used to work for
that
Dylan Burns. Oh man.
the
Okay, that
congressional
makes sense.
role over the military functions of the president is more than the DOJ. If anything, it would be the other way around. At the best for you guys, it's 1-to-1. And so how can you distinguish it?
I'm sure Destiny looked this up, but the Wartime Powers Act or resolution ostensibly requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to military action and forbids armed forces from remaining for more than 60 days. I don't know whether that's constitutional, and there is a lot of debate over this, and to my knowledge, it's never been tested. But that is an example of Congress regulating expressly the president's commander-in-chief authority. So if that is constitutional, it's pretty clear that this is a coextensive power. Now, it might not be. We don't know the answer, but I don't think it's frivolous to say that this is a coextensive power. Certainly, members of Congress have historically thought it was.
Then how could we ever think that the DOJ?
Yeah, I don't know. They're running in circles, but if he's making that argument, I don't understand how the same thing would not apply to the DOJ when Congress literally created the DOJ and has their ability to regulate it, has the ability to remove its funding. I don't.
DOJ thing is an exclusive and non-coextensive.
Yeah, I don't. I don't understand enough about law to have a strong position on this, I guess, but it would make sense to me that if he's saying if the commander in chief is a shared authority or whatever, then the DOJ would have to be. Also, my city is so fucking horrible, man. It's awesome.
They can, if you're saying they can literally limit the war powers of the commander in chief of our military, but you're saying the DOJ and how he appoints officers and discusses things with them, that's untouchable when they could abolish that entire department?
Yeah, I think there's a very big difference between passing a law that says X is criminal and creating an agency to investigate crimes of that nature and saying, hey, Mr. President, you must investigate Stephen Bunnell for crimes.
No one is in the military. That is not you rejected the military hypothetical that Stephen gave on ordering the military to do something, and now you're trying to bring in that Congress order.
Why aren't you out canvassing in North Carolina? I probably should be, but I can't. I can't drive, so there's no way. There's no good way for me to do it.
The prosecution of a particular person when you rejected that very same framework for the military context. So stop with that.
I do donate half my money to Kamala Harris though. So
Congress can declare war without the president's consent.
Okay. I'm throwing a flag on the play because you're just relitigating the same conversation you had, right? And we're not here for that.
It was a fun conversation.
I am sure it
Where
was.
do you keep your thoughts?
Beautiful.
I can upload it somewhere.
I understand.
Why donate? Because Kamala Harris is awesome, and I need just vote. I am also going to vote. I'm not just donating.
Upload it. It was a fun conversation.
No, it was painful. I mean, it was painful
It's
because
painful
we
right
can
Lactoid.
absolutely.
I'm passing the ball to Lactoid. Lactoid. Pisco said, right, about court packing that it was.
Keep the money. They don't need it. Yes, they do.
You can
Absolutely.
finish it. Okay, finish it.
Yeah,
I will help them
you
at all costs.
So what people really care, people don't really care, though they should, about the number of justices.
I don't
They should
think
care about the
Carol
number
likes
because the workloads, it's way too many cases, and we don't have enough justices just for administrative purposes. But people don't really care about the number of justices. What they care about is a partisan balance of the court. That's what people care about, whether it's 2-1 or 5-4 or 6-3 or whatever the number is. What they care about is partisan balance. And what we're talking about here are violations of norms that affect because of illegitimate reasons.
I slam my knee really hard, but also I don't even know if I care about I don't care about just the partisan balance. I care about how fucking insane the justices are. And I think Thomas is pretty clearly insane. Barrett is semi-reasonable, but yeah, right now it's not I don't think it's a good. I don't think we have good people up there.
Reasons, whatever you want to call those, that affect the partisan balance of the court. And so one has to wonder, why is it better
Probably rich white
for
people.
us to have
I
a
am a
norm-shattering situation with Merrick Garland, which only requires not even the consent of both branches and presentment to the president, which a statute would require? Why is that better than just passing the statute expanding the number of seats on the court? If all of it's doing is enforcing or using the powers already given to the branches of government, then it's exactly 1-1. Yes, the Senate has the power to not have a vote on a particular candidate, and the Congress has the ability to expand the number of seats on the judicial court, on the Supreme Court. It's 1-1. They both have the power to do it. I would prefer a statute expanding the number of seats on the court, because at the very least you have bicameralism and presentment than the unilateral decision by Mitch McConnell in the norm-shattering way to affect the partisan balance of the court. Anyone who says that it's preferable actually to have that norm-shattering unilateral decision by one person as opposed to a bicameral presentment and signature by the president, I think has lost the plot and what people really care about.
Okay,
so if they expanded the court and you gave all conservatives, you'd be okay with that?
Hold on. Just before you go, I want to give it to Lactoid first.
Lied.
Then we're gonna let Zetsui. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name. And then we're gonna go to Gibbs, and then we're gonna keep on going. So Lactoid, you can respond to that. Then Zetsui, then Gibbs. Go ahead.
Yeah. So earlier, Pisco, you told Ryan that anybody who defends Trump immunity case sickens you.
Yeah.
But I think people who advocate
all
for
right,
court
let's
packing,
go.
that sickens me. Okay.
Yeah.
Court packing will obliterate our third branch of government. It will completely obliterate the Supreme Court. You're going to have a tit for tat back and forth for every single election. Every single president is going to put on 25, 30, 40, whatever sycophants that are going to do whatever they want. They're going to rule however they want, and the Constitution at that point is in the garbage. Now, when you're talking about the norm-shattering procedure, which I disagree with, by the way, but this norm-shattering procedure that Joe Biden advocated for doing back in 1992, no, I think that there is a substantive difference between doing this and throwing the whole Supreme Court out with court packing, just like it would be. There's a difference between that norm and the norm of just ignoring the Supreme Court. Right. I remember I was on a panel with you and I said that if the Supreme Court orders, this was about immigration in Texas, if the Supreme Court orders you to do something, not doing it is treason, arguably. Right. And Abbott needs to comply with the Supreme Court. I was very forceful in that, and I'm forceful about it now. And obeying the Supreme Court is an incredibly important norm, much more important than the thing that again Biden proposed in 1992 that Mitch McConnell did. Mitch McConnell.
Cowardly. Oh my God.
You're talking about Mitch McConnell being it's unilateral. I mean, he was the majority leader for a reason, right? I mean, he was an elected representative, and they had a majority of that house. So it's not like, oh, Mitch McConnell's just this fucking guy somewhere who just decided this.
I'm tracking everything you're saying. So let me respond. Okay. Number one, you agree that it is constitutional and legal for the Congress to expand the number of seats on the court? Yes or no?
Yes, I will, but I want to be very clear.
Yes.
I don't want to treat this like a fucking deposition. Okay, this yes or no bullshit. I mean, we're lawyers. We do it during depositions. This is a conversation, and you don't.
Well,
have to
I feel like this cuts the bullshit.
Okay?
I feel like this cuts the bullshit.
I know. Well, no.
Yeah, I feel like you're bullshit.
The point of a deposition. I did answer yes right away.
Yeah,
but
go for
just to be clear, right? The whole point of a deposition and what you do with this is to try to box somebody into a uncharitable.
That's what I'm doing.
I
am about to do that.
Me when I try to I don't know if I would. I don't know. I mean, maybe you could. No, I wouldn't. I mean, trying to box your opponent into a corner is absolutely an okay thing to do during a debate. At least if you think you're actually right on it and think you're able to do it, absolutely, that's totally fair to do.
yes.
This is what we're taught to do.
It's called
school.
biting the bullets. So yes, you agree that okay? Then I'll just give you the natural extension
Grab
of
the
what you just said.
19th Amendment.
I'll say it.
Yes or no?
You just okay, dude. You just agreed that it would be legal and constitutional for Congress to pass a statute expanding the number of seats on the court. Actually, I have to ask you a question. I won't say yes or no. Wouldn't it be unconstitutional to ignore the Supreme Court's ruling?
Yes.
Okay, so isn't that a basis to distinguish ignoring the court and expanding the number of seats on the court?
Not in effect, because you can accomplish the same effect and completely undermine the purpose of that branch by packing the court. If you had Kamala Harris just ignore the Supreme Court when they're saying, "Hey, you can't do that," like they're trying to do with the student loan shit, by the way. But hey, you can't do that. Oh no, fuck.
What a bastard!
Hold on. But then.
Is that what they're trying to do with the student loan stuff? I feel like that's a really uncharitable interpretation of what they're trying to do. But also, want to know a funny thing about the immunity decision. I don't like if Biden said if he ordered the head of the Department of Education to literally shred all the records of who owed student debt. I don't think Biden could be criminally prosecuted for that. That would probably fall under the absolute immunity bucket. That would fall in his conclusive and preclusive authority. If he literally just said, "Hey, DOE, the head of the DOE, literally shred and delete all the records of who owes student debt," and they can't collect it anymore because they simply don't know who owes it. That he can't be prosecuted for that. That's under the conclusive and preclusive authority of his office.
Like, oh, well, man, the Supreme Court keeps telling me no, I can't do that. Well, I know what I'll do, right? I've got support in Congress to do this. I'm just going to flood them with 25, people off the street that are going to say yes.
Filibuster. So one thing that I care about, Lactoid, I don't know about you, is the Constitution. So when you say one of these proposals is constitutional and one's not, I think that's a pretty good basis to distinguish being okay with one and not the other. One violates the Constitution, one doesn't. I think that's a totally reasonable way to distinguish ignoring the court versus packing the court, which is absolutely within the constitutional purview of Congress and the president. Happened multiple times in history. If you want to point to the multiple times in history, I guess you're just pointing to Joe Biden's, what he said, and maybe one other time 100 years ago.
I can certainly point.
I'm going to interject here.
Wait, what was the 1992 thing again?
Joe Biden was arguing vigorously.
He wasn't arguing. Joe Biden made one statement as the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee saying that maybe we should consider doing something different about nominating Supreme Court picks during like heavy election season. It was a statement made. There was no serious thing pursued. And the equivalency that you're trying to draw here is fucking insane. Like, you stop going back to this because somebody in chat pointing out one thing to you and you're like, oh, I finally fucking got him now. And now conservatives can again take accountability for fucking nothing.
No.
Yeah, we looked this up earlier. We were on the New York Times article about this. I guess
I think this is a great
probably
thing.
Wouldn't be equivalent.
I found this is from New York Times, right? As a senator more than 2 decades ago.
Oh, same thing. As a senator more than 2 decades ago. Oh, crazy. We all looked up the same
Vice
exact
President
thing.
Joseph R. Biden Jr. argued that President George Bush should delay filling a Supreme Court vacancy should one arise until the presidential election was over, and that it was essential that the Senate refuse to confirm a nominee to the court until then. He was arguing for this. He was arguing that it was essential. He was
Joe Biden has said some stupid shit in his life. Joe Biden.
Oh no! Look at you trying to avoid responsibility.
I'm happy to say Joe Biden has said some really dumb shit in his life. He has said some really wacky stuff. You were offered a distinction. Wait, hang on a second, because he was. Oh my god, that's not what this conversation is about. I'm surprised like Wick didn't just whack you just then for not being the topic.
Whoa, Pedro, you're telling me what I should whack and not whack.
I'm joking. All right. So, Lactoid, you were just giving a point of distinction between not following the Supreme Court and packing the court with seats. That is, one would be constitutional and one would be unconstitutional. Isn't that a reasonable basis for me, a left-wing person, to distinguish those actions based on their underlying constitutionality? Isn't that reasonable?
When you can legally destroy the entire
yes
branch,
or no, is it reasonable?
First of all, I don't think it's reasonable when both lead to the same effect. Because the concern I have is the destruction of the Supreme Court.
I totally disagree that they lead to the same effect, at least to the same extent. Especially considering we've packed the Supreme Court before in history, and it did not seem to be like that catastrophic or anything. Yeah, I don't.
I care about following the Constitution.
I want to hear what Destiny was trying to say. Destiny, go ahead.
No, to pretend that like Joe Biden, who mentioned this one time where there wasn't even a vacancy, when he proposed the idea that in election seasons maybe there shouldn't be a nomination, to pretend that this is the same as what McConnell did is delusional. It's not even. And every time he can offshore, like when the Democrats try to violate the Constitution, like what they're trying to do with the student loan stuff, they're going to the Supreme Court for these things. What do you mean? When the Supreme Court says no, then they don't do it. Like that. Like you're just trying to tag these things on the Democrats whenever you politically can do so, which is ridiculous.
And presidents do that all the time, by the way. Like, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
But didn't we agree earlier that what McConnell did was like suboptimal for the rule of law? Like,
I think
I started off by saying this. We started this whole thing off. We all agreed. Yes, it'd be great to have an amendment that would prevent this from happening. But what I'm saying is that the argument being made from them is that
all of a sudden people care about the Constitution. People said it was obsolete. Who said it was obsolete? I don't know how many people are arguing the Constitution is now obsolete.
They would even push to do this when it's like, no, this is obviously a problem, and this is something that we should fix because we have the current Democrat president having advocated for this, right? Having pushed.
Let's agree with this.
Delay it.
Can we all agree then that nothing should change and it should carry on?
statement.
But the next time a Republican president nominates somebody, the Senate should refuse to hear it just one time until it's even.
Why?
Okay.
Wait, why not?
We're all okay with an amendment,
right? We should all be okay with that, right?
Yeah, they don't agree. They do the
Exactly.
same thing.
The fact that the Republicans
true
don't
base.
immediately say yes, of course, shows the partisan hackery. That's it. It's all about partisan politics.
No, let's talk about
partisan.
partisan. Hold on, let's
No,
talk
it's not about partisan hackery.
Absolutely.
Then why won't you grant it?
Hold
Blackfoot,
on.
wait, then why won't you grant it?
The reason why I won't grant is because on principle, I am against this being a maneuver. In the situation that I outlined to Destiny before, of let's say the Democrats do this, the Republicans 2 times over, I don't think this means that like the Republicans should get a freebie where they should be able to do this maneuver.
Yo, what's up?
Just like I don't think they should be able to pack the court. Just like I don't think that the
Oh,
Democrats
wait.
should be able to pack
Hello?
the court. I think we need an
Yeah,
amendment.
what's up?
What's up?
No, I mean, you go over the scalping debate?
No, not yet. We'll probably do that next.
Oh, that's fine. Then never mind. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You see the Tim Pool indictments? Or indictment, I guess.
The what? No, I haven't. The indictment?
Oh, crazy stuff. Okay, here. News. The U.S. Department of Justice alleges that Tenet Media, which has Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin on its roster, I don't know, on its payroll, basically, received
Secret
$10 million from the Russian government to publish content as part of a Russian influence operation. Tenet is owned and controlled by Lauren Chen, who is affiliated with Turning Point USA, and her husband, Liam Donovan. Full announcement and indictment here, and here's the link. So.
Yeah, this is the least surprising thing that could ever.
Not at all surprising. Not at all surprising. And ask yourself, why would right-wing talking heads be peddling Russian misinformation? Could it be that they're just working in the interest of Russia? I don't know.
Yeah,
Could it be that the pro-American, anti-Russia side truly has always been the Democratic Party? Could it have been? I would never. I don't know, guys. Yeah.
The fuck is Benny Johnson? Benny Johnson's just a random conservative YouTuber person guy. He's probably also
imagine the biggest Elon Musk suck up, basically, like the hardest dick rider, more than the guy in your Discord server. Like Dick rides like Trump. He rides Elon Musk and Trump even harder. Like it's crazy. But yeah,
this is not surprising.
Not at all.
But it's all a hoax actually made up by the Democrats. They're going after free speech.
Oh, right. Yeah, because indictments are easy to get, right? That means they have no basis in facts. That means if you read the indictment, no facts are there. Because if they win the court case, that means every fact in the indictment was false. Nothing was problematic.
Yep.
That's what it means. Yeah. Oh, I'm stupid. Yeah. That's a big reason why I want Kamala to win. Aside from it being obviously the morally correct thing. It's just that so many of these people have indictments and they take time to get concrete results out of them. But if Trump gets in office, he'll just he doesn't care about justice. He cares about political benefit. So he'll just turn all of it down, which would be disastrous. So yeah, if you care about the law, you should still vote Kamala because Trump's 100% gonna prevent the justice from being carried out.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny stuff. I haven't read the indictment, just to be clear, but Destiny's reading it on stream. But yeah, some crazy stuff there. I know they're explicitly. I think it's Lauren Southern. It could be other people explicitly referring to them as the Russians, who are it's just yeah, you know what you're doing. And Tim Pool has posted a tweet coping, and it's just insane. It's all pathetic. They're all evil. But that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to ask you about the scalping thing. But if you're not.
Yeah, it's not surprising at all. And yeah, they should absolutely. Does X have any rules that if you're actually found to be influenced by foreign governments, are you at the very least or not like showing up in the algorithm. Because that should be.
I mean, that means
but...
X has to ban X because like under Musk, then they like helped out to some Turkish government thing. I think they literally did, right? Like Erdogan's government requested like some banning of accounts, and they did that.
Yeah.
Even though previous Twitter like did not do that.
Yeah, but they won't do it in Brazil because the accounts Brazil wanted to ban are.
Yeah, of course. It's all
like misinformation.
And wasn't it in Brazil? It's like, misinformation. It's becoming a Nazi platform. It's just retarded. But yeah, well, I learned today that Churchill was the bad guy.
Churchill was the bad guy.
I didn't know that. I should tell that to my friends and family in Israel. I didn't know that. It's all excited. They're all crazy. And Destiny, of course, has been 100% on the money. But yeah, Well, that's it. That's all I wanted to yap about. Talk to you later, buddy.
Sure.
Tell me once you've read about the scalping thing, because 100% you're going to agree with me. But maybe not, and then we can fight.
Bye-bye. Can't wait.
Hold on.
If the Dems wanted to impeach a Supreme Court justice, then just to get rid of Amy, or to make it fair again, would you be okay with that? Then they're like, okay, cool, we're good, we're chill now. Since that was a really bad decision before, we should be able to.
No, okay, I'll make a concession. If you like, listen. So the last time we had any of this court packing come up was with what FDR.
Can I suggest we get for an alert? Sure.
Right? Okay, what did FDR also do? He basically waited it out, got a Supreme Court justice in through attrition, and then what happened? World War II. What happened then? The internment camps. I will agree that we should get rid of the presidential immunity, and we can agree to your other stuff. If you'll agree that we should go and prosecute FDR and all his family for the crimes they committed.
What are you talking about? So
because he's criminal, he's not criminally immune.
We should prosecute. Okay, yes, let's do it. We'll go after all the Kennedys.
So by the way,
I'm just saying that's what they'll sound like right now. It sounds crazy.
By the way, your position would literally be that if the president of the United States ordered like a concentration camp on the same basis of the Japanese internment camps in Korematsu, and not only was it a concentration camp.
Yeah, what should I make this an alert for? Everyone will understand.
Literally started killing people as a military exigency, that he should be criminally immune.
Why didn't he just ban Twitter and tell you?
Yeah, that's your position, by the way. So
if he was signed to people.
No, that's your position.
Okay, well, let's get the mic to Zetsway. Let's get the mic to Zetsway. He's been waiting.
One last thing. One last thing. Court packing got us Korematsu, just to be clear. Go ahead.
Zetsway, go ahead.
So the court packing thing, the thing is that, one, I agree that, like, yeah, if they blocked a pick, the thing is that would be a method by trying to get something through. One, I believe it was already unconstitutional for them to not do it. The question is, what the fuck do you want us to do about it? And the answer is, I'm sorry, you should have brought it to the Supreme Court. There's plenty of things you could have done, but you didn't do them. And the idea that goes, I therefore destroy everything. You're right, you could pack the court. And
go to the Supreme Court to regulate their own Supreme Court pick for the political.
Wait a second. So you agree that it was unconstitutional for the Senate not to give an up or down vote on a nominee. Given that it was unconstitutional, how could you possibly say that that action, which was unconstitutional, is better or less problematic than doing something that's constitutional?
No.
That is, no, we're gonna get an answer to this. How is doing something? No, sorry, I need to get an answer to this. He just said that it would be unconstitutional for the Senate not to give that vote. However, you must agree, Zetsu, that it's constitutional to expand the court. Explain to me why doing something that's unconstitutional with respect to the court is not destroying the court, but doing something that's constitutional is destroying the court.
Okay, Zetsway, I'll give you a chance to answer, but if you don't get the right answer, I'm going to give him the right answer. There's a right answer to this, but go ahead, Zetsway.
Okay, no, so one, it is. So no, I don't think it was constitutional. However, I'm not the one who gets to fucking decide that. They decided apparently it was constitutional, and I accept the fact that
I'm asking you.
I know. I just said it wasn't. You're saying, yes, just because something's unconstitutional doesn't mean it's automatically
holy
worse
shit.
than something
Please just answer the question.
I don't know, where does that
That's the answer, because we don't decide what we want to happen, right? Morality is upstream of laws. Like, just because something is constitutional or
unconstitutional, case of the opposition are acting against American interests, supporting foreign actions and terrorism. No. Who are you counting as the opposition? I mean,
it can still be horrific and bad. Whereas something might be unconstitutional, but
that's what that's what Biden would do if he was based. He would every college that had a pro-Palestine encampment, he drone strike that shit.
It might be something like, okay, there's
criminal immunity.
Not necessarily wrong.
Well, I don't want to hear about structural
constitutional or unconstitutional. Does
and Tim Pool, Welly's live. drone strike
not matter to the morality of the
He's
thing.
a foreign agent.
Cisco, do you agree that it would be constitutional for them to amend back in slavery? It would be
Yes,
constitutional.
yes, it would be
So
constitutional.
do you think you would prefer they do that?
So many
than
people.
not
Hi,
do Garland? So
chat.
if you go,
What's
I
up,
get Garland,
Ness?
but we bring
I
slavery
don't
back.
support slavery. I don't support slavery.
No,
Hold on, the answer is
Please go answer this.
Well, I absolutely will answer this. If you get I'm scared of your
You agree
dumbass
with that?
questions, wait. So I'm not scared of your questions at all. But you guys are making a
I don't think
structural. You guys are making a structural argument that will destroy the institution of the court. That is not, as I understand it, a morality argument. If it's just open, morality's on the table, then now we can talk about results. Now we can talk about realism. Now we can talk about the immunity decision. You've opened up Pandora's box to talk about any result that we want. But if you're specifically talking about the structure, the integrity, the lawfulness, you're destroying norms, then absolutely the Constitution looms large over all of those. They are the upstream of what we consider to be our norms, our.
Why the argument about constitutionality of slavery? Basically because they're arguing back and forth over whether or not it'd be worse to pack the court or worse to not hear. I'm assuming you know how this works. Not hear a appointment for the court. And the argument is it's constant. One person's arguing, basically arguing, well, it's constitutional to pack the court, so that means it's not as bad as not hearing a presidential appointment for the court, which you can argue is unconstitutional. And the other guy's basically arguing, well, just because one's constitutional and one isn't constitutional doesn't necessarily mean that the effects of it are better or worse. Like it'd be constitutional for slavery to be amended back into the Constitution, but that doesn't necessarily make it doesn't necessarily make the consequences of it better or worse than anything. Yeah.
Structures are integrities. So no, your entire line of questioning is fucking stupid because your argumentation is based on integrity, structure of our systems.
What do you?
Zetsu, add a yes or no very aggressively to make sure he answers. Go
I'm
ahead.
not going to do that to him.
The answer would be yes. You would support a system that would allow you to add slavery back in, if that's what the values of the society represented. Because if you had a system where you couldn't put slavery back in, then that means we would have existed in a system where slavery could have never been removed. You respect the process, okay? The process should also respect our values, right?
Whoa, Stephen, whoa. That's what the rights are for. The whole point of rights is to protect things against what the majority wants. That's why they're there.
I don't know what I know that responsive at all. Talking to. You agree right now that we could create anything we wanted to in this country. We could make laws if we through the process of constitutional amendment. You could create laws that have the infinite torture of every single person in this country. Correct?
With a constitutional amendment, yes.
Correct. Exactly. Thank you. Yes. So we can amend our constitution infinitely.
If we ignore all practicality, then sure.
What? I don't know why you would have to ignore anything.
Because you couldn't pass a constitutional amendment for Taco Tuesday, let alone the infinite torture of every human being.
I don't know why you're in this realism world. It is so.
What the fuck? Yeah, again, he's resorting back to the realism shit, which it's just a fucking dumb thing to bring up in debate. But why the fuck can't we get an amendment for Taco Tuesday? That would be hard. I would support that amendment.
Let's leave the real world.
Question.
Yeah, isn't the whole debate over like realistic solutions?
It's because there's a 0% chance that any court of which I'm familiar would have actually ruled on whether what Mitch McConnell did was constitutional or not. They would have said political question and they would have punted 100%, because that's what courts do when they're asked to evaluate.
I don't have to.
Is it a really bad debate? Really, I think it's pretty interesting.
The notion that this is just a justiciable question. I don't think it's a justiciable question. I don't think courts can resolve it. But that doesn't mean that I don't still think it's unconstitutional.
I think ignoring the court is
I
better.
commend him for being brave, because yes, the courts are not the only ones to interpret the Constitution, as we all understand. The question isn't whether or not courts can hear the question, whether or not it's justiciable. The question is, how can Zetsu, or maybe even some of you, I don't know if you bought it, say that one process is unconstitutional but wouldn't destroy the structure
so
of the
court gets the right to prosecute them
plainly
after.
Constitutional. It's part of
absolutely. It's clearly
City
within the
gameplay. Keep up the good content, brother. BTW, can you do a stream just City Skylines, no politics?
Thank you, Ness, for the $5. I appreciate it a lot. Well, I gotta move the. God, I hate this so much. I don't know if I listen. I have ADHD brain. Okay, I can't do the only City Skyline stream. Also, I don't know if you see my city. It sucks so much ass. Not be a super good stream. Can I be co-host while you play City Skylines? Yeah, if I do a City Skyline stream, you can be co-host.
The Madisonian Compromise, among other things. That's not the Madisonian Compromise, but you understand what I'm saying. It's part of the compromise of the founding of the country. But that use of that power would be ruinous. I mean, how could you possibly say that blatant violation?
Did you see meme review? I don't know if I heard of memes to review.
That's why. So the reason I said the whole slavery thing was saying it's about severity. That if you do something unconstitutional that's less severe, it's not, then yeah, I'd be like, okay, that's bad and I think it's unconstitutional. But if you go, okay, here's something constitutional, like I said, like reenacting, bringing back slavery, I would be far more against that, even though it's technically constitutional, but the severity, the destruction of our country.
So let's talk about the severity. So let's talk about severity. One breach of norm results in a permanent conservative majority on the Supreme Court for, again, this breaking of norm. Or pseudo-permanent, effectively in the near, midterm to long term, the court is permanently. Wait, hang on a second. All right, yes. Sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. You're correct. Wait, I just want to say you're correct. That was wrong. I was incorrect. In the medium term, it will cement a conservative majority on the court. Okay, fair enough. So that is the situation we live in right now. If you want to talk about results, the other alternative system is at the very least 50-50, right? You switch back and forth, as opposed to what you want, which is
what.
Whoever does the first norm violation, they win. And I'll ask very upfront, Lactoid and anyone else who supports
this. What's this depiction?
If the opportunity were given to Democrats to do the same thing Mitch McConnell did, would you be okay with them doing that?
Given that
Mitch McConnell has already done that, Lactoid.
Yes.
I've already answered your question. I said no, but I specified.
Okay, I missed what they said. Talking about
50-50, right? You switch back and forth, as opposed to what you want, which is whoever does the first norm violation, they win. And I'll ask very upfront, Lactoid and anyone else who supports this, if the opportunity were given to Democrats to do the same thing Mitch McConnell did, would you be okay with them doing that? Given that Mitch McConnell has already done that, Lactoid.
Yes.
I've already answered your question. I said no, but I specified very specifically because for me, by the way, somebody who didn't vote Trump last 2 elections, right? For me,
I don't care. I didn't ask
this is very much because I'm just letting you know that I'm outside of your partisan.
Elections are a waste of time and money. Why do you think that? Didn't you tell me to vote
before? I'm just being very clear here. For me, it is a principle thing, right? This happened once, and I have problems with it. I said this whole time that I got problems with it, and I'm not okay with it happening again. And I'd be perfectly supportive of an amendment that would prevent it from happening again and limit the justice.
So here's the follow-up. Here's the follow-up, Lactoid. If the Republicans have that situation, they do it again. After that, would you be okay with the Democrats doing it?
No.
Because elections
I'm gonna give you the next follow-up.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Hold on, I didn't even hear what he said. I was reading chat.
Here's the follow-up, Lactoid. If the Republicans have that situation, they do it again. After that, would you be okay with the Democrats doing it?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the next follow-up. If the Republicans do it again, would you be okay with the Democrats doing it?
I'm gonna respond. If the Republicans don't get a chance to do it again, and the Democrats do it the next 5 billion times, okay, we're all gonna be dead by then. Okay, maybe the next 100 times. Yeah, 100 times.
So you would never. Okay, this is masochism.
Why is it masochism? If you think that an action is wrong, right? So, for example, I think stabbing. Look, I'm gonna hold on. Stop. This is my panel. I'm gonna fucking put my foot down here because I want to get this out. Okay? If you think stabbing kids is wrong, right? And your kid gets stabbed, that's bad, right? He gets stabbed twice, that's also bad. Do we think that as a tit for tat, as okay, well, he stabbed your kid, so I guess we're gonna let him stab your kid now, right?
I'm happy to answer that.
Do you think that's
I understand
okay,
your point.
right?
So, wait, I'm happy to address your point. I agree generally that just he did it. Therefore, what's the good in that? If there are some things that are clearly immoral, if you want to say,
but if you just roll over and don't do anything, then that person being the Republican in this situation don't face any accountability, and they also don't have any incentive to not do it again. Let's talk about what? I have a lot of fucking shit to do today.
But hang on. The whole value of this norm that Lactoid is espousing is that it's a norm. The whole purpose of value of having this, we're not going to break up the court, we shouldn't do this, is to preserve what? Preserve the integrity of the Supreme Court. But I'm giving a situation to Lactoid.
Preserve the integrity of the Supreme Court in order to do something else. That's not the end goal here.
Hang on a second. The value that is being espoused by these people is that violating this norm of not giving a hearing and not giving a vote would disturb the integrity of the court. That's why they are principally standing against those actions. But I'm giving the different scenario to Lactoid, where imagine that you have this infinite regress of Republicans doing all the time. At that point, surely whatever value of that quote-unquote norm in establishing whatever the court has been totally lost. How can you not agree to that?
Wait, can I ask you a question? Wick, let's say that, okay, 2 wrongs don't make a right, okay? Yes. The issue with the stabbing thing is that, 1, it's hard to imagine how that benefits you. And then 2, it's hard to imagine how allowing somebody... Stop. It's hard to imagine how somebody stabbing somebody else is allowing you to redress your grievance, okay? Here's a question. Let's say that you're playing soccer, okay, between 2 teams. Let's say that one team has a guy tackle a dude right before somebody goes and kicks a goal, and then they score a goal, right? And now the question is, okay, well, hold on. Should this team be allowed to tackle their goalie when they go to kick their next goal, or do you just deal with the fact that now the score is 1-0 and you play the rest of the game like that?
So here's the deal with these kinds of things.
I need you to answer that question. Oh, sorry. My bad. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I can answer the question. The question is, and this is going to be annoying, but I got to have to ask a question in response to see how I can answer this.
Oh my God.
Right?
Okay.
Do you think that this sports analogy is way outside my wheelhouse.
No,
I look like I do sports.
Perfectly. It's a 1-to-1 fit. The score is now up 1-0 because they got a little cheat. Should you be allowed to do a little cheat in the same way to even the score, or do we want
to normalize that as a thing that happens not only in this game but in all games going forward? Because I think that there is value in saying, hey, this was bad. It needs to be penalized. We can redress this later through other means. But us doing it as well prevents us from being able to redress that.
No, that's not true. If you want to go very meta, then the answer is you allow them to take revenge, because that's exactly what prevents that type of behavior going forward. The issue with the Republicans is they've been allowed to operate outside of the Constitution with impunity forever.
How is that
If somebody thinks, I'm literally
wait, hold on. Why are
they? Give them an incentive not to do it in the future.
If somebody thinks that they can operate, we got a free Supreme Court pick, that's fucking awesome. Then the next norm violation, whatever they want to fucking do, they know that at that point they're gonna have to say, the Democrats are just gonna do what's right, so we can fuck them over here and still get our huge edge, and then we can't do two wrongs make a right. They'll continue to fuck around in the future. So if anything, I think that having the comeuppance, having the redressing of the grievance would prevent those types of things coming forward in the future, because people know, if we fuck around, the other side's going to get theirs, and then we're going to be all fucked.
Yeah, so that hasn't worked out, has it? Because what happens is it's a race to the bottom where each side is saying, they did it, so now we can too.
No,
they did this, so now we can too. This is why McConnell warned Harry Reid, if you do this, then we're going to go at this. And then the Democrats are saying, well, now we can just pack the courts if they do this, right? This is a back and forth. It's forever.
It's not even a race to the bottom. It's
a race to the bottom with an anchor and a boat, okay? Yes, both of them are racing to the bottom, but one side is clearly in the fucking wrong here. Harry Reid's suggestion was nowhere near on par with what McConnell ended up doing. It's not even close.
Suggestion? Harry Reid didn't make a suggestion.
When they did it to start getting Supreme Court, it was because the Republicans refused to fucking to actually hear the nominations.
It was the exact same thing they did with Garland. It was the exact same thing. And here's the ultimate killer question that Lactoid, I hope you're ready for this one. If the Democrats pack the courts,
is it yes or no?
If the Democrats pack the courts, would you be in favor of the Republicans next time they had control packing the courts as well?
No. And I would very strongly, principally argue that we need a limit. We got to cap it at 9. We got to fucking do it. Absolutely.
Bullshit. I do not believe you that if the Democrats put on 100 Supreme Court justices, you would say, do not pass a law for the Republicans to do their 100. I don't believe you.
This is what happens. Like, Pisco gets really angry and demands you answer yes or no question. And then you answer directly, immediately, I don't believe you. Well, fuck you then.
Packing courts is stupid? Well, the Supreme Court is mega stupid right now. So, I mean...
You're
telling me if the Democrats packed...
As a quick ad hom, okay? You said earlier that you aren't a conservative and you don't belong to this partisan political soup. Like, you have 3 retweets in a row of fucking Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, and wokeness. The idea that you're, beyond this political partisan...
To be clear.
Are you tweet policing my boy Lactoid?
Let me elaborate, because, they love tweeting, I get it. Let me elaborate. The last 2 times I did vote in the Libertarian Party, the past 2 elections, that's what I said. I don't swim in the partisan soup. With Kamala Harris being the nominee and Joe Biden being the prior nominee and the whole situation around that, I am definitely leaning more Trump this time around, for sure. I'm not going to deny that. Like, this time around, I'm leaning more Trump.
Awesome.
But this is
how? I don't understand how you go from Libertarian Party to leaning more Trump.
A number of circumstances leading up to this. It's not like, I'm every single election. Maybe in the next election, if you guys put somebody else, like the
ignore the Supreme Court, at least you're
I don't fucking know.
Out of office normally comes back to accountability after your term. If you violate that norm and nothing happens, if Kamala Harris ignores the Supreme Court and nothing happens to her, once she leaves office, the next president is absolutely going to think that they can also ignore the Supreme Court. That norm does not go back the same way packing a court might not. Yeah.
Do you think a Trump presidency would respect for the United States versus a Democrat presidency?
Does he get prosecuted after she leaves? Well, if she gets prosecuted after she leaves,
you're letting him weasel, Steven.
I'm just curious. We're crying so much. And what about Trump saying he would terminate the Constitution over and over and over again?
Hold on. That specific statement, I absolutely disagreed with that, and I've disagreed with that multiple times. But what Trump isn't doing is he's not threatening to pack the court. He's repeatedly said he wouldn't do that, and he's selecting he's selecting justices off of the Federalist Society shortlist. Now, the Federalist Society is,
but I'm not partisan.
Don't care, filibuster. He's threatening to destroy the Constitution. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are already in right now. They haven't packed the courts. So why would you? Donald Trump has gone after constitutional things. Why would you assume that?
It's more than one factor. I'm outlining the multiple factors.
Sure, but on this one factor, you're completely dead wrong.
I think you mean
this is one factor of many, by the way, of the threats of.
Although the norm is still going to be, well, you're president, you can ignore some Supreme Court orders, and then you might just might get prosecuted afterwards. Which right now the norm is you kind of still have to listen to Supreme Court orders. Even if you're president, like Biden has to do with the student debt forgiveness, unless he's based and he exercises his criminal immunity to destroy all the records.
They're superior to the
Lactoid, answer directly. Hold on. Lactoid, answer directly. Because there is a point here. If Biden and Kamala wanted to pack the courts, why haven't they done it already?
Well, that's what I want to get at.
Hold on, let Lactoid answer first.
Saying if you pick between two, they're basically hanging over your head.
There are political obstacles in place that have prevented that from happening thus far. But I think it's interesting how this argument is exactly what Destiny will argue against when conservatives say, well, Trump, when it comes to the January 6th stuff, right? Well, obviously it didn't work. Oh, but then, isn't the risk itself a concern? And I would agree, the risk itself is a concern, just like the risk of Kamala Harris threatening to pack the court. That's a concern too. Now, there's many other factors.
Address that thing very particularly. It's not for lack of trying, though. There's a respect for the process on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, why isn't Pence running with Trump? Because Trump has no respect for the process. Why doesn't he put Barr up again? Where's the rest of his old cabinet? Trump is making concrete changes to the composition of his cabinet because he wants to be able to do those things going forward.
Well, why does Kamala have a 92% turnover rate then? So, that's a terrible argument.
Just to be clear, I understand.
92% turnover rate from what? From her private campaign team, or while she was vice president? I guess it's people surrounding her as vice president. Kamala. 92% turnover rate. Oh, also, want to know something funny, Inverted Mystic? Kamala, as state Attorney General, Kamala was almost held in contempt of the Supreme Court before, because they were ignoring a court order to release prisoners early in order to decrowd the prisons. She was almost held in contempt. The only reason she wasn't held in contempt, or it wouldn't have just been her, it would have been the whole state. The only reason they weren't held in contempt is because they thought holding them in contempt might lead to more court litigation from that would actually delay the release of the prisoners.
Hey, bud, you got time for a quick question?
Oh yeah, sure. What's up, Brune?
Professional yapper here, but I won't be long. Have you been given the link for the DOJ indictment for Tenet and Tennessee and all that?
Yeah, I haven't read it yet or anything, but yeah.
You've been sent it over, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, it's worth a read. It's definitely worth a read. Set yourself up for a YouTube video, okay?
Okay.
It's good. It's good. Anyway, yeah, have a good one.
Oh, you too. Yeah, thanks.
That you think that the January 6th issue is
Only
bigger.
talking about J6 right now.
I know. Well,
political inspiration.
Mike Pence. This is why I'm bringing this up. So I know that you think that's a bigger issue.
He's more than one day of vice presidency. He was vice president the entire term.
Oh, and also in Inverted Mystic, the argument is going to be it's legal it's within the parameters of the Constitution to pack the court, whereas it's not within the parameters of the Constitution to ignore the Supreme Court orders. So one of them you're respecting the process more than the other. You're respecting the Constitution more than the other.
I know you think that this issue is bigger than the court packing one.
Just do every political.
But what I'm saying is that when it comes to court packing specifically, Donald Trump is better than Kamala Harris on that issue. When it comes to selecting justices, Trump is better than Kamala Harris on that issue.
So here's what I don't understand. Wait, Lecter. Here's what I don't understand then. If this is such a big threat that you are going to have it overrule the notion that Trump is a threat and is going to suspend the Constitution, why wouldn't you be in favor of undoing it if the Democrats were made good on their plan? If the Democrats put in 1,000 Supreme Court justices, and in your mind that would destroy the integrity of the Supreme Court, why wouldn't you be in favor of a tit for tat?
We're fucked anyways.
That would destroy it more because it's already in process.
You're willing to do so.
Wait. Wasn't that Destiny's argument before too? Was that if the process is already destroyed? So because we shouldn't have faith that Republicans are ever going to confirm a Democratic appointment again. Shouldn't we just pack the court anyway if it's already destroyed? Isn't this literally Destiny's argument from before?
No. Just to be clear, if you give me a gun to my head, 1 to 2 options, and I have to pick one, I would, as opposed to packing the court, or I guess giving
bigotry, low expectation, because when the GOP, they're so stupid that they're not held to the same standard.
But I think it's interesting now how
listen, there is a reason tit for tat evolved.
As a proposing, when initially you were super in favor of packing the court. You came in here saying that.
100%. 100%. I am 100%.
That is disgusting.
That is disgusting.
And I absolutely will defend that to my dying breath. But the question specifically I'm asking you is, if a Democratic Congress and Kamala Harris, if they put in 1,000 Supreme Court justices, would you be in favor, if Republicans retake Congress and the presidency, to undo that by either removing those seats or adding their own seats?
So again, a question that I've already answered, no, but I would want them immediately, and I would vote for them to do this if such a situation happened. I would want for them to immediately put a constitutional amendment in place, capping it at whatever it is. Yes.
Okay, so then for a generation, you have 1,000 Democrat justices who can essentially ruin the article.
You should ask me it again, and maybe I'll answer differently.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
I don't
Why?
believe you.
Why don't you
And
believe it?
because anyone who respects and values the integrity of the court, such that they believe Kamala is an existential threat because of the packing issue, to say that is such a high value for you, and that you're going to vote for Trump, someone's going to suspend the Constitution. How could you not be also in favor of undoing the damage done by either removing the seats of everybody who's been offered a position under the Dem?
I think
that's the answer, right?
Factoid? Well, so Factoid, what do you think is more likely, that Trump's going to suspend the Constitution, or that Kamala's going to pack the court?
I think it's more likely that Kamala will pack the court than Trump is to suspend the Constitution.
So that's why he goes, and you go, what are the odds? So you go, well, percentage times value. So if you go, suspending the Constitution is 1 million, but you think it's 0, then the end result is 0. If you think it's 50 for Kamala Harris and it's 500, then it's...
If they failed to pack the court, and Kamala and Biden, I think Biden, when he came into office, I think he literally said he wasn't going to pack the court. I don't think Biden, I think he completely backed away from any idea of packing the court. I think he explicitly said he wouldn't. And Kamala Harris, I don't think is going to
She's not going to pack the court. No.
However, there have been key provisions for how we understand constitutional stuff that has changed under Donald Trump. So the idea that one is more likely than the other doesn't make any sense. But
the executive branch is stronger.
in 2019
has vigor. The executive branch has a military. Have people to say that you're more scared, right, of the decisions from on high from a Democrat judiciary. I mean, that's insane. We absolutely have more to fear from an executive run amok than a judiciary run amok. And the proof is in the pudding. I believe both Stephen and I think that this judiciary, this Supreme Court, has run amok, and that the recent decisions are absolutely,
Wait, so they're more powerful than the executive right now?
All of them?
No. You made a claim, that we should be more scared.
Hold on. Every time I read chat, I miss an important question right before to start yelling at each other.
Amok than a judiciary run amok. And the proof is in the pudding. I believe both Stephen and I think that this judiciary, this Supreme Court, has run amok, and that the recent decisions are absolutely,
Wait, so they're more powerful than the executive right now?
All of them?
No. You made a claim, Pisco, that we should be more scared of an executive run amok than a judiciary run amok. However, if the claim is that the judiciary currently is running amok and running roughshod over the executive, so they need to be reined in, why?
Wait, if a judge tells you that he wants to kill you, then fuck him. Walk out. Who cares? If a police officer shows up and he says he wants to kill you, you're dead. That's the difference. The executive run amok with unchecked power is very scary. A judiciary unchecked is also scary. But the executive, we have evidence of Donald Trump doing all the things that conservatives pretend that Democrats are going to do, asking his DOJ, going on to Fox News and saying the DOJ needs to be indicting people, of trying to pressure people.
I agree with you. That's why I'm voting Harris. I agree with that.
Influence every single thing, every hypothetical thing the conservatives worried about a Democrat doing, the Republicans have already done it. But for some reason, they're not worried about him continuing to do it with even more sycophantic administrators, right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever other than partisan hackery.
But for some reason, you're more afraid of the court packing, which is you go, is it going to happen? So then how is it possible that Donald Trump's actually doing all this shit now, but somehow you're more afraid of Kamala Harris?
Who are you directing your comment towards? That too? Who's that too?
Well, no. So I would say just reiterating Destiny's position in a little less aggressive.
Okay, I don't think it makes any sense, and I don't think that Wick's question makes any sense, or shows any contradiction.
Not make sense, right?
Yeah. So you ask wait, isn't it your position that executive run amok is more dangerous than a judiciary run amok? And then you pointed to the fact that I happen to believe that the judiciary is run amok right now. Yes, I do. And if I were to ask Stephen right now, Stephen, would you rather have this Supreme Court for the next 10 years or another Trump presidency? Which would you choose?
The Supreme Court.
Of course. And the answer is obvious, because as bad as the Supreme Court is, and in our opinion, it is very, very bad. Our fears of a Trump presidency are fundamentally existential, because Trump undoubtedly has power in the moment to enact force against his rivals. And this time he is going to be unburdened by what has been.
So you think, what are the odds? Let's put odds on this. If Trump is elected, and I hope to God he's not, because I too.
Oh, now we're going to do the odds.
Right?
What the fuck?
If he does get elected, what are the odds, you think? How much money would you put on him destroying America?
Is democracy really on the ballot if Trump doesn't have a 100% chance?
Takeover of him destroying
Fisk was the greatest legal mind of our generation.
I'm not sure. I mean, someone says destroy America. To me, my version of destroy America would be significantly, undermine the structural foundations of our Constitution. And for example, I would say that court packing wouldn't fulfill that, right?
You don't think court packing just okay?
100% no. 100% no. If you look at the foundations,
clearly within the purview of the Constitution.
Look back to Marbury versus Madison. People forget what was at issue in that case and what the court was teeing up. It was the repeal of the Midnight Judges Act by John Adams. These fights over the judiciary, they're long-standing, right? You look at Israel right now. They're having these big problems about the jurisdiction of courts. Congress has the power, if it wants to, explicitly by the Constitution, to make exceptions to the Supreme Court's appellate review. There's tons of control. Congress could limit all the funding to the Supreme Court. There are norms that sort of protect us and guide us. But what we're talking about here, when the President of the United States is engaged in a conspiracy to stop the peaceful transfer of power, That is not in any place envisioned by the Constitution. So once again, just like the previous example when we were comparing the unconstitutional act in Zetsu's mind of the non-giving of a hearing and the non-giving of a vote to the constitutional act of expanding the court, we're comparing apples and oranges here. All the powers that Congress has over the Supreme Court, they are explicit in our Constitution, and you're acting like using it would be greater threat to our
People
system
get
than
enamored
a
with
president
medicine if it's
literally
most of
stopping the
us
transfer
ever
of power.
knew.
It's
Lol.
insane.
Technically, I think that's like it's like one of the most important Supreme Court cases that that everyone is taught in school at some point. But yeah, I don't.
The difference between can and
remember it.
should. I don't think you can do that. That it's unconstitutional what they did. And the thing is,
I mean, I didn't know that specific of it. I didn't know what he just said about it.
Could pack the court. You could. I'm not saying that you can't do it or to be unconstitutional. If you did it, the thing is, what if you lose? So if the court packing happens, but it's conservatives, are you still 2 thumbs up?
Yeah, the court has already been packed, my friend. You just didn't realize it.
Disagree on that.
The issue is, I don't think we necessarily are opposed to the idea of packing the court. It's the idea
That's all I know about it. Is it led to? I know.
Right? Like if somebody were to say,
if I remember correctly, it happened in 1803, and it gave the Supreme Court basically gave itself judicial review. That's all I remember from it.
let's say theoretically you expanded the court to 22 judges or whatever. How many circuits do we have? 11 or 13 or whatever. So that there's so that we have enough Supreme Court judges to like ride circuit and be more active in court cases or deal with a bigger load, but we guaranteed that the partisanship of the court would remain the same. I think after arguing through all the autistic shit that people would bring up because they think I'm trying to prove a point, I think most people are like, okay, it's probably okay to expand the court in this circumstance. The issue with the expansion of the court is doing it in a hyper-partisan manner, which I do agree principally is bad, but the issue, and this is somehow conservatives are always able to fucking do this, okay? Like a conservative will have their dick in your ass telling you, okay, that it's okay, we're not, yeah, exactly.
So upholding martial is now it's oh wait.
That like, okay, we need to stop the ass fucking right now, okay? While they're knotted in you, filling your victim with cum.
This is cope. No, this is cope. All right, no, this is 100% cope.
The damage has already been done, and it's still happening, and it will continue on for decades, but conservatives want to pretend like they don't have their dick in your ass.
I didn't even know it did that.
No, this is cope, because this is what happens, right? So the Dems get so mad whenever we use their own tactics against them. Biden, we've already talked about this a million times, have already pointed out, hey, this is what we're going to do. He used it as a threat to George Bush Sr., right? He was like, hey, we can do this. This is going to take. That was what he put forth. If you go read the whole thing, he put forth, it's a threat. The times have changed because it was hypothetical because we didn't have somebody, right? This was his idea. McConnell does it successfully. And then lo and behold, now here we are going, oh, we got outplayed and outmaneuvered with our own rule. Let's change the rules.
Yeah, so you're going to get outplayed if we have Congress?
Wait. What's going to happen? Hold on, what's going to happen? This is why I actually want this question answered. What are y'all going to do whenever y'all put forth these new rules and the Republicans outplay y'all again? Are you going to flip the table and cry with the mama again? What's going to happen? Like,
I love this. It's a really good point because what Gibbs has just shown is that this is just a matter of power politics. I totally agree. And so all you're saying right here is, yeah, they could have done it and they did do it and haha, you lose. That was the absolute mentality of Mitch McConnell.
And for all the originalists here, it's more constitutional to pack the court than it is for the Senate to not confirm a presidential pick, right? Do we agree with that? That would be more. It would be more adherent to the Constitution to pack the court than it was for what McConnell did under the Senate, right? Does every constitutionalist here admit that? Every originalist here.
There's no question that you're allowed to pack the court.
We're not saying what you can do.
Wait, so Lactoid admits that, right? It would be more constitutional to pack the court than what McConnell did,
than to
right?
abdicate your role.
Conceded on that. They don't care at all.
I want to hear from Lactoid. I want to hear from Lactoid.
Go ahead. I want to hear the nonpartisan libertarian here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And this is just, I guess, a gap in my knowledge because I'm opposed to this particular to what Mitch McConnell did to begin with. I'm not convinced right now. I'm not convinced that that's unconstitutional. So we can talk about it later. I'm open to be convinced on that for sure. But I'm not convinced on that point yet. Let's roll with it.
Packing the court constitutional?
Well, packing the court is constitutional.
Wait. So then you already ceded.
We're not discussing what that's constitutional.
But just to be clear, like this was already gone through, right? Like I agree with the analysis here of yes, things that are unconstitutional are bad, but things that destroy the republic are also bad. And obliterating the third branch of government is really bad.
No,
and the people who threaten to obliterate the third branch of government is really, really bad.
Are we saying now that we want to that needs to go by the wayside when we're making decisions of protecting the democracy?
The republic? Not can.
No, originalism is a judicial philosophy.
Yeah, so hold on. So then, if we're
goalposts are all over the place.
No. If we're originalists and we believe in the Constitution as written and we should adhere strictly to the original interpretation of it as possible, then we would agree then that packing the court is obviously like supremely better. It's it's a different category of things than what the Senate is.
Destroy the court.
Wait. Let me explain the difference here. This is the misunderstanding. Okay, so when we're talking about originalism, we're talking about judicial philosophy. Me saying that packing the court is legal. And I'm open to be convinced, like I'll go through it. let's just roll that it is unconstitutional to do what Mitch McConnell did, and that's shown to me, and legally I will agree with it. This is me exercising originalism because I'm coming to the answers based on the law, right? But politically, originalism isn't like a political persuasion. Like politically speaking, like I don't want to destroy the Supreme Court of America, even if you could do it legally. In the same way that it'd be perfectly legal if we pass an amendment allowing mass genocide of Americans or slavery or whatever. I'd be very, very strongly politically opposed to that. Even though in fact, I would dedicate more political resources to oppose that than I would something that's like unconstitutional but of minor effect.
Let's explore that. So why is it worse?
It's unconstitutional. It's like we know court packing is within the powers in the Constitution. There's no question about that. The question is, how do we get to a point where we are moving towards increasing respect for the rule of law, increasing view of legitimacy, increasing perception?
It's at an all-time low, Ryan.
Hold on, Pisco. Does court packing give people more confidence in the court or less?
I'm not sure what their opinions will be. I just know that I'm telling you, as a matter of fact,
I feel like it probably give Democrats more and Republicans less. We looked at the chart earlier, the Trust and SCOTUS. It was like the Democrats are way further down than this is in 2022. It's at 25% overall, and I think Democrats is even lower. This one is showing higher overall though. So.
That the Supreme Court, I do not. I'm telling you, I do not have the information sufficient to make a conclusion about whether court. I know. Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm answering you honestly. What I am telling you, what I am telling you right now, what I am telling you right now is that the opinion of the legitimacy of the Supreme Court has never been lower. That's what I'm telling you right now.
That's
and
true.
So for all of you to ignore that fact and to pretend. What do you want to say, Ryan? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the point that we're making is that there's been a series of changes, and these are little procedural things that happen typically in the Senate, because the Senate's the branch that kind of keeps decorum, where they got rid of the 60 vote threshold for nominating of lower court judges. Then they got rid of it for Supreme Court judges. Then McConnell played his maneuver. And what you're seeing is these little procedural changes, and what they're doing is they're ticking away at the process that used to force the Senate to come to some sort of joint resolution, because you couldn't get someone nominated if they were too extreme, because you needed to hit a 60 vote threshold.
Nice speech, Professor. Let's get to the point.
These are getting worse.
Listen, I know you're not complaining about length of time.
It gets worse. So the question is, do we think you should pack the court? No, because it will make the legitimacy of the court
Yep.
Hey, listen, hold on. You've been since you got in here.
Worse. It's not that fucking complicated.
So the question is, what is the norm?
Holy Jesus! And now it feels.
What is the norm? What is the norm to break when it's already been shattered? Right? Is there a norm that we should care about? If right now the Republicans under McConnell, absolutely everyone here would agree that it was a significantly damaging thing that McConnell did with respect to the non-vote and then the voting of Amy
Things can always get worse.
This debate is devolved.
Things can always get worse. Hold on. This is
things can always get worse.
Oh my God, you guys keep talking over me. I don't know why you do, but this is the mistake that a lot of people who are one-issue voters on Gaza make. That it's already a genocide. It can't possibly get worse. No. Everything can always get worse, motherfuckers. And I think that as bad as it is, because you are correct, trust in institutions across the board, not just SCOTUS, right? But the military.
That's been brought up by Rizal, according to Rizal viewers. Just like me, I get paid by Cato Institute to promote capitalism, and I get paid by the Mossad to support Israel, and I get paid by the Harris campaign directly.
Lowest it's ever been, right? In every single institution we have in America that I'm aware of, academia, science, right?
Why do you think that's happening? Why do you think that's happening?
Because I think that they've been.
It's because conservatives are. You
literally have
a president or an ex-president who's running who doesn't even
bots.
believe in the results of the last election. Conservatives have nobody to blame but themselves.
Bro, are you kidding me? We have a president right now that keeps telling us the economy's good. Inflation's at an all-time high. We have all this other shit.
Yeah, those are definitely comparable, dude. Yeah, saying the economy is good is comparable to repeatedly, knowingly lying about election fraud. Dude, that's so comparable, dude. Especially when it's all in the inflation's at an all-time high, bitch. And first of all, that's not true. I think it's at like a 40-year high, but I think he said all-time high.
Bro, are you kidding me? We have a president right now that keeps telling us the economy's good. Inflation's at an all-time high.
All-time high is not true at all. The stagflation in the 70s was much worse than this. But
all this other shit going on. Like you go to the
all this other shit. Okay, all he said was inflation. By the way, inflation's at like 2.6%. So like, and that's with owner's equivalent rent, which we probably shouldn't even be measuring because rent lags. What was last month? August CPI. I think it was 2.6. Oh wait, they don't have August yet.
Grocery store, and you can just tell that the Democrats are lying to you, and you want to say it's the Republicans' fault? Like, you gotta be damn near retarded.
2.9. I thought we were down. Maybe PCE was 2.6.
Because the trust can always get worse. Now, why is it the case that people don't trust it? There's plenty of reasons, right? I think Republicans are to blame for this, but also the fact that many of the institutions have, at least the public feels, have failed them.
Like the Bureau of Labor
Why do the
Statistics.
public feel that way? The public feels that way because the Republicans tell them that over and over and over and over again. Where do the ideas, and you can see this play out in lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. It's not the same on the left and the right. Why do people feel the way that they do on the right? Why the fuck I'm watching Shane Gillis joke about how his dad in Pennsylvania thinks that like immigration is the most important fucking issue in the country, right? How the fuck are people thinking that, you know, like that criminals and spies and terrorists are coming into the southern border? You've got Donald Trump inventing what was it, the Boulder shooting or whatever? What did he say when the press secretary like just made up a fucking massacre that didn't even happen? The idea that Republicans are naturally coming to these ideas that the country is fucked, when Republicans are saying it over and over and over and over and over again, that's not just a feeling that the people have. It's one that's being carefully crafted so that partisan fucks can come on to panels like these and go, oh, well, look, the American public's not happy. We got to do something. Yeah, that's intentional. It's an intentionally crafted feeling.
So just to be clear, Wick, I mean, you just said like things can always get worse. I mean, undoubtedly, I'm not denying that. But here's the principle, and I think that you even agreed with Lactoid.
And to be clear,
if the Republicans,
that's why I'm against court packing, because it would make things worse. Yes.
Okay, that could be your belief. I happen to think that there was already court packing, just to be clear. So take the following example. Take the following example.
That
so
is why you should
Lactoid was given the option, you know, or the situation where
still hilarious.
Democrats all of a sudden
contact about Harris campaign.
That was principle that I would be against.
Almost every problem solved. What's your obsession with the 19th?
My question for you, Wick, is do you really agree with that? Like, if the Democrats or the Republicans, let's say, completely court pack, let's say the Republicans give 1,000 Supreme Court justices after all that's happened, Wick, would you agree with Lactoid that you would say Democrats shouldn't do it in reverse? I'll ask that first and have a follow-up.
So I don't think he should do it in reverse. I think there are other remedies.
Of course.
I think it should be remedied, right? Like,
what's the other remedy?
Like, for example, if Trump wins,
what's the other constitutional remedy?
Court, right? Because obviously Trump's just going to do whatever the fuck he wants. The idea that he would respect.
Yeah, let's say he does that.
It's crazy. I don't think that the us going in and say, well, now we're going to pack the courts is the answer to that problem. I think the answer to that problem is to reverse the decision, is to wind back the clock, because you can when things come like that. You can simply rescind all the appointees that were appointed by Trump in the court packing.
So you would be in favor?
You absolutely can.
So you would be in favor, for example,
all opposition
passing a law that removed all of the seats of the people who were added by the Republicans in this case. Fair?
No, because this is
wait, you just said that.
They didn't court pack
impeaching one and swapping Garland in after he's out of the DOJ.
Well, you just said that my remedy wouldn't be a counter pack, but it would be something else to level the playing field. I thought that's what you just said, Wick.
It is. However, not all remedies are the same. Not all reversals.
Okay, so what remedy would
exist? And not all issues are the same. The idea that this is court packing in the same way that is court packing is a flattening of the term that I think just makes people
I'm proposing you, Wick,
what they're trying to do when they come in.
I'm proposing you a counter situation which is not court packing, right? You are undoing by statute. You are by statute getting rid of the seats that were added by MAGA in this hypothetical, okay? And those are still judges. They're still being paid, okay? But they just don't have a seat in the Supreme Court because you've legislatively gotten rid of them, okay? So in that situation, that would be a remedy, wouldn't it? And it's not court packing.
It is. It is a remedy.
It is court packing to remove those seats.
No, it is a remedy, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so would you be okay with that?
A remedy for if
in the hypothetical,
Trump
right? So I'm going to repeat the hypothetical.
1,000 Republicans and you get rid of those without. Yes, I'm saying that's okay.
So I'll give you another example then. So suppose that Mitch McConnell does not give a hearing to a particular justice, never has an up or down vote. Would you be in favor, for example, of why not?
Because these are different things. One is a thing where he has added to the court, and the other situation is he has refused to see. That's still a problem, and there still needs to be a remedy. I don't know what that remedy should be. To be clear, I don't have an answer.
But I can tell you, I don't know what the remedy should be.
That idea that, they did it, so we can do it too, I reject that entirely.
Stephen just told you, right? No, hang on. We are not talking about tit for tat. I specifically am giving you a remedy that is not a pack. That was part of this entire exercise. It is not a counter pack. It is removing the seat. And Stephen just told you, people don't really care about the number of justices. What they care about is the partisan balance. He explained that. I thought you agreed with that, Wick. Why wouldn't you be in favor of undoing what the breach of norm that McConnell did by just removing that seat? Why wouldn't you be
go backwards a bit, because I don't I can't speak for everyone else, but me personally, I don't care about the partisan balance. I care that the court is deciding fairly on what it is that they're ruling on. Partisanship should be out of the courts as much as possible. I recognize that's hard to do. I recognize it's almost an impossible task.
The norm you're trying to defend is premised on the lack of partisan influence in the court. That's the whole norm that you're trying to defend. Do you agree that norm was viciously violated when McConnell refused to give a vote?
Yes.
Okay, so if that norm was violated, why would you be in favor of a remedy to that norm violation?
If you give me a remedy, like I am not opposed to any redress whatsoever. But the redress that you proposed and that Destiny proposed, where that we simply either, I think what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, was basically impeach the justice.
No, I would say just get rid of the seat. You don't even need you get 50 senators.
Get rid of the seat. What do you mean get rid of the seats? We have 8 Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. You get by statute you remove.
No, why not just swap them out with a Democrat?
Hang on.
You gotta get your participation trophies in, boys.
What I am proposing it would make an end. You don't need to impeach someone. You just get rid of their seat. You by statute you can expand the number of seats. You can also constrict the number of seats, and you get rid of the seat that a particular justice is sitting on. That's totally constitutional.
Why not just impeach a conservative judge? I feel like
it takes more votes. So get rid of the seat and make a new seat and add a Democrat.
This is also really bad. Now Trump, if he gets appointed, says, you know what, I'm just going to reduce.
That's a remedy, isn't it?
Can you talk about what you can and can't do?
Hold on. You guys talk about remedies. Wick, would it be illegal for me to steal $50,000 from you?
Yes.
Okay,
Good luck. I don't have.
Is it tit for tat if you come back? Is it tit for tat? Is it tit for tat if you come back and steal that $50,000 back from me with a gun?
What?
Okay, if that's not, then why would it matter if
you have something that is mine and I took back something that is
like a Supreme Court seat? Yes.
It's yours.
It doesn't belong to you.
It did. It belonged to Obama.
No, he got outplayed.
Right
let's just level what happened.
Yeah, if it's about power politics, if it's just power politics. Wait. So if it's all about power politics.
Hold on. The idea that the seat belongs to Obama in perpetuity is just not true.
Not into perpetuity, but it was his pick for a court pick.
Well, it was his pick until he got it.
The remedy, ideally, the remedy for all this is we simply vote blue, and then
that's not a remedy. No. Hold on.
You don't think that's a remedy?
No, stop. If we win a Supreme Court pick because we win a presidency and somebody ends up retiring, and now the court is 5-4, that's not a win.
How is that not a win?
Because it should be 6-3 in our favor. That's not a win for you. What do you know?
Like I said, flip the table. Cry about it.
So Gibbs, every time Gibbs says something like this, as well as it being fucking stupid, it shows. It's actually it's both stupid and very insightful. It's stupid because he's showing his hand, and it's like a very dumb thing optically. Yeah, it's a very dumb optical thing to do in the context of a debate. But the reason why it's actually very insightful is this is actually what's going on. No. What's actually going on is conservatives are caring about the partisan balance of the courts. It's 100% true. No one actually cares about the number of seats. They care about the rulings. They care about the rulings on Dobbs. That's what Lactoid is caring about. He's caring about having conservatives from the Federal Society that he agrees with. That's what is at play, not like the number of seats. Yeah, originalists. That's what they care about.
Yeah, originalism is a judicial philosophy. It's different than political conservatism. That's an important distinction.
Oh my God! Why are we going back to this stupid ass distinction?
You were going with that back and forth with Wick. You brought up a non-court packing, remedy. Now, I already was clear that I still oppose that. But my question for you is, why didn't you come in here hot proposing that remedy as opposed to the much more incendiary court packing?
Oh, I'm happy to do both. I'm indifferent between them.
Hold on. So if we do the non-court packing remedy, then you're fine court packing off the table, get rid of it.
Yeah, so just to be 100% clear, if Mitch McConnell never did that thing with Merrick Garland's seat, I would not be in favor of court packing. My belief that it should be packed has to do with what Merrick Garland did in 2016, 2017.
This is the problem. This is a problem.
I would not be in favor of it
because a lot of Republicans
he never did that.
A lot of Republicans, partisan Republicans, maybe not the ones on this panel, would say the exact same thing in reverse, that they wouldn't be okay with what McConnell did if Harry Reid hadn't done what he did when he came in. This is what I'm talking about when each side is using the other side's bad behavior to justify the actions that they're taking.
Joe Biden didn't do
I'm happy to run that clock back with you, Wick, and what you'll find is the people who quote unquote started it was absolutely Republicans. 100%. And if that's the game you want to do, and who had the bigger violations of norms? Absolutely, Mitch McConnell had the bigger violation of norms. And if you want to point to some statement made by Joe Biden, fine. Joe Biden says some stupid shit. I'm not going to endorse everything Joe Biden has ever said in his life. And so, yeah, I 100%. It is my belief that I would not be in favor of these remedies if the Senate hadn't abdicated its role in the Merrick Garland nomination.
I don't believe you. Just like you don't believe Lactoid, I don't believe you. I think you're powerful.
I don't even like giving Biden that much heat. Because there's a world where the idea that he suggested maybe isn't even necessarily a bad one if codified, and it was suggested when there wasn't a vacancy. Maybe there is some legitimate argument to 4 months before a president, their term ends, that should be held open for the next president for reasons. Maybe there are some reasons why that may be. But the fact that was suggested when he was in the Senate, when there wasn't even a vacancy up, is far different than what McConnell ended up doing. And to compare these two things, like any discussion of this ever is the same as McConnell actually going through with it.
And not to follow the norm. And then not to.
That's not the rule that he can
follow the
follow.
norm. Yes, true.
And then not to follow it with Amy Coney Barrett, right? So even if you just had Joe Biden, except for a moment that the new rule should have been the Joe Biden rule. They violated that rule. So how could you possibly have a go at Joe Biden if we just want some consistency? If you were going to establish a norm with Mitch McConnell, that Amy Coney Barrett should not have been nominated. But none of you will ever want to remedy that situation. However,
why do you think you deserve a remedy?
Wait, hold on. Isn't this whole mess started because RBG didn't step down and then she died?
Okay,
that's
not relevant to the.
No, it is relevant because they were willing to keep her there and we weren't willing to fight about all this shit.
Hold on, wait, Gibbs. They
willing to keep her there.
Take her out if she decided to stay on.
Pressured her. You telling me the Dems couldn't?
You don't think people were pressured to step down?
I guess not enough. Not enough. I don't know. It seems like we're sitting here. It was her self.
They should have drone striked her. She was clearly a threat to our constitutional republic. So we clearly should have drone striked her within the president's conclusive and conclusive authority.
Pressure,
of course.
Supreme Court justice.
Every time
step down.
That's exactly what that is. Pressure. You went reforms, you court packing. Those are pressure on the Supreme
We've run the clock.
Gibbs. Wait. I just want to say one final thing to Gibbs. I just want to say one final thing to Gibbs. Gibbs, do you prefer Venmo or like PayPal? How much? Like, what's the preferred platform for me to pay you for making our points for us? Because every time you speak, you show what's really going on here. What's really going on here is partisan hackery.
Exactly.
I'm sitting here saying, this is what's happened. You got outplayed. You're crying. You can sit here and say that's partisan hackery. I'm not gonna be one of these dishonest people like you are and try to lie to people in order to get my way and accomplish it and dress it up in window dressing like a Christmas turkey. But that's what you're doing, Papa. You're sitting here lying to people. You're sitting here being dishonest, and then you want to sit here and try to accuse me, who's the only one being honest on the panel here. Give me a break.
Okay.
Only one being honest. True.
I just want to quickly respond.
Quickly, but then we got to wrap it up because I got some super chats to read, and you guys have to go at some point. So
yeah, and I understand I'm not going to get an agreement on this, but the 1992 thing, like again, as I've been looking into it, I think there absolutely is something here. The idea that you have the current Democrat president, right, advocate for this forcefully. He said it was essential.
In 1992, Jesus, I don't care about what he said in 1992 if he's not saying it anymore.
Forcefully? What did he threaten? What was the threat? Who supported him?
I didn't say that forcefully required a threat. I said he said it was essential. That's what I said. I said that he argued for it, and he said that it was essential. Those are the words that he used. And so when you have Joe Biden like putting that forward, yes, like when Mitch McConnell does it later, do I disagree with it? Of course.
What did he say is essential? Read the quote. What is the quote you're reading?
Sure. Let me,
did he say it's essential to do this right now under Bush, or did he say it's essential like as a principle?
He said, "quote as a senator more than 2 decades ago, Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. President George Bush should delay filling a Supreme Court vacancy."
He said he said on the Senate floor, "quote as a senator in 1992, Joe Biden." He's just quoting the article. He's not quoting what Biden said.
That was quote essential quote.
Why are you reading? You just said you've been looking at this. Reading the first paragraph.
Hold on. Can you read what Biden said?
Yeah, I'm asking the quote from Biden. You're giving me the first paragraph. I'm reading the same thing. Yes.
Is it inaccurate that he said it was essential that the Senate refused to confirm a nominee to the court until then?
What else did he say?
I'm asking for the quote.
That the word essential is the quote that I'm referring to. Okay, the word essential is the quote. Now,
real quick. There's a difference between him saying it's essential that we block Bush's Supreme Court pick versus it's essential that in election or campaign years that we don't nominate people because of all the external pressures or blah, blah. Like you acknowledge there are two different things.
Wait, and that's what Mitch McConnell did.
No,
and then he reneged. Lactoid.
Wait, hold on. But when the actual pick for Merrick Garland, that's what he did, right?
No. But Biden isn't threatening this. The idea that it's forceful doesn't make sense. There was no vacancy even, okay? And McConnell didn't do what Biden did. McConnell with support in the Congress, and he even threatened this earlier.
I didn't use the word. If I did, I apologize. I don't think I used the word threaten. I said he forcefully argued, and he called it essential. Now let me ask you: did Mitch McConnell do what Joe Biden said was essential?
I'm not sure that he did. Wait, I'm not sure that he did because the time frame that we're talking about is completely different, isn't it?
No, he said should one arise, right? Should one arise, a vacancy should be delayed until the presidential election was over.
When was that statement made in relation to the election?
I don't know exactly when.
Yeah, we should figure that out because that'll be determinative about what they're saying. So, like, for example,
this is Biden's forceful statements. Bush should quote not name a nominee until after the November election is completed. End quote. And then he said, quote, the Senate Judiciary Committee should seriously consider not scheduling confirmation hearings on the nomination until after the political campaign season is over. These are his forceful quotes.
And he said, quote, that is what is fair to the nominee and essential to the process. Right.
By the way, I disagree with Joe Biden. What he said there was.
I understand.
I don't know why you're going back to it.
the reason why I'm going back to this, I understand you disagree with Joe Biden. I disagree with Joe Biden too on this particular issue, for sure. But what I'm saying is,
y'all are even missing the biggest part of
what I'm saying is,
y'all are skipping the biggest part of what Biden says in there. Like that, he also says some will criticize this division and say it's nothing more than an attempt to save a seat on the court in hopes that a Democrat will.
I can't even understand what the fuck you're saying right now.
Well, listen, then shut the fuck up and listen, then, okay? But that would not be our intention, Mr. President. If that were the course, we were to choose in the Senate to not consider holding hearings until after the election. Instead, it would be our pragmatic conclusion that once the political season is underway, and it is, action on Supreme Court nomination must be put off until after the election came to the
I didn't.
that's an outright threat. Well, then maybe get your ears checked, Papa. It was basic English.
I don't understand what Kip says. I don't understand half of what he says.
Right? Like, I would say, based on the quotes that Destiny read and that I've read, like, it seems like Mitch McConnell did fulfill what Joe Biden argued for. Now, I think they're both wrong. And I, again, repeated, like, how many times can I repeat myself? This is
Joe Biden was wrong.
And this is wrong. Great. But, like, the characterization of this, which is like, these fucking Republicans, they're never held to any standard. They always do whatever they want. They come in here and they propose this, and then they oppose court packing. Oh my God, this is unprincipled.
They didn't just propose
it. Joe Biden, who's the current president of the United States, proposed this.
And stop. Why do you keep bringing up this current president of the United States thing when Joe Biden said this in 1992, and then he's the president now. If I mean, I understand they're not talking about packing the court right now, but also if he wanted to pack the court right now, he could nominate people to pack the court if he wanted to, and clearly,
and argued for it, and he called it essential.
If he wanted to violate more norms, he could. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't even know, maybe people would go along with me here. I think that we would have a slightly less problem with what happened if they at least stuck to the very fucking rule that they proposed
100%.
and they foregone Amy's nomination.
Wait, why are you rolling your eyes, Lactoid? If they establish a rule, right? Even assume that we have to agree with Joe Biden, which I do not. To be clear, Joe Biden does not bind my opinion about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And what
Joe Biden binds my opinion because he pays me. It was based when he said it then, but it's not based when Republicans do it.
Just so we're 100% clear. But even accepting that I have to buy into what Biden is saying, Mitch McConnell went against that very rule. So how can that possibly not be...
Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. Let's do a cat of logic, okay? He didn't say it. He said it, but it didn't matter. He said it, and it's based that he said it. All of those are true.
To correct it if they're violating their own norm.
Well, no, so here's the reason, right? I believe...
You're going to give your reason, then I'm going to read the super chats, and we're going to get to closings, because...
I believe the problem here is that, skimping out on the nominee in the first place, right? I think that what Joe Biden argued for was wrong, and I think what Mitch McConnell did is wrong. Now, what you're saying is, now what you're saying is, well, actually, I wouldn't, we wouldn't even have that much of a problem with it as long as Mitch McConnell. Hold on, well, sure, you would have, but we heard otherwise from Destiny. Maybe.
No, he said not as much of a problem.
I'll be credible. Yeah, maybe. Didn't I just say not as much?
Yeah, but you're making it sound like you'd be okay with it.
Okay. Maybe not as much. Whatever he said, you can roll the tape back and listen to it in his own words, okay? But like, if he stuck to the same rule. But like, here's the problem. Like, it's not actually clear what norm was necessarily created by Mitch McConnell. The norm could be, actually, you get to do this. Hold on. Oh, actually, which I disagree with, again, for like the 8 millionth time. The norm could be, since we're just like rewriting the norm.
On Tuesday at 2 o'clock, when they serve Thai food.
Not Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
100% right.
Hold on. Let me finish the sentence.
Then it's okay.
No. Let me finish the sentence. So if like Congress is in control, like then they got the majority leader, then like that's the norm created. Then they do get the delay.
And if his name starts with M, and if he happens to have gray hair, and if he's married to an Asian person, that's the stupidest. It's a distinction without a difference.
Can you give me your Venmo so like I
can
pay you to make
married to an Asian person?
I said at the beginning that I think the whole norm violation was a problem, and then I think it was wrong when Joe Biden proposed it in 1992, and I think it's wrong when Mitch McConnell did it. But what you're saying,
why are you saying the norm could reasonably be construed as having something that was never argued?
Because it could be because Mitch McConnell didn't necessarily violate his own norm. That's the only thing.
They said that they didn't want to nominate somebody in an election year. That's what they said, and then they did it forward. Who's the guy that everybody says he's gay, and he was another senator that came out and he was like, oh, well, yeah, Lindsey Graham literally said.
I think Lindsey Graham was gay.
They asked Lindsey Graham verbatim. They said like, oh, well, will you nominate somebody in Trump's last year? I was like, oh no, we definitely wouldn't. And guess what? They sure
and you want to know his response when he was called on? He's like, well, what the Democrats did with Kavanaugh on those hearings, that really changed everything. I mean, how are you ever going to take?
But this is a point.
That was probably hold on. If that's the case,
Wick, it's not the point. Wick, it is not the point. It's not the same, right? And you can even read Biden's own response to these accusations. My record as Judiciary Committee Chairman is hard to beat. I presided over the process that resulted in Justice Kennedy, a Reagan nominee, being confirmed to the Supreme Court in a presidential election year. I allowed the nominations of Judge Bork and Justice Thomas to proceed to the floor, even when they didn't have the support of the committee. While some say that my comments in June 1992 committed to a more politicized nomination process, they didn't prevent the Senate from fulfilling its constitutional duties because there was no vacancy at the time. So when he's called to do his task and follow what the government and the norms say to do, then he did. So the idea that he suggested an idea when there wasn't even a vacancy, and somehow that's the equivalent to McConnell pulling through on some rule that they didn't even follow later on, that they obviously didn't, And the fact that you won't own that is hilarious to me, which shows you have no values and no principles and no understanding of the English language is insane. It's a stupid comparison.
Okay, real quick. So,
but
the
to be
fact
clear,
that you're just reiterating this, right? You're just repeating what you're saying, like, oh, well, it didn't actually happen. He threatened it, but like he didn't actually pull the trigger. I understand it didn't actually happen. You don't have to repeat that for like the fourth time. But
that's your argument for Trump.
I don't think. Oh my God. Okay.
Hold on. But he did argue for it, and he did call it essential.
Just like Trump argued for the suspension of the Constitution.
Sure. And I've already said that was bad. Easy. So when we're talking about Biden doing this, he absolutely did say what he said, and he argued for what he argued. Now, if what you're saying, which is like the details specifically about Mitch McConnell saying, like, I'm establishing this norm, I'm establishing this principle that this won't happen in an election year, regardless of the composition of Congress, and then he immediately like violated that when it came to Amy Coney Barrett, then like, yeah, he's being hypocritical there. Sure, I can admit that.
So but your statements a couple years ago where Biden says he doesn't support like Supreme Court expansion. Wouldn't that count more than any other type of statement made from 1992?
Whoa, just to be clear, like Joe Biden, it's much more difficult for me to find like stuff on him saying he's in favor of court packing, but Kamala Harris was much more explicit, right? That's why I've been specifically talking about Kamala Harris when it came to court packing. Joe Biden was the 1992 comments when it came to
see if one judge per term all this.
I think that the same way that you could say that Mitch McConnell
maybe I don't know. I need to do. I guess everyone on the panel seems to agree that not allowing Obama's nomination is unconstitutional. I don't know the arguments for and against that. I need to read on that, and then I probably need to read. I don't have a super strong opinion on a lot of the Supreme Court reform stuff. I think the rulings that the Supreme Court have been giving, with the immunity ruling and the 14th Amendment ruling, I think both of those are kind of cuckoo crazy. So I think it's definitely justified to do Supreme Court reform, but I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on what the specifics should be.
You could also say that, like,
would you say he's being hypocritical?
Yes,
Would you?
No, if what you said is correct,
okay,
if what you said is correct about like him specifying that he's creating this norm and then reneging on it immediately afterwards, then for sure. Okay,
it was a suggestion. It was an argument. He didn't create the norm.
No, but he argued. No, Joe Biden.
Except for, I will say, I don't think it. If Democrats like do pack the court, I don't think that's the same thing as the Republicans did, because in this case, the Republicans broke the norm first. Yeah, and there needs to be. I wouldn't even call it tit for tat, because I don't even think it's tit for that. I think tit for tat. I think it's a remedy, right? But there needs to be accountability for the Republicans. I will say that.
For like an establishment of a norm in 1992.
You understand that you can argue for the establishment of a norm and still follow the other norms, right? You can argue that, right?
Did Obama nominate 2 justices? How many justices did Obama get? He got more than just.
I could argue with a significant other that we should go at the Outback Steakhouse every Friday, and we may not do that. I didn't create the norm because I argued for it.
Lactoid. Maybe we can shortcut this. You acknowledge that McConnell actually doing it is substantively worse than Biden talking about it. You acknowledge that the McConnell actually doing it is worse.
No, it's not worse. It's a different thing. It's a nature. It's in the nature of it. It is completely different. These are two different things.
Oh, I got you.
Arguing in favor of something or arguing for a thing is not anywhere near. It's not creating a norm. It's a different thing.
I disagree. I think that when you argue forcefully, I disagree. Sure. I'm wrong. I get it. But when you argue forcefully for something, I do think that's like a part of establishing.
That's a threat.
I think that's part of.
It is a threat. You say I will do this if X happens. That's either a promise or a threat. That's what he said. He said in the situation. He said if there was a situation where this occurred under Bush Sr., guess what? Then they're going to follow this. That's what he's going to recommend, and that's what they're going to do. That was the threat.
Easy question then. Fine to understand this. Let's say that Biden was still running and he was potentially leading the ticket or whatever. What do you think is the big?
You would have to get an amendment for that, right? You and me. That would require a constitutional amendment, right? It's not on. Technically, Congress could somewhat enforce it if Congress just. I guess Congress cannot. Maybe you could argue if it is constitutional for Congress not to hold hearings, then I guess they could not hold hearings past one president, and then I guess they could. If they do have to hold hearings, it is constitutional for them to limit the size of the court, so they could always just limit it to one extra from when the president takes office.
Biden either expanding the court or somehow using the Senate to defy these norms or whatever, or Donald Trump finding ways to circumvent the Constitution. What is the bigger threat to you?
Gibbs.
Wait, like between Donald Trump and then packing the court?
Donald Trump trying to circumvent the Constitution or undermine the Constitution, or Biden trying to pack the court? What do you think is a greater threat?
Biden threat packing the court.
You're a piece of shit.
No, he's retarded. Okay, Lactoid. What do you think is the bigger threat?
Well, that's okay. You can think that.
I don't think either of them are particularly credible
No,
threats.
I didn't ask the bigger threat. The guy who's tweeting constantly about undermining the Constitution.
In
He's gonna let everyone answer this. I promise. But that is going around.
Did Trump create a new norm when he went on and he tweeted about undermining the Constitution? Was that creating a new norm?
I criticize that. Yes, it is a problem. Yes, it is a problem, and I've criticized that.
That's not what he asked at all. But okay.
I'll go into fucking communities of right wingers and I'll argue with them about that particular point. Or when I'm having a discussion, someone brings it up. Yeah, that was really fucking bad. You know what? I think Trump did that's terrible. Trump proposed banning burning the flag. Terrible fucking proposal. Horrible. Why does he keep doing this? I'm opposed to that too. Like, if we want to say, well, Trump does this, that's bad. We can keep going down that. We can keep pointing out particular things that I disagree with when it comes to Trump. But I want to point out how fair I'm being on this, because what I just said was, when I'm talking about the threat of packing the court, I specified Kamala Harris was making those threats. It is much more difficult for me to find anything about Joe Biden specifically threatening to pack the courts. I don't think that he's done it in the same way that Kamala Harris has. I think Kamala Harris is a bigger threat when it comes to packing the courts than Joe Biden is.
Is there support in the Senate or is there support in Congress right now for packing the court? Is that even a thing?
I don't know if there would be.
Yeah,
I think if you
maybe AOC.
I think the Democrats vote for it. Yeah.
I think so. We have Pisco who thinks so. I do think that there's political
that's my
obstacles
case.
in the same way of
they should do it. I think so.
In the same way of Trump becoming a dictator. I think there's political obstacles in place, which is a good thing.
Hold on, Pisco, are you also for ending the filibuster?
It is a risk.
Of course, I'm for ending
the
filibuster.
God. Okay, we'll have another discussion.
Just look at it.
Why are we turning into a filibuster?
We break all the norms, and then when the Democrats want to reestablish their own prominence,
what is the pro filibuster argument? I don't think I've ever.
The rules don't matter. The norms don't matter. You start crying, saying, "But what about?" Stop it. We're not going to play.
Other than wanting to filibuster when your side's on power, so you can
double standard bullshit. We have to be the ones constantly defending our institutions and norms, and for you guys to nominate someone like Trump, someone who is so absolutely anathema to the norms and institutions of this country. There's no world in which I'm going to hew to that double standard. None, zero. As long as what we're doing is constitutional.
We can do it too. We're going to go down together. Mutually assured destruction. Let's burn it down together, baby. We don't care as long as they lose. We don't have to win. They just got to lose.
On principle, I don't even agree with the filibuster. I think the filibuster is a tool against democracy. I don't think it's a necessary thing.
The Senate is a tool against democracy. Look, the Senate and the Supreme Court are tools against democracy. Yes, they're by design to limit democracy. Yes,
yeah, but it's on the margin.
I think it's a tool, and I think it's a tool.
That's what the Bill of Rights is, baby. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the amendments are limits on democracy.
Far too much.
Why even have it? Just have it. It's so much more democratic.
So I the Supreme Court. So hang on a second. I do believe it's such. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in the judiciary. I do believe that we ought to have
Jesus, what this panel
house and a lower house. So that's all. That is all fine. But you acting as though the filibuster is some ingrained constitutional principle. It's not. It's a rule of the Senate. And you acting as though packing the court is anathema to our Constitution. It's not. It's an explicit power given to the Congress. And you're acting as though. You're acting as though.
Dude, how are you going to tell you the same thing?
You're acting as though. You're acting as though. Going back. You're acting as though. 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 You're acting as though.
God damn, bro, you sound like today, Junior. Come on.
Well, I would finish quicker if you didn't stop interrupting. Is that a fair principle?
I've been waiting on you here. Listen, I wasn't the one
That's what she said.
Did I say
hold on, let's just go get it out.
Just go ahead.
Everything that I'm envisioning is completely constitutional. Everything that I'm envisioning would help increase the responsiveness of our republic and would not intrude on the principles laid down by our framing fathers, who explicitly left this to the discretion of the houses on how they're going to run their procedures. I think that the filibuster is an absolutely insane rule in this time, this day and age, and we're given far too much leeway to this Supreme Court, as packed by Mitch McConnell, to have the fiat over our country at the moment. And so, absolutely,
was removing the filibuster.
Nothing else, really? I don't know. I feel like I like panels.
100% filibuster. You're talking about the initial one of lower federal. Yeah. All of that is completely fine. The 60-vote threshold is completely stupid. I don't agree with that.
Things have gotten better from a.
Well, the alternative was infinitely filibustering the. Do you think it's better to have a dedicated for federal courts?
No,
if you had to choose between, no, you can't choose the Nirvana. You have to choose between no federal judges.
Answer this question.
How you're not tired? I am fucking tired. Especially because my sleep's good. I've literally been going to bed at like 5 p.m. This is late for me, guys.
Answer what Destiny's asking.
What's a better world? No federal judges or breaking the filibuster and appointing federal judges?
think what you need was a compromise.
Answer the question.
Oh, awesome answer, dude.
Right. No, wait. Make him answer the question. Wait. Make him answer the question. Would you prefer a world in that situation of no nominations and appointments of lower federal courts or breaking the filibuster? Which would you prefer, Ryan? Answer the question.
I think
I'll answer.
This made things worse.
Ryan, answer the question. Which world is preferable?
I am not. You're not my interlocutor. I do not.
You're such a scaredy cat. Answer the question.
Have a backbone. Which would you rather? Would you rather get beaten up constantly or get a cookie? Answer the question. Make a decision, right? Like obviously one's
I
not
would
that
not
big.
want to get beaten up or eat a cookie. No one.
Answer. This was the choice presented. Wait, this is not some crazy hypothetical. This was the choice presented. This was the choice. Wait, Ryan. This was the choice presented to the Senate Democrats. The choice was break the filibuster or no federal court appointees. And what I'm asking you is, what would you have done?
I think they made a mistake. I think it helped them short term, and then what it led to was getting rid of the filibuster for Supreme Court nominations, and that, while it solved a short term problem, has had the unintended consequence of making the legitimacy of the system worse. And
so, is the answer the preferable?
Why is one of your bridges under sewage? Nah, bro.
These things make it worse. So yes, they solved.
Wait, which bridge is under sewage?
And it solved it.
I don't think my bridges are under sewage.
Which world is preferable? Which world was preferable?
It floods sometimes.
So I think
there's a bunch of ambulances.
Ryan, I'm not an idiot.
That can't get to where
why
sick
don't you
people
answer
are.
it with a backbone? I asked you, is it preferable to have none of your judicial appointees ever considered, or
Let's
to
see
break
if
the
we answered
filibuster?
it this time.
Which
Fifth
world is
time's the charm.
No, I'd like you to answer the question. Which world?
Talking about
I think Destiny 2 times speed is flying much using the cortex. This isn't 2 times speed. This is 1.25 times speed.
Why don't you answer it in the frame that I'm presenting it?
Because I do not.
Because you're scared. Yeah, because you're scared. Because you're scared. Because you have no backbone, and the truth is, you understand how ridiculous it sounds.
Destiny, not sewage.
You understand how ridiculous it
You
sounds.
understand the scenario presenting. It's like, hey, would you
Look
rather
at
smash
all our
Oprah with herpes or like Gorlock the Destroyer with AIDS? Like, that's what you're doing, but you can't sit there and go, you're scared for not answering that whenever you're just presenting it.
The frustrating thing is it always feels like Democrats are the ones that have to consider the practical consequences of what's going on, and we're the ones that have to come to the table to negotiate. But when it comes to Republicans, it's this rote appeal to either whatever the laws or the norms at the time, and it doesn't really matter. They're not expected to come to the table on fucking anything. So when you have one side that's constantly allowed to either erode norms or break laws, then fine, that's okay. But then when the table is turned back to the Democrats, well, now we have to let the fucking children, the retarded toddlers, come back to the table.
You are correct in that it is super frustrating and that it is a problem, but the adults.
But I won't do nothing about it.
If we only act like the children, it doesn't solve the thing. It doesn't solve it.
It is not an adult decision when you're trying to decide how fast to go on the interstate and you split the decision democratically between you and your 1-year-old child in the back seat. That's not an adult decision, and that's the issue that we have right now. Is the Republicans try to destroy the country over and over again? It's like, well, we need to be.
I'm not letting them take the wheel. What I'm asking is, we don't show them like, oh, you think that's bad? Look what I.
What would you have done? What would you have done? Would you say, all right, I guess no more lower federal court appointments?
I reject the framing because I was an adult.
Oh my God.
Must be nice to be able to reject reality. Well, I reject
that wasn't reality, right? That wasn't
reality. Wick. The reality was they were not letting through lower federal court appointments. That is the reality.
They had other things that they. Do you think every single judicial nominee was blocked? Every single one? No. Obviously, we can look back at it. There were people getting through.
Judicial appointments in the past like 3 decades in one term for Obama. McConnell already said he was going to make him a one-term president.
What are you saying, sorry?
Single judicial nominee was blocked. Every single one? No. Obviously, we can look back at it. There were people getting through.
Judicial appointments in the past like 3 decades in one term for Obama. McConnell already said he was going to make him a one-term president. He didn't want to pass anything. Yes, that was the point.
But he passed things. Judicial nominations got through.
And only after the nuclear option did we get federal court appointments.
So Wick, you're telling me you wouldn't have done the nuclear option then?
No, because it's led to a worse world. Because you decided, hey, this is the only way forward. We have to do it to save America. And look where we.
Wait. I feel like that's total. I feel like doing the nuclear option in response to that is totally fair. I don't know. Okay.
We are today. Thank you for that. That was a dumbass decision.
That we're finally like able to do federal court things. Yes.
Insane. It's absolutely insane.
Look,
and I'm sure. Wick, would you support? Did you support them getting rid of the Supreme Court filibuster?
No.
Oh, I'll ask Lactoid. Would you be okay with them? Sorry, were you okay with them?
I wish we had it because then we wouldn't have a 6-3 to court.
Wait, Lactoid.
Just to be clear, I don't have this is a subject I can't talk on. I don't have any idea.
You have no idea whether you would have been in support of getting rid of the Supreme Court filibuster.
Can we give that some respect? Because I honestly, this is one of my pet issues. I think the world would be a much better place if we didn't force people to have opinions on things when they say they don't have an opinion.
Yeah, hold on. I'll look into it and get back to you.
If he says he doesn't have an opinion, he doesn't look into it.
The whole premise of this argument has been that the Democrats unleashed Pandora's box when they got rid of the nuclear
Do
option.
you think I'm excusing Republicans here? Hold on, no, shut up. All of you shut up, because again, I've got to be quick.
Let's
If you
put
think I'm
garbage over
excusing
here.
Republicans' bad actions here, you're dead wrong. Republicans
You
are more responsible for this.
No, they're
but
not.
the Democrats.
There is no responsibility with no accountability, and you're against accountability, so there's no responsibility.
No, I'm not against accountability. I'm against the forms of accountability that you have proposed, which is
any
court
form of
packing.
accountability. Here's a question. Here's a super simple question. Can you think of one compromise? If we all need to come to the table and be adults, what's one compromise the Republicans have made that's the equivalent of the Gore-Bush election of 2000? What's one compromise that they've made that's the equivalent of the Garland
Hold on.
robbery?
What do you think? How do you think the Gore-Bush election was decided? Was it a compromise between politicians, or was it a judicial ruling?
It was the Supreme Court.
Yes,
absolutely.
the Supreme Court doesn't compromise like that. They make rulings. It's a different thing.
Can you give me one
Okay,
example?
you're welcome.
Can you give me,
We can
no,
end
it's
it
not.
now.
No, to be clear, it's not. Okay, because the Democrats walked away from that election, and
It
that was
wasn't
the
a fucking compromise.
Donald Trump. Who do you think accepted the results of the election?
Yes, as any red-blooded American do. Look, Trump
Well,
is a
wasn't
grudge
he
democracy. I
kinda
agree with you on that,
forced to?
right? Huh?
You know that today 80% of Republicans think the last election was still not procedurally fucked, not COVID fucked, but thought there was voter
Yes,
fraud, mass
and
voter
that's
fraud.
a huge
It's not the
fucking
same.
problem. It's
So
a
give me
huge
one-
fucking
give me
problem.
one
A third of
example.
the Democrats think that the Republican assassination or the attempted assassination attempt on Trump was staged.
Not even remotely the same thing. Not even remotely the same thing. Not
They're
number
both
one, but number
outside
two.
of reality.
I mean,
No,
one of
it's
them
not
there was
even-
visual
it's not
evidence they
even-
watched happen.
not
They still
even-
denied it.
It's not even
It was
remotely.
like,
I want an
allegedly.
example. I want an example from anybody on this panel where Republicans have been forced to compromise when they've been in a position of power or to do otherwise. A single time, just one example.
Trump,
20 years,
Sure,
25
I'll give you
years
one
of
during the
governance.
Trump years that Mitch McConnell did. Trump tried to pressure and force McConnell to get rid of the filibuster when he was trying to get through his legislation passed, and the Democrats were using the filibuster over and over and over and over and over again to stop that dog shit legislation from coming through. So you know what? McConnell was like, no, we're not going to do that, and he stood up against Trump, and he compromised, right, and said, no, we're going to keep this in place. We're not going to do that. Boom. There you go.
That's the Republican
That's-
Party fighting against their
I
own
was going to
president.
say,
I'm asking about
yeah,
the compromise.
That's him compromising with Trump, not with
Isn't it the
the
Democrats?
Democratic Party. But
Well, no, they were doing that in compromise with the Democrats, right?
They're compromising with themselves because Donald Trump's destroying the Republican Party. I'm asking, when have the Republicans ever compromised to the Democrats or with the Democrats?
I think Wick's example is actually perfect, right? The reason why that
instead of addressing like the root issue that like all the trash is right next to these homes and people keep getting sick, I'm just gonna build more hospitals here, and then everyone will be happy. See, look how happy they are, and I could just build 20 hospitals on top of each other, and it fixes everything.
that happened was specifically because
The Democrats were doing a procedure.
Yeah,
They were filibustering.
it was
They were
compromising
acting
with
in
the filibustering Democrats.
You
right?
guys have lost your minds. You think
This is just the fucking facts, Pisco.
No,
This is the facts of the matter.
So when the Republicans were debating with themselves, they compromised. So that's kind of like a compromise.
You think McConnell preserved the filibuster out of principle? Are you insane?
Do you think he didn't?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yes, because Republicans are all bad actors. They can't do anything without principles. They are all.
McConnell is a bad actor.
Accurate, 100% based, true.
100%.
Even bad actors don't have
Honestly,
principles.
I don't know. At this point, it's gotta be like at least 20% of the Republican Party. That's fucking. I mean, elected people. The actual the supporters of the Republican Party is probably more like 80%. That are all bad actors.
McConnell preserved the
bad
filibuster.
actor, but he had principles when he stood up
McConnell
against Trump
preserved the
during January 6th. Absolutely.
McConnell preserved the filibuster for the same reason he does. And you know what? Guess who McConnell supports now? Say it. Yeah, I will. I just want Wick to say it.
McConnell supports Trump. Yes.
Yeah. So what good
Hold on.
that
Do
was?
you think that,
What
that
good
compromising
was?
with Democrats? Do you think that compromising with Democrats means that you reject Trump just wholeheartedly?
But this was no compromise. What you're talking about is a tactic by McConnell, not to do something out of principle, but
Yes,
out of
the
self-interest.
principle-
He didn't need to break the filibuster to do what they wanted. What they wanted was tax breaks for
Trump
the rich.
needed
and what
him
they
to
wanted,
break the filibuster to do what
and-
Trump
hey,
wanted, and that's why
listen,
Trump pressured
let
him to
me
do
finish
it.
my
And then
answer.
McConnell said
Let me finish my
no.
answer. So what McConnell wanted for his own self-interest was lowering taxes on billionaires and on
You
rich
wrote
people,
your
and
shit?
he wanted
Nuh-uh,
fiscal
bro.
governance. And when it didn't suit him,
They're
he
fine.
did break the the filibuster for Supreme Court picks. So everything you're saying is opposite.
Here, clearly
McConnell
the
was
solution
only
is just
operating
to
in his own
build-
self-interest to the extent that there
We're
would have
gonna
been
build on a bridge
some
here,
tension
you
from
know.
Trump. It was McConnell putting his own agenda first.
Here,
McConnell,
So
again,
everything you're
connect
talking
these.
about
breaking
is
the
complete
filibuster on
garbage.
Supreme Court was to get back at Harry Reid as a tit for tat. It was wrong. He should have done it. He
What I'm
should
saying
not have done
the
it. but it was a tit
legislative
for tat. It was,
filibuster,
again,
he
the
preserved the
same thing in kind of what you're advocating for when you say we got to get them back for what they did. Right?
So
We got to court
here's the
because
question
they
for
did
you, Wick.
this. That's
If you
you're
do you think
being
that if
McConnell right
McConnell
now. You are doing and
do you
pervading in the
think
same way
that
that McConnell does.
Do you think that if McConnell
Are you principled,
do you-
sir?
If you do you think that if McConnell saw it was in his own interest and his party's interest to get rid of the legislative filibuster, that he wouldn't have gotten rid of it?
But it was in his interest.
It wasn't. They'd already passed the tax cuts. They'd already gotten their Supreme Court picks. There was no interest in him doing it. Donald Trump is just a fucking retard. Donald Trump doesn't know what the three branches of government do. Okay? Donald Trump is just complaining to him that he wanted the filibuster option gone for no fucking reason. McConnell didn't even have the votes in his own party to get rid of it. It wasn't impeding their progress on anything. They'd already gotten all the shit that they wanted done, essentially. Like, no, it wasn't going to benefit.
To the extent they didn't, it was because they had defections in their own party. It was because of Murkowski and Collins.
Well, that's why we had the filibuster today, is because of defections in the Democrats' own party.
No, but it wasn't.
Yes, that's true. Because of
Cinema
and what's his fucking name?
It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem of getting 51 votes in terms of the Affordable Care Act getting repealed. They couldn't even get 50 votes. So at no point was Mitch McConnell's agenda at risk because of the filibuster in such a way that he would have an incentive to get rid of it. It was all internal interest. You are so naive. Do you think Mitch McConnell that is like somehow hewed in by principle or the dedication to the filibuster? It's so naive.
Look, the respecting of senatorial norms, such as they are, is one of McConnell's key points and ways of doing things. To the extent that he has broken it.
So wrong. When they tried to repeal the ACA, they lost by 2 votes, 49-51.
Okay.
They changed norms there to repeal the ACA. Because that was the thing they wanted to do. And they tried to change the filibuster rules there in order to do it.
And they wanted budget reconciliation. They were doing all sorts of wacky shit.
When it suits them, they'll do it, yes. But you can't say, well, there's legislation that we've got 30 votes for in the Senate. Well, let's keep the filibuster in. Wow, they're so principled. Oh my God, look at how principled they are. Keeping the filibuster. They have 30 votes.
That's not an example, Wick. That's not an example. There was no incentive for them to break the filibuster.
Any example I can give you that you would accept. You would change the goalpost.
It would not that one. There's
the idea.
Change the goalpost. When did they change the goalpost?
They're never expected to concede. They're never expected to compromise because Republicans are the insane fucking dude in the padded cell that you're asking us to go on a walk with. Republicans do not compromise ever on anything.
True. I can give you an example from the Trump administration where they're trying to compromise. HR 6136, which the Border Security and Immigration Reform Act. They actually want to get everything plus some to what the Dems had basically in the most recent immigration reform bill, and Dems were going to get, and Republicans were going to get the wall. The only thing they didn't have was the Dreamers, and guess what? The Dreamers didn't even get added to the most recent Reform Act, and so they shut it down on this thing because basically the Trump base revolted, even though they were trying to compromise on that stuff because they didn't want the Dreamers. And
also look at the COVID. COVID relief stimulus checks. That was also a compromise.
Let us address what Gibbs just said.
So they took they took the Dreamers out.
The compromise was failing the past.
But here's my
what's the compromise you're pointing to? You're pointing to like a failed situation.
No, hold on. So here's the compromise: is what got presented.
What was the compromise of the COVID stimulus even?
Give everything plus more. I think like the last one had 300 judges. This one had 5. So it had everything they wanted.
Immigration judges.
Yes, plus some. If you want to go through the bill, and so they compromised everything.
The bill they knew wouldn't get passed if they didn't put the
And Schumer said, "Well, if you don't put the Dreamers in there, no, it's no compromise."
You understand? Okay, wait.
Hold on. Well, let me finish. Listen to you. Hold on. Even though they compromised on it.
What's the COVID stimulus thing? What's that? Didn't Biden originally want to do like a $2,000 check, and then they negotiated it down to like $1,400 because they had already given $600 to people or whatever.
Everything else the Dems wanted, they're like, this is a sticky point, which they didn't even follow through with under the most recent immigration bill they put forth. So
it's a great.
Yeah, $1,400. Because it was $600 per. Okay.
Republicans compromising and Dems not.
It's a great point for us, and really, I owe you like $1,000 at this point.
Are you retarded? Whenever they compromise,
hold up! No, if anyone's gonna get money, it's gonna be me. This is the principle I will hold on to.
If you compromise 9 or 10 things and you don't compromise on one, are you giving willing compromise? That should be dishonest. What you're doing right now.
Who controlled the houses of Congress at the time that was being considered?
I'm sure the Republicans did based off your response, if that's what you want.
Of course they did. They controlled both houses. Of course they did.
Hold on, that's not fair. You say they control both houses, but there were times where they couldn't even have the majority speaker role in the House. So did Republicans really control it? Who the fuck knows? Who knows who was in control of the House, actually? I don't know.
What you're pointing to is the failure by Donald Trump. The failure of Donald Trump.
Schumer shot it down, so let's just get that clear.
The Democrats were willing to fund a border wall in exchange for some pathway to citizenship for the Dreamers.
Everything but that.
What you're pointing to.
I don't know anything about this bill they're talking about.
And you said it yourself in your entire thing was that Trump balked when the base turned against him. And he once again listened to the base.
And they said, hold on, and this is the kicker. They said, okay, we compromised on all this other stuff. Dems wouldn't budge on that. Guess what? Here comes the next time it comes around. Did y'all remember the Dreamers then? No, y'all remember the Dreamers was convenient, even though we were willing to compromise everything else.
Wait, are you talking about the recent bill?
Yeah. Wait, this is a bill that 121 Republicans supported in favor of, okay? That most of them supported, or most of them voted against. What are we even trying to say here?
She's where they compromised.
No, but they didn't
compromise.
themselves. They didn't pass it because
everything but the Dreamers. They got everything but the Dreamers, and y'all still balked.
If they wanted border wall funding,
even if it's a drop in the funding. Oh, okay.
They controlled everything. They wanted
y'all were holding a gun. It was an internal shoe on the other foot. Y'all don't want to sit here and take y'all's lumps and admit y'all were being obstructionists. That's exactly
okay. Hold on.
You control progress.
Oh, hey, we can do it.
Okay, you can
I gotta make a little money. I gotta read these super chats, and then we gotta go because I got things to take care of. I will host a part 2 of this panel, though. I will reach out to you all. We can continue this discussion. It'll be great, right? But it's not gonna be today because people need to go. People need
I just want to say I love everybody. I'm sorry. I get really heated.
I know it's good content, but
Ryan,
for now,
I'm sorry. I shouldn't apologize because I am very mad at you.
And I disavow Pisco's apology.
And I actually like Lactoid, but I'm mad at him too. And you know what, Gib? I actually like him. Is that too? I'm just kidding. I like all you guys. I love this country. I love this Constitution.
So we should get a beer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll all go out to get a beer. Look, let me fucking read these. Let me make my money. Let me give you all closing statements, and we can host a part 2 of this another day. But I do have to go. I'm going to go through these rapid fire real quick, and then we'll go. Parallax, $5. Tell Gibbs to wake up or shut up.
I don't know if I care about
DJ
super chats,
21606 for $20. If presidents are entitled to immunity from crime. Again.
Good. Because I'm learning you all today. I'm learning.
Is more scary than legitimacy of the court.
It's about opportunity.
I know we all are.
Format
He's giving me money, so he's my best friend.
Because I didn't know you would be allowed to not be on camera.
I didn't weaponize the DOJ more. The guy who went
Are
on
these
TV
closings or are these super chats?
I don't have like a skill.
Dude, why do you dress like Sub-Zero?
Because I was told I had to be on camera.
Pretending there was no reason for the filibuster. No judges was better. $50.
Artemis Fowl, by the way, I just want to say this, is barely literate. I can't even understand these like super chats. He's like format them.
He's giving me money, so he's my best friend.
Also, for the Republicans, do we more? What a waste of fucking time.
I was on the panel. Pisco wasn't on it. Don't worry. No, I think this is something that the Republican Party has intervened to try to like protect these third-party candidates.
Okay, these closings.
So when Jill Stein and Jay Moore, when he tried to give them explicit, Ryan and
be allowed to not be on camera.
Maybe he's still losing COVID regulations. Pisco, you piece of shit, Sco. Ryan and Lacroix. Who tried to weaponize the DOJ more? The guy who went on TV. Is there any examples of the Democrats? Are there any examples of the Democrats weaponizing the courts like Donald Trump tried to do with his own Department of Justice?
Like that specifically, I can't think of it.
No, not like that specifically. Where a Democrat wants to Pisco fucked all of his verbiage up because he doesn't know what the fuck he's saying in Spanish. Okay.
And you got to fight fire with fire. And there was a lot of fighting with fire advocated for on this panel today. And the rule of law.
I seriously worry about the future of our republic and the fact for decisions. I guess the last thing.
Views, but I see like 60 likes. What is going on? No, like that fucking stream, okay? Do that right now. We got some great shows coming up, but I want to give each and every person here
closings.
And we're gonna start with Lactoid. We're gonna end with Destiny. So Lactoid, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I guess the last thing I'm going to say is it was brought up multiple times during this discussion that, well, we're stuck with this now. Like, the damage has been done. And again, like I've reiterated multiple times, the process that Mitch McConnell did, I don't agree with. That being said, this Supreme Court is one of the best we've ever had. And, there's analyses on this, like originalist justices. They're more likely to disagree with each other. They're more likely to actually to write longer decisions. They're more likely to, in my opinion, actually believe in the rule of law and actually believe in what does law mean.
Isn't that they're more likely to disagree with each other and write longer opinions? Isn't that indicative of divisiveness? Probably because Supreme Court picks have become more partisan over time. Have become more partisan. I've seen some graphs on this before, like the margin to which Supreme Court justices have been confirmed has gotten pretty partisan. Yeah, the cases are becoming more polarized. Supreme Court. Look at that spelling.
As opposed to engage in political hackery. And we see this constantly, right? We have Neil Gorsuch, side with the quote-unquote liberals when the Constitution demands it. And frankly, I agree with Gorsuch on the Oklahoma decision. I think that he was correct there. I think ultimately the Supreme Court's great. Definitely don't pack it. God, please don't pack it. And if it gets packed, I seriously worry about the future of our republic. And the fact that I think Kamala Harris is so flippant about packing it.
But he doesn't care if Trump gets elected.
About whether or not she'd be a good president.
Or at least not enough
Thank you for being here. The links to all the guests that were planned and not packed in.
I guess he said he might vote Libertarian.
Ryan,
we'll see.
On stream, but you can follow me on Twitter, Ryan C. Mullally with an obnoxious number of L's. Nice meeting everyone. Peace, always fun to argue with you. So see you again. Yeah, I was saying this before, but I think when they look at the second half of this panel, viewers might be confused why we weren't talking about court reform almost at all. But other than that, this conversation kind of struck me like, when you watch like a Greek tragedy, and you're like, well, wouldn't this just stop if they just stopped killing each other in these vendettas? Like, why are they doing this? Everyone's going to end up dead. And at the end of this conversation, you've got the rule of law and the legitimacy of law bleeding on the floor, and everyone's wondering, why didn't they just stop? And I was struck by the fact that before I got on this panel, I watched a little bit of the Trump interview on Lex Friedman's podcast. And Lex asked him, you call people communists, but they're not communists. And Trump said, well, they call me worse. They call me fascist, and you got to fight fire with fire. And there was a lot of fighting with fire advocated for on this panel today. And I
feel like the Republicans have been calling Democrats communist way before they ever called Republicans fascist. I mean, at least Trump, because Trump specifically wasn't a political figure until more recently. I feel like Democrats have been fighting the communist allegations since the Red Scare, dude. I don't know, like since the fucking FDR, like what?
Didn't have Trump and Destiny Destiny and Pisco agreeing with Trump on tactics on my bingo card when this started. Ultimately, I think if we want to enhance the rule of law, we should do things that enhance the rule of law. And if you're proposing something that has a political benefit, delegitimizes the rule of law, you should ask yourself, is this something that I should be doing? And if we all did that, it would be better. Is it idealistic? Maybe. I don't know. But I certainly left this panel feeling pretty good about my decision to be politically homeless.
I don't know, price controls and unrealized gain tax seem very commie.
Doing the worst thing.
Very common. First of all, Kamala didn't even advocate for like strict price controls. She just said like anti-price gouging stuff. Like it's vague what she even wants. And like I don't like an unrealized gain tax, but I want to call it communist. It's not communist. Like it's a cringe type of taxation.
Rather than what would be the better thing. And I'm sorry I'm speaking long, but the most telling example of that possible is that Destiny, who is not a political candidate, came in with a proposed reform that pretty much everyone agreed was a good idea in some version. There's some debate, and has been proposed by no candidate. It's not like we're so smart that we came up with this and the lawyers on their teams haven't. It's not being proposed because taking the way towards legitimizing the system is not either party's goal. And that's the bummer right now. That's the Greek tragedy. That's why everyone dies at the end.
Well, hopefully we can avoid that. Check him out, gang. I put a link to his Twitter in my YouTube description. That's way, please.
Yeah, I gotta check out their points. But even to your little hypothetical, like we're all Greek tragedy, the fact is, from Pisco and Destiny's standpoint, the fact is, if Republicans just keep stabbing you, the answer is
because they want to ruin the capitalist class by eroding their wealth and power. Do you actually believe that, or are you trolling? I can't tell. Do you think Kamala Harris is like a secret communist and they want to erode their power by taxing their unrealized gains at 3% per year? That's gonna be the blow to them. When other countries literally have like full on, not just unrealized gain taxes, but actual full on like wealth taxes, like Norway has a wealth tax, although I think it's relatively low. I think it's like less than 1%. That's gonna be when like Sweden has like top marginal rates of like 70%. An unrealized gain tax is gonna be the thing that moves us to socialism. That's gonna be.
You sit there and take it. And so, but yeah, no, I mean,
when
like,
Sweden
obviously kind of
and fucking Norway aren't even socialist.
I'm not a streamer. Just has to be here by Lactoid. Just a fan of Pisco and Destiny mostly, but yeah, they're
and we love him.
And I just
yes.
Pisco,
okay, you're trolling.
Your conversation you had with we shouldn't go. I was gonna say your conversation. I feel like the one you had with Sitchin Adam, like they exemplified what I feel like you did in this call. It feels like you talk for 5 minutes, demand a one-word answer, and then you call the person a liar if they don't like the answer they give, and then you talk for another 5 minutes. I just feel like I don't know. But I realize your passion. I realize you're angry about this. But yeah, no, sorry, I'll stop it.
He refused to give me links to his stuff, so I don't have links for him. Yes, give us what you got.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I feel like this is just another case of cope from the Dems. They put forth a strategy, they got outplayed in the situation, and now they want to take the ball and go home. It's typical participation trophy bullshit. I mean, even half the panel we argued about tit for tat and quid pro quo, and they did this, so is this a fair compromise replacement if we get this back? It was just a lot of like whining and weeping and gnashing of teeth, and I think it's pretty clear that's exactly what that was. We can argue about like all this, in the weeds shit about it.
My shit going through 100% gains, forced to pay tax shit going to.
I mean, especially.
It's an unrealized gain tax above 100 million too. So like it wouldn't even. I guess if it's up 30,000%, then maybe you would reach that 30 million. 100 million mark.
We just had at the rally, Dana Bash admitting that, hey, we're not the party of testosterone-laden men, we're the party of the betas. Like, so, passive-aggressive tactics, that's what I come to expect from the Dems. So, part of the course. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at pretty much every platform, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Check it out. It'll be good times. We do a lot of fun stuff.
Links in my YouTube description. Last but certainly not least, Destiny, please.
Wait. Don't I go first?
Pisco, you don't get a spot here. You were a last-minute ad.
I don't get a closing statement?
No.
Congratulations, Pisco is bitch made. Okay. Fake lawyer. He never sent proof, by the way, for his legal flair. Apparently, Cyber Vegan gave it to him. Okay. Because he
oh my God.
sent him cocaine. from his home country. Okay, no. The frustrating thing is that when you're a Democrat, it feels like Republicans never have to account for anything. When every time a Democrat enters office, okay, it's on the backs of a destroyed fucking economy, all right? Whether it was 2007 and the housing crisis and Obama coming in, whether it was 2020 and the COVID that Trump denied.
What do you think of Elon's unrealized gains? What do you mean what I think of them?
All right, that Biden had to come in off of. The Republicans are never held to account for a single thing they ever do. And this idea that the Democrats are the frogs swimming and the Republicans are the scorpion stabbing over and over and over again, and people are saying, well, we have to come to the table and negotiate. We have to come to the table and negotiate. In no other circumstance in life would you ever say this, okay? Appeasement didn't work with Hitler, and giving a crying child candy bar after candy bar, okay, doesn't make the child less of a slave. So at some point, somebody has to demonstrate to the Republicans that they can't play these types of games and expect that they can still have a seat at the table. Something has to give because the country is on like a one-way track to destruction, led by the fucking
what happened if 3% unrealized gain tax comes in? First of all, it's not even clear. It's not even clear what type of all stocks crash. I mean, the unrealized gain tax would definitely, part of the reason I'm against it, it would probably, depending on how high it was and what it did, it would definitely lead to the selling off of stocks, and it could potentially temporarily crash the stock market temporarily. But it's not even clear how she would implement it, because she could be doing the deferral charge. It's not even clear it'd be a I forget the name for the alternative. What's the alternative? Unrealized gains tax deferral. No, but you're to pump something, then sell to crash it.
We all get sunk in some crazy mindfuck experiment where the current guy running for president doesn't even believe that the results of the last election are real, are fucking insane. At the end of the day, the only lesson you need to take is that if his Twitter account would have been fire enough, the current conservative establishment and all of the independents that support Trump would have supported the same with fucking Hitler, okay? As long as he owned the libs hard enough. And that standard is fucking absurd.
Gang, it was fun. I love you all.
You're serious. I don't get a closing statement.
Please go. Closing. Okay, this is
Muchas gracias a todos por permitirme estar en el panel. Gracias a Gibbs
closing
por ser un agente secreto. I'm just kidding. No, I really...
Okay, enough. This is why I didn't want to give you.
No, okay. That was a joke. So to be 100% real.
Okay. Blah 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 blah. Retrospective capital gains taxation. Yeah, deferral charge. Alternative market also fixed a deferral bias is to add a deferral charge when new tax assets are sold, but charge interest for each year they weren't sold. Yes. See, okay. It's not like this. Probably would not. This is not nearly as bad as other types of unrealized gains tax.
I think that Steven is absolutely coping on the issue that he had at the end there with Lactoid. It was absolutely embarrassing for him to put words in Lactoid's mouth. Lactoid at no point said that it was the same kind of violation to use the instrumentalities of the judicial system as to having a kind of litigant. He just said they were both bad. But Steven has this thing where he cannot give ground any time when his ego's at stake. Another example of that is the following. He claimed that cigarettes were price elastic. And then when I asked him, how would I have to show that the demand for cigarettes are price inelastic? He said, I don't know, it'd be too complicated. It sounds like he's just bullshitting at all times. It sounds like he doesn't really understand a lot of these concepts, and he'll just come in sounding as confident as possible. When you push a little bit, it shows that he made his... Yeah.
Quick question. You know what else is elastic?
What?
Your position on the panel. Okay, thanks. Thanks for joining us, gang. It was fun. Hit the like button. Watch me.
Fire. Did he actually say that cigarettes are price elastic? Basically, I mean, anything addictive is usually going to be price inelastic, right? Because it's addictive.
Goodbye.
That's how I was taught, at least. But they also taught me the Phillips curve, so who knows? What should I name this city? Shitstream City. Super rich abandoned in a way. I'm not in favor of a wealth tax. That was not the point I was making at all. Okay, hopefully it's still saved because it's crashing. Sure you aren't crypto commie. I am in favor of taxing all crypto at 5 bajillion%. All right. Just I need to break my sleep scheduling because right now it's not normal. It's I'm going to bed way too early right now. I have to fucking edit this video, or I'm gonna be, if I watch another video, I'm gonna be too tired and I won't be able to edit it, and then it'll fuck my shit up. Okay, so I'm probably gonna stream relatively early tomorrow. You guys want to go to Rob Noor? Here's the I'm rating Rob Noor. Go to Rob Noor. All right, thanks for watching. I'm fucking tired and I need to edit this shit. See you tomorrow.